Ji-hyun spent his entire life as a shady surgeon, only to end up with nothing but regrets and a terminal diagnosis. When he is suddenly given a second chance, he wakes up back in his high school years with all his memories intact. Now, he is determined to fix his past mistakes and build a new, successful life as a wealthy skin doctor. Kim Ji-hyun hears the lone shark yap about debt. He's supposed to die, but his head case gets more info. Riz dead. Kim Ji-hyun's got his head down, surrounded by papers. Life is a grind, not some slick Riz parade. Negative aura. But the universe isn't done trolling him, because here comes the lone shark, this actual goblin of a human being who looks at a terminally ill man and immediately starts calculating resale value on his vital organs like he's browsing a marketplace. This creature has the audacity to read out a wholesale menu: 40 million won for the liver, 20 for a kidney, 15 for the heart, while casually dropping threats about what happens to his mother if he doesn't sign the paperwork. Kim just freezes solid, because when did his final boss phase turn into a horror DLC, where the win condition is literally carving yourself up for pocket change, while thugs hold your family's safety hostage? Later that night, he's standing alone on some empty city street with the phone pressed against his ear, telling his mother the treatment is going perfectly, and he'll be home soon, constructing every single lie with surgical precision, so she never hears how badly he's actually falling apart inside. Hours later, he's slumped on a park bench working through convenience store soju like it's a health potion that stopped working months ago, just existing in that empty space between wanting to quit and lacking the energy to pull the trigger. That's when a stranger actually approaches him out of the darkness and calls him Dr. Kim's son, like she knows exactly who he is, and specifically tracked him down to this exact bench to find him drowning in his own misery. The woman explains that her brother took a bullet 2 years ago, and some legendary surgeon performed miracles, stitching them both back together, when every other doctor said they were permanently deleted from the server. She keeps glorifying hands that saved countless lives while he sits there unable to meet her gaze, because those same hands now shake too much to hold a scalpel. The gap between the hero she's describing and the wreckage sitting on this bench is physically painful to look at. But before Bro can even process that L, his mom is already farming negative aura points. Kim Ji-hyun's mom nags him to eat. He's too busy reading the paper. Classic teenager move, ratioed. Mom keeps nagging. Kim Ji-hyun ignores her, lost in the paper. Classic dad move, ignoring the nagging wife, ratioed. Cut to the worst raid environment known to gaming. A Korean junior high classroom where the teacher is distributing exam papers with the aggressive energy of a final boss who hasn't had their morning coffee and is taking it out on low-level mobs. Kim Ji-hyun stares blankly as the teacher tosses papers like a madman. Bro's face goes from smug to sweat-drenched, ratioed by a caffeine-fueled final boss. He's sitting there with a history test spread across his desk, sweating like he's back in the operating room with a patient coding on the table. Except the only thing flatlining right now is his GPA and possibly his social standing. His brain is pulling up detailed memories of rhinoplasty procedures from 20 years in the future, but completely blue screening on basic facts like who fought in the Imjin War, while Lee Sangmin, this classmate sitting next to him, tries to whisper cheat codes during the teacher's aggressive rant about how everyone in this room is academically cooked. The teacher is absolutely destroying the class's collective aura with verbal critical hits about their disappointing scores. And our protagonist is just sitting there with empty answer bubbles looking like he forgot to download the education DLC before spawning into this timeline. Later that night, alone in his room, Kim Ji-hyun grabs his own head with both hands because the math literally isn't mathing. He spent his entire past life building a reputation as a cracked surgeon with a portfolio that made other doctors look like unpaid interns. Kim Ji-hyun's mind races. His medical genius feels like a distant dream. He's stuck in a side quest grinding for basic skills, ratioed. Kim Ji-hyun's flashback hits him like a truck. All his medical smarts, now useless in middle school, skill issue. But Bro's about to prove he's actually built different, so watch him absolutely cook these NPCs. The entire classroom freezes when the teacher announces Kim Ji-hyun rocketed to 3rd place overnight like he found some hidden exploit in the education system. And Bro sits there radiating pure smug energy as he turns to the shell-shocked class rep and tells him to log off and touch some grass. Later that night, Ji-hyun is tucking his dad into bed again because the man's been chugging convenience store soju like it's an HP restore potion. And watching his old man pass out drunk makes him realize this save file plays way differently than his first run-through life. Kim Ji-hyun's dad snores louder than a jet engine. Bro's got main character energy, but his old man's still stuck on the tutorial level. Everything really is changing, but his dad's still cooking up a storm in the kitchen, ratioed. At the family restaurant, Ji-hyun drops the biggest request of his current storyline on his dad. He wants permission to start training at director Kim's boxing gym. And you'd think he just asked for a legendary drop with how excited the old man gets. Dad's all in praising Ji-hyun like he's already world champ. But Jihyun's got bigger plans brewing. Ratioed. Jihyun walks into director Kim's gym with unearned main character confidence, ready to initiate his combat tutorial arc, and immediately locks eyes with a wall of muscle running the place who looks like he could one-tap a final boss without breaking a sweat. Kim Jihyun blurts out his kickboxing dreams. Director Kim smirks, sizing him up. Tutorial arc incoming, bro, ratioed. Director Kim drops some wisdom. Thinking too far ahead, you lose balance. Jihyun's kickboxing dreams just got a reality check. Skill issue. But talk is cheap, and now our guy is about to get absolutely cooked in front of everyone. Kim Jihyun freezes up like he just encountered a glitched texture, while the whole classroom buzzes about how this former mid-tier student suddenly speedrun his way to valedictorian status and secured a spot at Iljin High through pure stat abuse. He's sitting there with the nervous energy of someone who knows their exploit might get patched any second now. Teacher does a complete aura shift the moment he realizes the student strolling in late with zero consequences is actually Lee Sangmin, the same kid who in Jihyun's previous playthrough was the reason our protag spent 3 years hard stuck in the social hierarchy's F-tier. And now this man's getting treated like a VIP donor, while Jihyun's jaw drops hard enough to dislocate. The instructor went from rage-baiting to full glazing mode faster than a loot box opening animation. Lee Sangmin slides into the seat next to Jihyun. He's all smiles, but Jihyun's face is pure strain. This dude's polite intro is just a reminder of past hell, ratioed. But bro's awkward vibes were about to get absolutely cooked the second the real menace appeared. In the classroom, my classmate Lee Sangmin stands there vibrating with enough nervous energy to power a small city while everyone yaps about someone being late, completely unaware that his personal tutorial boss just spawned by the doorframe, Hwang Moonjin. Some red-haired kid radiating pure uncut negative aura like he walked straight out of a cutscene you can't skip. Before this poor sod can finish processing the danger, the red-headed menace grabs him by the collar and yanks him forward like he's checking whether this guy's spine is still factory installed. And the expression on his face shifts instantly from anxious to, I think I downloaded the wrong save file. This stopped being a conversation roughly 2 panels ago. Now it's a full-contact beatdown where our victim flails his arms like he's trying to swat away flies, while the red head just keeps launching hooks at his face like he's grinding XP off a practice dummy. And the whole class watches like NPCs who forgot their pathfinding algorithms. The guy actually attempts to talk back or maybe threaten retaliation, which is brave for someone whose health bar is already flashing critical. But he immediately eats another clean shot to the jaw that leaves him staggering with a face redder than his attacker's hair, absolute textbook skill issue on display. Now he's fully cooked, physically dominated, and forced to mumble an apology to the exact same person who just used his face as a speed bag, which has to be the most L-tier resolution possible to any conflict, complete public submission broadcast live to the peanut gallery. But before Lee can even finish his cringe setup, our guy is already moving different. Lee Sangmin's yapping about beating people, but our guy's all calm like it's nothing. Bros grinding XP off trash mobs, not the final boss. Scene shift teacher's office. Cut to the teacher's office where Mr. Sung is going absolutely feral on our guy, screaming about how Sangmin is actually the real victim here despite zero evidence. Bro is gaslighting harder than a loot box advertisement, completely ignoring that Kim Jihyun was defending himself against years of bullying from this clown. The argument keeps escalating until Mr. Sung drops the nuke. The PTA is mouthing so hard they're pushing for maximum punishment. And just like that, our medically gifted protagonist gets hit with an expulsion notice faster than a speedrunner finding a glitch. All because the system decided to simp for the bully instead of checking the replay footage. But wait, plot twist incoming as Lee Sangmin casually walks in and hits the emergency stop button on this whole disaster, waving it off like it was just friendly roughhousing between besties, which is such galaxy brain behavior that Mr. Sung immediately pivots from expel this criminal to oh okay never mind then, without even processing what happened. Scene shift school hallway. Later in the hallway, Kim Jihyun confronts his old tormentor with a bandage still plastered on his face from their earlier throwdown, demanding to know why Sangmin just saved him from academic death. And Sangmin just hits him with some cryptic Sigma nonsense before the story time skips straight into exam season like the author remembered they're supposed to be writing a study grind manga. Bro's aura is currently absolute 0, but wait until you see the absolute trauma dump heading his way. Kim Jihyun stands there staring through the window at what used to be the warm light, the fan spinning lazy circles, the greenery outside painting a picture of a life that felt safe before everything went sideways in his original timeline. And he knows he's got approximately 2 years before stomach cancer patches his dad out of existence permanently unless he pulls off the hardest social engineering hack of his second run. Kim Jihyun's eyes linger on the fan, the room's heartbeat. His dad's laughter echoes hollow now. This memory's a side quest, not the main story. Ratioed. Kim Jihyun thinks about tumor cells spreading. His dad needs a checkup stat. But this is a side quest, not the main story. Ratioed. His mom shoots him that look that says, Finally, someone in this house has brain cells active, and between her silent support and Jihyun's relentless logic barrage, the old man finally folds like a cheap keyboard and grumbles out an agreement to get the checkup done. But chat, you know how NPCs are. Literally 5 minutes later, the dad's already trying to negotiate his way out of the deal like he's haggling down a street vendor, mumbling something about feeling fine and doctors being dramatic. Jihyun locks eyes with him and deploys the ultimate guilt trip combo move. A real man keeps his promises, Dad, so are you gonna tell me your word means less than a minor inconvenience at the clinic? The moment he's got verbal confirmation, our guy's already dialing the hospital like he's speedrunning customer service, booking that gastroscopy appointment, while his brain is running worst-case scenario simulations at max overclock speed. Because even though he knows the future, what if he changed something small and now the timeline's glitched? He hangs up the phone and just stands there with that 1,000-yard stare, knowing that whatever those test results show is going to determine whether he just saved the game or accidentally soft-locked his entire reason for respawning in the first place. Spoiler alert, our guy is absolutely cooked and the vibes are about to hit negative infinity. Jihyun stands there looking paler than an NPC who just watched the main character one-shot the final boss, hiding how bad things actually are while he talks to his father figure. The moment our boy exits the room, the older man pulls up the medical monitor alone, and you can watch the horror hit him in real time. That clean diagnosis they gave him is about as trustworthy as a loot box with 0.01% drop rates, and he's starting to realize it. Some nurse tries to gatekeep him like she's a level 1 dungeon guard blocking a max-level player, claiming the doctor is too busy for random students. This man does not accept the skill issue. He drops guardian rights on her like it's a cheat code she didn't know existed, standing his ground until she folds harder than a poker player with nothing but a 2-high. Inside the office now, and this arrogant attending, a doctor who thinks he's S-tier, immediately starts glazing himself while roasting our guy for being just a student with zero aura. The argument kicks off over that chronic gastritis diagnosis, and every specific medical question this kid asks makes the doc sweat more than someone who forgot to save before the final boss fight, his confidence crumbling like a cheap phone case. The attending tries to eject him from the match entirely, but our guy pulls out the ultimate counter. He starts reciting the Medical Privacy Enforcement Act like it's sacred scripture, legally forcing this man to pull up the endoscopy images on screen right now. The doctor's face when he realizes he got outplayed by someone half his age. Turns out law nerding only gets you so far before the real-life LS start rolling in. Kim Ji-hyun stands outside the hospital entrance while his mom twists her purse straps into knots, and his dad stares at the pavement like he's trying to phase through it, both of them radiating nervous energy so thick you could bottling it and sell it as anxiety perfume. Our guy knows exactly what's coming because he lived this timeline before. Stomach cancer, the slow drain, the inevitable game over. But watching them stand there clueless while he's got the full strategy guide locked in his brain rot hits different than any tutorial boss ever could. They finally get ushered into Professor Choi's office, the actual doctor treating his father, not some random NPC medic. And Choi greets Mr. Sung with that professional smile that screams, "I'm about to drop lore that ruins your whole day," while pulling up files on his computer. The room goes quieter than a Discord server during maintenance when Choi clears his throat and confirms the gastroscopy showed exactly what Jihyun was dreading. And for 1 second, even our Sigma protagonist's composure cracks like a free-to-play economy. But then Choi pulls the clutch move and explains it's moderate-stage stomach cancer with genuinely solid cure rates if they start treatment immediately, which means the run isn't over. They're just entering the hardcore grinding phase instead of getting instant-killed by the final boss. Jihyun stares at Choi's face and realizes he recognizes this doctor from his past life as a surgeon, meaning either the universe is recycling NPCs or his regression put him on collision course with someone who might actually be cracked enough to help carry the team. Either way, our guy is about to find out if this absolute unit is actually worth the hype. Professor Choi, the medical expert, looks impressed. Dad's getting the treatment without losing his stomach. It's Bush League, but it'll do, ratioed. Our boy's out here vibrating with enough nervous energy to power a small city, pacing back and forth like he's waiting for a gacha-pull result, until the old man finally exits the operating room with that "we're so back" energy plastered across his face. He drops the W that everything went perfectly, and there's zero reason to stress, which is crazy talk considering our guy spent his whole past life watching surgeries go sideways. Pops is lying in the hospital bed looking like he just respawned with full HP, while the professor starts the interrogation sequence about what medical specialty our guy actually wants to chase, completely oblivious that this kid already cleared the game once and is trying to pick the easiest route this time. The old mentor's fishing for answers, but our protagonist's playing 4D chess, keeping his dermatology ambitions on the DL because telling your professor you want to look at zits for money sounds like a massive skill issue, even if it's actually the most Sigma move imaginable. But before he can even theorycraft his way out, some mid-tier chaos ruins his whole vibe. Lee Sangmin drags through the hospital hallway, his back hurting worse than a console running Cyberpunk on minimum settings. He stops dead because Kim Ji-hyun, that guy with the second chance respawn, is currently slamming some poor student against the wall like he's testing collision physics. Cut to the park where Sangmin's having a real moment, talking to his late mother about how he'll actually make it this time. His voice cracks, pure sincerity, zero irony, and you can feel him pouring every stat point into determination. Classroom chaos hits maximum volume until Professor Choi slams the desk and threatens to nerf everyone's summer break if they don't pipe down. Then he drops the ranking list like a rare item drop. Lee Sangmin, the guy who was getting PTSD in hallways yesterday, somehow secured first place. But before Lee can even process that massive W, Bro's aura gets absolutely cooked by Ji-hyun. Kim Ji-hyun reaches over mid-game and straight up grabs his classmate Lee Sangmin's face like he's adjusting a busted monitor, leaning in close to serve some piping hot toxicity about their StarCraft match, while poor Sangmin just sits there with the 1,000-yard stare of an NPC who crashed hard during a loading screen. Then the camera zooms into pure brain rot territory, vertical panel after vertical panel of Sangmin repeating, "Huh," like a broken audio file, his sanity bar visibly draining to zero as he dissociates harder than someone trying to no-hit a boss fight while using a potato computer. But before Sangmin can even reboot his toasted brain, our guy Ji-hyun hits rock bottom. Kim Ji-hyun sits in the car, staring blankly. His mind's a mess, drowning in regrets. Negative aura. Color returns and our guy's now parked at Lee Sangmin's table, slurping ramen that's hitting way too good after that self-inflicted debuff. Brain visibly buffering as he realizes his buddy's apartment looks less like student housing and more like a pharmacy dean's retirement villa. Sangmin just stands there watching him eat with main character patience energy, tray in hand, probably calculating whether Ji-hyun needs a revive potion or just more sodium. And everything goes quiet, the kind of heavy that doesn't need a punchline, because Ji-hyun finally lets it slip that his mom has schizophrenia, that she's living completely alone in a world that doesn't make sense to her, and he's been carrying that weight like a permanent status effect he can't cure. Sangmin doesn't drop a single cringe motivational quote, just holds the space, chopsticks frozen midair, being the kind of friend who actually shows up when the dialogue options run out. Montage engage. Time skips forward like someone mashed the fast-forward button through entire exam seasons. Our boy grinding textbooks like their loot drops and pulling all-nighters that would make a WoW W-rater log off in shame. He's maxing his intelligence stats so hard the background characters blur into loading screen furniture. Memories of friends like Moonjin and Jinwon flashing by like side quest notifications, he swipes away to focus on the main story. Winter arrives with zero warning, and Ji-hyun's out here trudging toward the SAT testing center, dressed like he's about to fight a frost boss, hunching against wind chill that's clearly trying to apply a slow effect before he even reaches the dungeon entrance. His breath fogs up the air like a damage meter ticking down, every step screaming this is it. No checkpoints, pure skill issue if you fail. Post-exam vibe check in the locker area where Ji-hyun's actually socializing like a functioning human being, discussing mock test results with classmates while sipping that concentration buff tea Sangmin brewed up. Absolute S-tier support item. No contest. Some random classmate starts yapping about aiming for high-end colleges, and our guy's just nodding along, already mentally prepared to outscale everyone once the medical school arc officially kicks in. But before Ji-hyun can finish his tea, this conversation takes a massive L and goes full unhinged. This random classmate has Ji-hyun by the collar, while Lee Sangmin watches like an NPC who crashed during the loading screen. Our guy's getting absolutely ratioed in his own tutorial arc, and the negative aura radiating off him could kill houseplants. Lone shark's grip tightens. Ji-hyun's face turns beet red, choking out a static answer. This kid's aura's dipper than a zero-grav toilet, ratioed. He limps through the front door looking like he lost a 1v1 against a concrete wall, and his mom's face does that slow-motion horror realization. Ji-hyu speedrun his way into a full-body debuff, and now the whole household knows he's cooked. Later he's curled up in bed clutching his stomach, repeating that he hurts like a broken audio file stuck on loop. His HP bar is flashing red, and there's no respawn point in sight, just pure suffering with extra steps. Despite being hard stuck in the pain dimension, Ji-hyun pops pills from a secret case, throws on his uniform, and books it toward the door while his parents exchange glances screaming, this child has a skill issue. He chose the Giga Grind set over basic survival mechanics. Kim Ji-hyun's no-chill doctor day ground to a halt as he hit a wall of cashier mode. Our guy answers extreme abdominal pain with a sweat-fueled freeze frame. Hess starts checking boxes when the doc asks if he can just lay down already. But honestly, this absolute NPC moment is about to get ratioed into oblivion real quick. Our guy sits at his desk, eyes glued to the book. He remembers all the wasted nights. Studying now feels like a side quest, not the main story, ratioed. He's clutching his stomach like he's trying to manually suppress a kernel panic, swatting away any help because in his brain, Abandoning this midterm would be a bigger L than actually dying at his desk in front of 30 witnesses. The camera zooms in tight on his fingers pressing against his own wrist, silently counting heartbeats like a player checking their ping before a ranked match. Except instead of lag, he's diagnosing whether his heart is about to disconnect from the server permanently. And his arms finally give out and he faceplants onto the desk, completely unconscious. And the whole classroom erupts into chaos as students leap up screaming for a teacher and scrambling to call an ambulance while our guy lies there totally offline. But bro's offline era was short-lived because he wake-up spammed straight into a major skill issue. Hospital room. Kim Ji-hyun and Im Jeongmin find Lee Sang-min propped up in bed looking like he just respawned with critical HP loss and no healing items in inventory. He sits up weak as a newborn kitten, worries about the CSAT like it's the final boss. Our guy cracks a joke to lighten the mood. Ratioed. All the teachers think the same thing. This kid's scores are too good to be true. Negative aura. Camera zooms in on the test paper, flashing 555 points. Basically a perfect score that screams, I didn't attend lectures, but I ate the textbook. While the professor keeps glazing about genius-level retention like he's reading a build guide. The kid stares at his own grades with wide eyes, looking like a casual player who accidentally pulled a legendary item on his first login. Surrounding classmates whisper with jealousy that could power a small village, their negative aura peaking as they watch someone skip the grind and unlock endgame content instantly. Our guy's vibrating with excitement because he knows exactly what kind of broken build this is, watching his homie go from side character to main character energy in a single cutscene transition. Students swarm the desk like fans discovering a secret overpowered character in the patch notes, patting shoulders and screaming congrats while the atmosphere shifts from somber hospital arc to absolute cinema. Our guy's loud-mouthing about how his friend transformed from super bad luck to super genius overnight, basically getting buffed by the devs while nobody was looking. The red-haired prodigy accepts the hype with dazed modesty, still processing that his sick leave turned into the ultimate power-maxing strategy, while his other friend slaps his shoulder firmly like confirming the party just recruited a carry. Chat, we're witnessing the birth of a meta build right here. This man went from hospital bed to honor roll without breaking a sweat. Anyway, ignore the aura points, because this fraud is about to start yapping. Kim Ji-hyun drops the most textbook hero origin speech during this interview flashback, claiming he wants to save both bodies and minds while completely ignoring that he failed the aptitude test worse than a noob missing every QTE. Cut to the highlight reel montage, where he actually gets accepted into med school and graduates high school, while all his friends scatter to their own separate storylines like party members leaving after the prologue ends. Fast forward 1 year into medical school, and our guy has already cracked the meta, ditching the main quest of class rankings to grind side hustle XP by tutoring his classmate Lee Sang-min, who's just sitting there absorbing info like an NPC downloading patch notes. Kim Ji-hyun grins, showing off his tutoring gains. Lee Sang-min just shrugs, all about consistency over cash. Bro's grinding XP, but she's playing the long game, no shot. But our king's aura was about to get absolutely cooked the moment he stepped outside. Our guy stumbles onto the sidewalk, late as usual. Hannah grins, teasing him for tardiness. He's sweating bullets, muttering apologies like a noob in a raid. Cut to the bar interior, and the golden-haired friend is already 4 drinks deep into her feelings, refusing to tap out of the alcohol consumption challenge, because apparently studying is for background characters who haven't unlocked the existential crisis dialogue tree yet, leaving our man stuck playing therapist instead of enjoying his night. The golden-haired friend starts comparing her grades to our guys like it's a ranked leaderboard she keeps losing, then orders soju while the red-haired friend clowns her frankly terrifying alcohol tolerance. Ratioed. Now the red-haired friend is fully cooked and yapping the weirdest drunk takes of his life, absolute cringe behavior that would get him ratioed on any timeline. While the blonde classmate laughs and whips out her credit card like a whale player buying loot boxes for the whole server, leaving our protagonist as the only one maintaining consciousness and dignity points. By the time the shouting and off-key singing dies down, the red-haired friend is fully horizontal, flat out, completely obliterated in public, while the golden-haired one finds it hilarious, and our guy does damage control like the only sober player left in the lobby. Negative aura. But before he can even blink, his wallet is about to get absolutely cooked by reality. Our guy's eyes widen at the tutoring package prices. $500 for 2 subjects. Bro, this is a side quest, not the main story. Ratioed. Our guy bursts into Professor Choi's office, all shiny and built different. Just tutoring, he yaps. This whole mission is a tutorial arc, no shot at main character energy. Skill issue. Our guy hears the job pitch and his wallet sense starts tingling because this isn't just experience points. This is legendary loot drop territory, even though his brain is screaming, skill issue incoming on loop. So our guy signs on, eyes gleaming with the thrill of grinding this new bioindustry loot. But that city skyline's flashing a big fat, future weirdo mission incoming. Ratioed by fate. Cooked. So this man steps into Mind Boy, director's face melting like seen a ghost. No way Kim Ji-hyun's referral slipped through the NPC firewall. A aura check reveals negative aura points. Cooked. Some director guy pops up looking confused that a student got referred here, scanning him like he's trying to read a stat sheet that won't load properly. This Mr. Sung dude immediately goes full interrogation mode, squinting at our guy's academic record like he caught someone hacking the server with F-tier credentials. The director leans in aggressive, practically asking, "What's your low rank?" While our guy stands there getting roasted by a middle manager who peeked in the tutorial zone. But before bro can even contemplate this total skill issue, the real L arrives. Kim Ji-hyun stands alone in the lab, lost in thought. He's supposed to be a genius, but this feels like a side quest. Negative aura. Debate escalates fast from medical facts straight into the ethical minefield. Animal testing, profit margins versus patient care. The kind of moral philosophy questions that usually make med students spiral into existential crises at 2 a.m. But Sangmin's not sweating it. He's out here treating bioethics like a side quest he already 100% completed, while the professors are still stuck on the tutorial screen trying to figure out which button is talk. Kim Ji-hyun shakes hands with Lee Sangmin, all business now. Sangmin offers to fix the money mess. "It's nothing, bro, just a side quest for our Sigma." The older guy, probably the company rep or department head, is visibly malfunctioning right now, sweat dripping down his face while his brain tries to process how a student just casually offered to save their financial skins. He's out here calling Sangmin a genius and bowing with gratitude because he just witnessed someone speedrun a corporate rescue mission that MBAs study for years to attempt and fail. Peak Riz moment, honestly. Now we're getting to the actual loot drop. Turns out there's a whole investor transaction disaster brewing behind the scenes, the kind of corporate nightmare that makes CFOs spontaneously combust and auditors cry into their spreadsheets. Sangmin sniffs out the XP farm immediately and lays down his conditions plain. If his input saves this sinking ship from hitting the ocean floor, he wants formal recognition and actual contribution shares, not just a pat on the back and a good job sport. Conversation gets cut off mid-sentence with this cliffhanger energy like the author ran out of ink or the translator rage quit, leaving us hanging on whatever they were about to call or announce. Our boy Sangmin isn't just playing doctor anymore. He's grinding toward shareholder status, securing the bag, and turning a medical internship into what looks suspiciously like a hostile takeover tutorial arc. We're so back. Anyway, before he could even flex those gains, the real trauma grind hit this man different. Kim Ji-hyun's med school journey starts with a bang, or rather a stethoscope. This was often declared as the true start for one's medical studies. Cooked. Kim Ji-hyun stands at the bus stop, phone buzzing like a swarm of bees. Everyone's panicking about Jun-hyun being MIA, ratioed. But while the squad is tweaking, our guy is busy securing the bag and getting absolutely cooked. The ATM spits out cash like it's a mad slot machine. Bro's eyes widen, brain rot from all the zeros. This guy's going straight to game changer level in one hit, bringing that main character energy to the bank. Our guy cracks a grin, eyes gleaming. The screen spins into a black hole of zeros. Bro just unlocked the ultimate cheat code, ratioed. Our guy spots the lecture hall crowded at 6:30. So many people, our guy thinks, glazing. It's a grind day one. Our guy's inner monologue kicks in. Only 6:30, but damn, this place packed. Negative aura. Professor Choi stands at the podium. Time for the daily grind. Our guy snickers. This is a grind. Every other student in the room is visibly malfunctioning, trying to process how one person memorized what looks like an entire semester's worth of material before orientation week even finished. While even the professor himself seems to be questioning whether he should be teaching this class or just handing the podium over to the kid who clearly skipped the tutorial arc entirely. But before our guy can even bask in that negative aura, reality hits like a brick chat. Kim Ji-hyun's classmate Lee Sangmin botched the experiment. Doctors freak out over the mess. Bro, you're getting ratioed by lab rats. Lee Sangmin's classmates watch as the doctors debate. Is it a simple mistake or a major screw-up? Either way, bro, you're cooked. Sangmin hits them with the most Sigma move possible. He claims he has absolutely zero prior experience doing any of this stuff. And you can see the doctors' brains short-circuiting in real time because their whole worldview just got nerfed. Bro is sitting there radiating more aura than the entire surgical department combined. While these poor NPCs try to process how someone with zero training just ratioed their entire career path. Cut to the classroom. Professor Choi's students whine about tests. Bro's classmates are F-tier grinders, ratioed. Kim Ji-hyun's classmates moan about endless tests. Bro's gotta grind non-stop. It's a side quest, not the main story. Sangmin is sitting there listening to everyone complain about being cooked by the upcoming exams when suddenly a female classmate slides into his personal space with that golden-haired classmate energy, fully ready to drag him out for drinks. Our boy tries to put up some resistance, but ultimately folds because even medical geniuses need to touch grass occasionally. So now he's locked into a social side quest, whether he likes it or not. But before he can even touch grass, This man is already locked into his main quest. Kim Ji-hyun stares at his exam, plotting his next move. He vows to ace anatomy no matter the cost. Built different, bro. Kim Jae-hyun just stands there completely unbothered, hands clasped, smiling like he didn't just break the academic ranking system with one test. Pure main character energy radiating off this man, while the professor looks like he needs a respawn button. Kim Ji-hyun's mind races with plans. His eyes lock on the exam. Curring mistakes is his new mission. Sigma's gotta grind, bro. The negotiation keeps heating up because apparently study guide duty is the new final boss arena. And Mr. Sung, this poor guy who got roped into committee work, is out here complaining about the workload like he just realized he signed up for a side quest with no reward drops. Then Kim Jae-hyun casually drops that he's been recommended to the employment committee, while simultaneously telling everyone else to stay far away from the study guide compilation team. Classic power move, redirecting the competition like a pro player controlling the map. Scene shifts to what looks like the medical school's storage closet/dungeon, where old copying equipment goes to die, and bookshelves are stacked tighter than a loot cave before the devs patched it. Absolute F-tier real estate for anyone normal. Mr. Sung offers to dump actual resources into upgrading this sad little operation, talking about better facilities and expansion plans like he's trying to build a guild hall from scratch. But we all know nothing comes free in this economy. Mr. Sung's offer sounds too good to be true. The other student is clearly suspicious. Dude thinks it's a setup, asking what's the catch like he's leveling up and expecting XP farms. But bro's about to fumble the bag hard, while his aura hits absolute zero, chat. I'm Jiangmin flusters under this man's gaze. He stutters, "Oh well, I don't know." Total skill issue. Meanwhile at the admin building, I am Jiangmin. That kid we caught cheating last chapter is absolutely mouthing at some random staff lady about his test grades, waving his arms around like a disconnected NPC whose dialogue tree just glitched out hard. Our protagonist walks right into the middle of this meltdown and starts pressing I'm Jiangmin about the obvious academic fraud, completely ignoring the way this dude is sweating bullets while babbling desperate threats about his dad coming to wreck his life if word gets out. Ji-hyun skips the warning shot entirely and just snatches I'm Jiangmin by the collar like he's looting a treasure chest, holding him up close while they have a very physical conversation about how cheating in medical school basically equals a permanent game over screen. But before he can absolutely delete this NPC, his pocket starts tweaking with a new L. Kim Ji-hyun's phone rings. He answers, clueless. Some dude asks if this is Kim Ji-hyun. Cracked. Caller sounds confused, asks if it's our guy. Kim Ji-hyun yaps back just as lost, negative aura. Scene shift, hospital room. Cut to the infirmary where director Mr. Sung is absolutely mouthing at our guy and his mysterious hooded homie, demanding to know why they turned the lone shark into a critical care patient instead of handling things like normal medical students who don't have secret former life combat XP. Mr. Sung's face is redder than a final boss in rage phase, screeching about proper apologies and calling someone a pathetic child like he spawned in as an etiquette NPC who got lost on the way to a different server. The director keeps going full lecture mode, specifically calling out the hooded figure for nearly sending the patient to the permanent respawn point and threatening police involvement, like that's somehow scarier than whatever street justice went down in the alleyway 5 minutes ago. Our guy just stands there soaking up the verbal damage because honestly, after surviving a jump scare from the lone shark, a hospital admin's yap session feels like AFK grinding in the starter zone, annoying but technically free XP. Mr. Sung finally rage quits the room, storming out with maximum salt energy, leaving Kim Jae-hyun alone with his hooded accomplice, who's definitely got some explaining to do about that damage output. Kim Ji-hyun finally catches his breath. Old habits die hard, bro. He wonders how long since he napped like this. WL grind A. But that piece is mid as hell, because this man's about to get absolutely cooked. Jun-hyuk spots Hannah on the train. His eyes widen at her presence. Whoa, completely dazed bro eats crumbs. Dinner dates, movie nights, coffee runs in Seongsudong. Sunset strolls through the park. Bros grinding relationship XP off every basic activity in the handbook while Hannah just vibes along. Completely unaware this man is speedrunning boyfriend achievements like his life depends on it. Later, at the city observation deck during golden hour, the whole cozy atmosphere crashes hard when Hannah suddenly starts unloading her tragic, orphan origin story right there at the sunset viewpoint, wiping tears while Jun-hyuk stands next to her like an NPC who forgot his dialogue options. She's out here confessing she has no family, no home, absolutely nothing, maximum vulnerability stat unlocked. And poor Jun-hyuk is just standing there doing the awkward comfort dance with all the social grace of a lagging player trying to emote during a cutscene. That evening, they duck into some traditional-style coffee shop that looks like it spawned from a cozy, aesthetic Pinterest board. And everything seems normal until Jun-hyuk walks up to the counter, and his entire operating system blue screens the second he locks eyes with the waitress. This random NPC server girl Nunna is standing there taking orders like a normal background character. But Junhyuk's staring at her like he just encountered a secret final boss that wasn't supposed to spawn until endgame. Because apparently she bears an uncanny, soul-crushing resemblance to his dead wife from a past life he somehow remembers. Anna's sitting at their checkerboard table noticing her date has gone paler than a hospital wall, asking if he's sick while he's internally having a full psychological collapse, and gaslighting her with, "No, I'm fine," energy so blatant even the coffee machine can tell he's cooked. Anyway, bro's miserable date gets cut short because his real life is about to get cooked. Kim Ji-hyun pulls up to this giga-rich villain lair at night looking ready to throw hands with whoever's inside. But Mr. Sung, the family's loyal NPC butler, immediately hits him with the worst possible quest update. His father is waiting upstairs and oh yeah, his brother got kidnapped off-screen like some background character who got written out between patches. Before our guy can even process that lore bomb, his brother Lee Jin-hyun, who is absolutely not here to play nice, snatches him by the collar and starts screaming about how Ji-hyun abandoned their sister to suffer alone, while their dad was too busy grinding corporate XP to notice his kids were literally dying inside. The city looms dark and cold. Kim Ji-hyun's breath hitches, reality hits like a boss fight, negative aura. The hard cut to darkness where Ji-hyun sits in his penthouse apartment staring at his white dog like the pup, holds the cosmic secret to whether money actually buys happiness, or if he's just hard stuck in the miserable rich kid meta. Then suddenly we're across town watching his best friend Lee Sangmin jolt awake from a nightmare involving some terrifying cat-human abomination. Then we're across to Lee Sangmin in class getting a lecture from Professor Choi about graduation stuff. Sangmin's all awkward, probably sweating like a nervous teenager about being picked valedictorian. Negative aura. Anyway, bro stops being a nervous NPC and decides to lock in for the main event. Our guy stands tall asking everyone's status, but the PK trainee steals the spotlight, ratioed. Head professor drops lore on the whole squad. Book smarts mean nothing without experience. And that doctor prefix isn't a flex. It's a binding contract where you promise to value actual human lives over your own ego. This man's aura is so intense you could power a whole hospital wing off his monologue alone. And everyone in the room just got reality checked into understanding medicine isn't a side quest anymore. Suddenly this man strides in, interrupting everyone's moral enlightenment session. He's more interested in munching than mentoring. Hey, why are you all standing around like? But before bro could finish his snack, the main boss spawned in to absolutely ruin everyone's vibe. Professor Choi, the server admin running this medical hellhole on nightmare difficulty, is absolutely roasting the entire team because apparently nobody remembers basic Gauss and Poole's protocols from the tutorial level. And there's some poor student whose face is already radiating more negative aura than an NPC who knows they're about to get cut from the expansion pack. But then the old man drops the final boss encounter right in front of them. Some elderly patient who's simultaneously manifesting terminal stomach cancer symptoms and acute leukemia markers like his body glitched out and tried to equip 2 legendary debuffs at once, leaving everyone staring at this medical impossibility like the game engine just broke. That's when Sangmin, our guy who's secretly been grinding XP across multiple lifetimes, steps up and basically tells the room to stop ego-maxing their pride stats and just perform the risky biopsy already because saving a human life outranks preserving your KD ratio by like 1,000,000 to 1, which is unironically the most Sigma healer move anyone's pulled in this hospital all season. Kim Ji-hyun's mind races with past regrets. Failed doctor vibes strong. But anyway, gotta dodge Professor Choi's toxic aura, ratioed. But before he can even process the L, the scene shifts to some serious main character glazing. Professor Choi is out here dropping the most supportive dad energy on Lee Sangmin, telling him some meeting is gonna go fine, probably glazing his confidence stat before the real grind starts. But then our guy Kim Ji-hyun absolutely bursts into the conversation like he just saw his KD ratio hit 0. Kim Ji-hyun's doing that thing where his internal monologue is screaming about shields getting chipped and all his progress getting nerfed off screen. Meanwhile, his fist is clenched so hard he could crack walnuts. Bro is manifesting anxiety like it's a side quest reward. Cut to the ICU bedside, and Lee Sangmin is staring down a patient who looks like they skipped every meal for 3 months straight. This guy's so thin, he might actually phase through solid objects. And our resident doctor is trying to auscultate lung sounds like he's grinding diagnostic XP against the clock. Senior attending is breathing down Lee Sangmin's neck, demanding he work faster because apparently medicine is a speedrun now. And Lee Sangmin picks up something nasty in those lungs, probably pneumonia given how this patient looks like they lost a fight with a tutorial boss. Suddenly every monitor in the room starts screaming like Lee Sangmin just pulled an aggro radius on the entire dungeon, and the patient's vitals are free-falling faster than a stock portfolio during a market crash. This is not the kind of plot twist anyone wanted. Lee Sangmin realizes he's standing in front of a full-code nightmare and immediately starts hollering for backup because even NPCs know when to call for reinforcements, shouting that this situation is way too risky, which, no shot, really cracked the case there, detective. The whole team goes into panic mode, starting compressions and grabbing the defibrillator like they're trying to speedrun a resurrection spell. But the patient's heart rate is flatlining harder than a canceled TV show, 0 aura remaining. Lee Sangmin is screaming for Professor Choi, while the monitors display nothing but disappointment. And you can see the exact moment this man's soul leaves his body, because his whole healing build just got countered by reality itself. But before Bro can even process that Professor Choi decides to spawn camp his remaining aura. Professor Choi traps Lee Jinhyun against the bookshelf and absolutely grills him about broken equipment and messy teammate drama like he's trying to farm confession XP off a tutorial enemy. The scene cuts to the hospital corridor, where Lee Sangmin attempts a tactical retreat from the chaos, while Jinhyun screams his frustrations at the ceiling tiles like he's trying to file a complaint with God himself. And suddenly, a graduation countdown pops up because apparently suffering counts as credit hours now. Kim Ji-hyun's aura's so negative it could power a small town. He agrees to apologize, but only if he gets answers first. Bro's got questions, and he ain't messing around. But before he gets a lick of truth, this absolute NPC decides to speedrun liver failure. Lee Sangmin, that work bestie of our main guy Kim Ji-hyun, decides the optimal way to process his existential dread is linking up with his purple-haired homie outside the station to absolutely hammer convenience store food while downing soju like it's an HP potion that secretly drains your stats. They're sitting there getting progressively more cooked by the bottle, genuinely mouthing about why their boy Kim Jun-hyuk ghosted the squad meetup, completely unaware that homeboy is probably off somewhere completing his romance side quest with Hannah, while these two are hard stuck in the friendship zone farming 0 social XP. Meanwhile, Mr. Sung sweats bullets late for his shift. His aura's so negative it could power a city. Ratioed. Kim Ji-hyun and Lee Sangmin face a tech crisis. Project Phoenix is glitching harder than a rookie coder. What now? Cooked. But before our guy can even debug this mid-performance, the local ice queen starts acting up. Lee Sangmin's deep in the science talk, acting all smart, but Sarah Jayton's vibe is pure frostbite, negative aura. The conversation pivots to straight cash homie, and Lee Sangmin hits them with a brutal reality check right out the gate. He asks if their corporate word actually holds weight, then casually drops $100 million figures like he's discussing lunch prices. Lee Sangmin lays down his final ultimatum, demanding $100 million guaranteed plus his professional title locked in, or he's taking his research notes and going home. Sarah physically pushes back from the table like she's rage-quitting a ranked match, threatening to take this exact same offer to their competitor client instead. Turns out she folded faster than an NPC, and now our guy's aura is straight cracked. The official notice drops, our guy's name is back on the medical staff list, unbanned from the server right after a certain higher-up caught an unexpected termination. Ji-hyun watches from the side with maximum skeptical side-eye, Loki intrigued that this comeback arc is actually loading. Later in some private hospital consultation room that definitely isn't a dungeon crawl waiting to happen, the reinstated Bro sits down with Professor Choi and this surgeon I.M. Jeongmin to drop a whole monologue about how he's not chasing titles or clout. He just wants a trustworthy medical environment to grind XP in without corrupt admins ruining the server economy. And it's time to load into the new zone. Our guy walks up to the office with the big surgery sign over the door like a raid gate, and the whole surgical squad is there to greet him, his colleague from the earlier meeting front and center welcoming him to the party. Now fully kitted out in the white coat legendary armor set with all its passive aura buffs active. He stands there calmly explaining how the emergency room head doctor role comes with actual weight and responsibility, while radiating more Sigma energy than a final boss who skipped the entire tutorial arc just to flex on the noobs. But sadly for our guy, that Sigma aura won't stop these absolute NPCs from yapping chat. Lee Sangmin, our favorite surgically enhanced workaholic, marches down the hospital corridor like he's trying to outpace his own emotional baggage, while random staff NPCs keep spawning to ask invasive questions about his dating life and sleep schedule. But Bro just keeps deflecting with the social awareness of someone who skipped the personality tree entirely. He's serving pure, do not interact energy, negative aura radiating off him harder than a leaked midterm exam. Scene shift coffee shop interior with warm lighting. Cut to the cafe where Lee Sangmin's sitting across from Professor Choi, his mentor figure who's basically the guild master of medical philosophy. And they're having this whole unskippable cutscene about whether you can maintain humanity points when your class is permanently locked to healer with boundary issues. The professor's out here dropping heavy lore about how his personal life keeps getting raided by his professional duties. And Lee Sangmin's listening with the expression of a guy who just realized his own social stats have been hard stuck at F tier since residency. And suddenly, clutch moment, Lee Sangmin's phone absolutely blows up with an emergency on-call notification that hits louder than a legendary item drop. And instantly this man's vibe shifts from philosophical side quest mode to main story objective activated before the professor even finishes his sip of coffee. That heartfelt conversation. Argay sprinting through the hospital hallways like he's got a permanent speed boost cheat code active, blurring past background characters whose render distance clearly couldn't handle his movement tech. And then he's ripping into those green surgical scrubs like he's equipping his endgame armor set before the final boss phase loads. The way he throws on that cap with muscle memory precision proves he's done this gear swap so many times it's basically automatic respawning at this point. Absolutely zero skill issue detected. Now we're inside the operating room under lights brighter than his future malpractice premiums, standing there fully scrubbed in among the surgical squad like he just hit max level and unlocked the secret ending route. And the tension in here is thicker than the plot armor protecting the main cast from actual consequences. This is it, the moment where all that theoretical yap about duty and sacrifice gets tested against cold, hard reality, and honestly, peak cinema incoming. But before bro can get cooked, that 1,000-yard stare hits with lethal levels of negative aura. Lee Sangmin stands over the patient with that 1,000-yard stare we all recognize, the one that says he's mentally replaying every failure from his past life, while trying to convince himself this is just another Tuesday, even though his internal dialogue is screaming louder than a streamer whose chat just found his old cringe tweets. He makes the first cut, and suddenly it's a horror movie in here because blood erupts like someone popped a cheap water balloon full of tomato juice. And the entire surgical team starts glitching out like NPCs whose pathfinding AI just broke, while Professor Choi watches from the sidelines with that classic "I've seen this go wrong before" expression. But instead of freezing up like some hard-stuck bronze player facing a smurf, Sangmin grabs the suction tube and goes absolutely feral on that blood pool, clearing the field so fast that Professor Choi actually shouts in shock, because this man just pulled a move that belongs in the advanced tech tree, not the tutorial level. While everyone else is still processing the fact that their vision isn't permanently ruined, Sangmin is already clamping vessels and throwing sutures like he's speedrunning a Dark Souls boss fight, with the music turned off, total composure, zero wasted movements, and absolutely no indication that he was literally having a panic attack 30 seconds ago. He finishes the entire transplant in record time and Professor Choi comes through with the glazing, calling his performance perfect like Sangmin didn't just clutch a win that should have been a guaranteed loss streak. And honestly, if this man's confidence was a stock chart, it would look like a crypto coin that just mooned overnight. Except that W was way too clean, and bro is about to get absolutely cooked by reality. Lee Sangmin wakes up sweating, heart racing. Flashbacks hit him like a truck, calls Donghua for reassurance. Ratioed. Lee Sangmin's breath catches. Heart pounding, he dials Donghua again. Still sweating bullets, bro, ratioed. Lee Sangmin's mind races. Flashbacks haunt him worse than a bad game load. Sweat drips, phone silent, skill issue. Professor Choi stands there all serious. Sangmin's mind blanks out. He didn't even say hi. Negative aura. Sangmin's mind blanks again. He saw him yesterday, never thought he'd end up like this. Sad. Kim Ji-hyun pops up out of nowhere. Bro's face goes full disbelief mode. Unbelievable indeed. Im Ji-youngmin grips the steering wheel tight. His eyes flash red, brooding over some deep shit. This man's aura's dropping faster than his stock portfolio. Meanwhile, across town in a red car that screams, "I'm either a villain or a K-drama love interest." Im Ji-youngmin is staring at a photograph of some woman like he just unlocked a secret side quest that's about to derail the entire main storyline. Im Ji-youngmin's grip tightens on the wheel. His eyes blaze red, plotting revenge. This dude's aura's more negative than a drained battery. Ratioed. Professor Choi holds up a vial. Kim Ji-hyun's arm ready for the needle. Bro's confidence is pure main character energy. Ratioed. Kim Ji-hyun steps up and casually asserts that she's built different, claiming her resilience stats are maxed out, and she's ready to tank whatever debuff this procedure throws at her HP bar. Professor Choi's hand hovers over the vial. Kim Ji-hyun's arm stays steady. Bro's got nerves of steel, or maybe he's just cooked. They clasp hands in a grip firmer than Sangmin's grasp on his own sanity, sealing the deal on their partnership while Ji-hyun hits him with the ultimate contract clause. This arrangement expires exactly when they get married. Both of them immediately start blushing so hard you could toast marshmallows on their faces, complete with heartbeat sound effects filling the screen because these two are down catastrophically, and everyone in a 50-foot radius can feel the second-hand embarrassment. But sadly, the cringe fest ended fast once this man checked his actual L-tier grades. Lee Sangmin stares down at his trial test results like they're holy scripture, fully convinced the universe personally handed him a destiny pass, while the rest of us are still grinding XP off tutorial mobs. Kim Ji-hyun's inner monologue about skincare is pure comedy gold. Bro thinks dermatology is a side quest, not the main story. Ratioed. But the vibe check arrives fast. Professor Choi and Mr. Sung, the family patriarch who makes final bosses look like friendly NPCs, corner our guy to have a little chat about those abnormal grades and his general attitude problem. And suddenly Sangmin's defense mechanisms are spinning up harder than a fan meeting their anti. Kim Ji-hyun cracks a nervous laugh trying to play cool under pressure. But his face says it all. This is a side quest he didn't ask for. It's over. Of course, Mr. Sung tracks him down mid-sip to serve up some fresh roasts. And Sangmin starts venting about how miserable his whole situation is, basically admitting out loud that his character build got assigned completely random stats he never asked for in the first place. And the old man hits him with the most insane plot twist. He wants Sangmin to be his official successor, which is either the biggest stat buff in the entire game or the most obvious trap, since that one free VPN download link. And Sangmin's brain is currently blue screening trying to figure out if this is a reward or an incoming nerf. Our boy actually has the absolute nerve to reject the inheritance outright, standing there declaring he's gonna stay a regular doctor instead of running the family empire, which is such a ballsy move it might actually circle all the way back around to stupid, because Mr. Sung's patience stat just hit 0, and there's the slap, connecting with Sangmin's face hard enough to physically redistribute his facial features across multiple timelines, while he lets out a noise that's somewhere between shock and pure regret. Now he's bleeding on the floor looking like a defeated mob, while Mr. Sung threatens to wipe him from the family registry like corrupted save data, delivering the final ultimatum: go to Dale Hospital, master surgery, or get permanently banned from the legacy. Credits roll, Sangmin's choice, grind XP at Dale Hospital or respawn at the last save point, ratioed. Anyway, bro's inventory is completely bricked, so let's see how this L actually plays out. Kim Ji-hyun's hard-won dream shattered, 10 years of grinding repaid with cosmic mute, only emptiness now, ratioed. Kim Ji-hyun's eyes widen at the news. 2 billion won? Bro, that's more than his life savings, negative aura. Next thing we know, the gray suit's phone is blowing up like he's the contact info for a limited drop event. And when Kim Ji-hyun hears Dale Hospital ranks #1 nationally, his entire personality flips from hard pass to say less faster than a gacha player opening their wallet. He's already volunteering to show up in person. Bro went from dodging recruiters like malware to downloading the whole operating system. But bro's about to realize that walking away from this absolute gigachad is officially cooked. Lee Sangmin sits there looking like a save file just corrupted, hands clasped tight, face frozen in disbelief because Kim Ji-hyun just shredded his resignation letter like unwanted loot drops. He really thought he could rage quit the main quest and log off, but our protagonist, radiating pure, you're locked in forever, energy with zero intention of accepting that exit ticket. Later, out on the city streets at dusk, Ji-hyun's basically force-walking Sangmin through the urban map while spinning some lore about how his master specifically requested this guy's unique medical skill tree. Sangmin's trailing behind looking completely confused, probably wondering if he accidentally accepted a side quest that doesn't even have a decline button. Meanwhile, in the VIP lounge, Ji-hyun's all eyes on Sangmin, bro's asking if he should call Himi. Sangmin's vibe, total chill dude, ratioed. And then, out of nowhere, Ji-hyun shoves him backward onto the leather couch with full physical commitment, pinning him down while remarking how hard Sangmin's heart is thumping against his ribs like a broken notification sound. Our boy's flat on his back staring up in complete shock, realizing this whole recruitment arc just speedrun from corporate drama straight into survival horror territory. Bro's aura just hit 0, but the redemption arc is about to go full cracked mode. Lee Sangmin stands there looking like he just got hit with the realization that being a silent bystander is the biggest skill issue of all time. His whole internal monologue basically screaming, "It's over," before pivoting hard into, "We're so back," territory as he decides he's done watching from the sidelines while our guy Kim Ji-hyun gets cooked by life's tutorial bosses. Lee Sangmin steps forward, face lit up like he just unlocked a new achievement. He's ready to drag Kim Ji-hyun out of his pity party, ratioed. Kim Ji-hyun's mouth hangs open like he just ate a whole bag of regret. His aura points are dipping, negative aura. Cut to the lecture hall. Sudden scene change like the game loaded a new map. And now Lee's standing there getting interrogated by half the med student server, hooray all wondering when this F-tier background character started acting like he's got S-tier credentials locked and loaded. Lee Sangmin standing tall, owning the room like he's the main character now. Everyone's eyes glued to him, waiting for the drop. But it's just a tutorial arc, bro, ratioed. Lee hits them with the most unhinged power scaling claim imaginable, basically announcing that his surgical skills are cracked beyond what the meta allows. And the entire lecture hall collective brainrots for a solid second, because nobody expected the random guy in the back row to start flexing like he's already cleared the final boss. Jeongmin's face shifts from skeptical NPC to someone who just realized he might actually have to respect a player he thought was hard stuck in bronze tier, and you can practically see the calculations running behind his eyes like he's checking if this is a glitch, or if Lee actually grinded XP off-screen. Scene transition to the actual hospital ward. This is where the rubber meets the road, folks. And suddenly we're in Digestive System Central, where Lee starts explaining complex procedures to I.M. like he's reading from a strategy guide that hasn't even been published yet. I.M.'s listening with the intensity of someone trying to figure out if he just got baited into respecting a fraud, or if Lee Sangmin genuinely went from zero to hero while nobody was watching the minimap. And honestly, the tension is thicker than a raid group wiping on mechanics they refuse to learn. But before Bro can even blink, the aura shift goes terminal and shit hits the fan. I'm Jiangmin, that one colleague who's been grinding the Catch the Villain storyline like his life depends on it, corners some random hospital patient and starts grilling him hard about his connections to that man, meaning Lee Sangmin, except the patient absolutely does not want to hear it and goes full rage mode right in his face before storming out like an NPC who just triggered their aggression radius. Left standing there looking like he just got ratioed by a background character, Jiangmin retreats to check the medical reports only to find every single test came back negative. Zero evidence, zero dirt, literally nothing to work with. And you can see the exact moment his whole investigation arc hits a skill issue wall before he clenches up and vows he'll catch Sangmin anyway, which is cute because Kim Jihyun just walked in and has no idea she's entering a malding zone. Our girl Jihyun rolls up with main character energy, all smiles, asking if Jiangmin wants to grab some food together like a normal human being who understands social cues and meals and sunlight. But this man looks at her with the warmth of a frozen tutorial boss and shuts her down flat, claiming he's too busy with work, even though we all know he's just hard stuck in his obsessive Sangmin grind set. Jihyun doesn't get the memo, or maybe she does and decides to push anyway. Leaning in with that, forget your troubles, find someone new, energy that's giving major romantic subplot vibes. But Jiangmin is so deep in his own head thinking about his rival that he's basically treating her like ambient noise while internally drafting manifestos about justice and revenge. And here's the punchline that absolutely sends this whole sequence into comedy orbit. The camera pulls back and reveals that while Jihyun was out here pouring her heart out trying to spark something real, I.M. Jiangmin has been sitting alone this entire time reading a book called Real Estate Tips and Tricks like he's preparing to become a landlord, instead of acknowledging that a woman just tried to rizz him up, and he fumbled the bag so hard it's in another zip code. But before he can log off, our guy gets hit with a level 10 reality check chat. Im Jihyun snaps upright in his hospital bed like he just glitched back into existence after the longest loading screen of his life. While Professor Choi, that senior doctor who looks like he's been grinding this hospital shift since the server launched, casually drops the bomb that our boy was fully comatose for 14 days straight and cannot recall a single thing before waking up. Now standing tall in his crisp white coat and radiating main character energy hard enough to buff the entire floor, Jihyo confronts both Professor Choi and Sarah Jayton, his colleague who's already stress-sweating like she walked into the final boss room under-leveled, demanding to know why he got dragged into some emergency case meeting without any lore context, while visibly mouthing about being kept in the dark. Kim Ji-hyun's grip tightens on Professor Choi's collar. He yells about handling patients like family. Sarah Jayton watches, aura points dropping faster than a noob in a raid. Hugh keeps pressing the attack with zero chill, shouting that he'll speedrun this whole investigation solo if the professor keeps capping about what really happened, while Sarah desperately pleads for them to touch grass and remember there's an actual patient involved. All while our guy's face contorts into that classic 1,000-yard stare that screams he remembers way more than anyone realizes. But before Jihyo can even cook, this absolute NPC decides to speedrun his career into the dirt. Sangmin studies medical files at his desk until a sudden epiphany hits him harder than a legendary item drop. Jihyun storms in absolutely fuming because Sangmin just gambled with patient Kim Junho's hemolytic anemia like it was a tutorial skip attempt. Professor Choi tries to mediate in the corridor between Sangmin's reckless blood test demand and Jihyun's valid concerns about the patient's stability. The veteran doc watches these two clash like teammates blaming each other for throwing a ranked match. Lee Sangmin hears the price on the phone. 50 grand, bro cracks up. This man's aura points just dropped. Striding down the hall like he owns the server, Sangmin gets praised by senior staff Mr. Sung for nailing that brutal rhabdomyolysis case. Professor Choi watches Sangmin ink the deal. This man's comeback is pure cinema, but it's all a side quest to our guy's main story, ratioed. But before Sangmin can celebrate, the vibe shift hits harder than a speed hacker getting banned. Professor Choi is reading Lee Sangmin, that one dedicated doctor who somehow keeps finding himself in hot water for absolute filth in this office, laying down the law like a final boss who caught you speed hacking. While Kim Jihyun watches from the corner with that 1,000-yard stare screaming, he remembers exactly how this goes down because he's literally lived this timeline already. Then we get this quick flash to some wholesome memory with Yeonhee, probably, given the context, reminding us our boy Sangmin actually has something worth fighting for before we snap back to the interrogation room vibes. Lee Sangmin whips around and bellows Jihyun's name into the ether like a man watching his save file corrupt in real time. every ounce of composure shattering as he stands there completely exposed and desperate under those harsh lights, before he just turns and walks into the dark corridor alone, leaving a silence that hits harder than any lecture ever could. To Sangmin speedwalking through the hospital corridors like he's trying to beat a part-time, discussing some patient's critical abdominal pain situation with Im Jiangmin. You know, that one colleague who treats every medical decision like it's a surprise pop quiz nobody studied for, and deciding to ship the poor soul to the ICU regardless of the risk factors, because playing it safe is strictly for side characters who didn't equip their plot armor this morning. He rocks up to the surgery department threshold. Yeah, big boy territory, the actual Oakwood division where the real carries hang out, and formally introduces himself to the whole medical squad gathered there like he's announcing a server transfer to the most elite raid group on the server. Sangmin approaches this nurse at her station who's visibly glitching out from sheer nerves, asking where a specific patient room is, while she stammers through her response lines like an NPC whose dialogue tree completely bugged out the second a max-level player entered her spawn zone, and Bro's face is showing that giga-determined energy like he's about to solo carry the entire operation. But before Bro can even finish his main quest, things take an even goofier turn elsewhere. Kim Ji-hyun watches some chick struggle to grab a box. She's all, too high. Skill issue much, ratioed. Lee Sangmin, this confident surgeon ally of ours who thinks he's the raid leader, walks up and casually tells her to go surgically remove some damaged tissue from a patient. And she just starts agreeing on loop like an NPC who forgot all her dialogue options except, yes sir, while her actual brain is drafting manifestos in the background. She's wearing the most compliant medical mask imaginable, hiding enough red flags to stock a communist rally. And Bro has no clue he just assigned homework to someone whose revenge quest is currently buffering at 90%. Professor Choi steps in, dropping medical jargon like it's hot. He's all seroma and infection. Meanwhile, Lee Sangmin's face reads, challenge accepted, ratioed. Lee Sangmin steps up, claiming the surgery like it's his side quest. The others blink, thinking tutorial boss, negative aura. Anyway, Bro is about to get absolutely cooked, because the universe loves a good glitch. Lee Sangmin's day just went from 0 to 60. Professor Choi dumps a big surgery on him. Like, what did the intern do wrong? Ratioed. Mr. Sangmin watches from his fancy office. He's all smug about Lee Sangmin's skills, but it's just a side quest for him. NPC vibes. Scene shift surgical preparation room. Fast forward to the locker room where Sangmin's assembling his party like we're about to enter a raid dungeon with mechanics that'll one-shot anyone who doesn't read the guide. And there's Kim Ji-hyun, a regressed surgeon protagonist who's lived this exact nightmare scenario in a past life, but is currently trying to maintain composure like he didn't just remember every malpractice lawsuit from his previous timeline. The energy in the room shifts from chaotic hospital vibes to something almost cinematic, like the cutscene before the final boss where everyone checks their equipment one last time and pretends they're not terrified. Teams gearing up now, pulling on those surgical masks that hide every expression of doubt, securing gowns that transform them from tired med students into an elite strike force. And Sangmin hits them with the motivational speech, equivalent of telling the squad this isn't just another Tuesday. It's war, dropping lines about how the operating room is a battlefield where human lives hang in the balance, and one wrong move means game over with no continues allowed. He's really going full Giga Sigma here, treating emergency surgery like a ranked match where only the most cracked players don't get sent back to the lobby crying. We're inside the OR now under lights bright enough to expose every sweat gland on your body. And Sangmin stands at the head of the table demanding total silence like he's the raid leader calling for focus right before the tank pulls the boss, scanning every assistant until they're too scared to even blink incorrectly. The scalpel is out, the patient's survival riding on whether this team can execute the perfect rotation without anyone forgetting their keybinds. And our man's ready to prove why he skipped straight from Tutorial Island to endgame content. But Bro's about to get hit with the most mid-energy check from a total NPC. The senior surgeon pegs our guy as some intern. Our guy holds his name tag up for all to see. Dedication maxed. The old man continues yapping absolute nonsense, accusing our boy of paranoia and barking contradictory orders, while Sangmin just nods and prepares to hijack the controls anyway. It's like watching an NPC glitch out during a critical questline, and everyone in the room knows the real player is about to take over the save file. He grabs the scalpel with confidence. He's built for this. Staff murmur impressed. He's not some intern, he's a doctor on a power-level grind. Our boy seals the deal with a monologue that screams main character energy, declaring himself the miracle doctor, and basically threatening to banish anyone who dares slow his grind from future surgeries. He's telling the entire medical staff they're either hopping on the bandwagon to glory or getting permanently stuck in the tutorial lobby while he speedruns straight to legendary tier status. But before he can even flex that negative aura, reality checks him harder than a ranked ratio. Kim Ji-hyun stands frozen between his allies like a raid party about to attempt a nightmare difficulty run. His face screams main character energy, but this man already saw the game over screen once and refuses to see that respawn timer ever again. He dropped directly into the operating room, and the squad immediately questions his credentials like they just discovered he's actually unranked. Someone has the nerve to ask where he learned surgery with a patient wide open on the table. Yet our guy just yaps about past experience like explaining a broken speedrun route to confused noobs. The pressure hits maximum, and one of the surgeons looks ready to disconnect from the server entirely, sweating while his brain buffers at max capacity. You can practically see the question marks floating above his head as he wonders why Ji-hyun is playing like he has admin commands enabled while everyone else is stuck using default loadouts. Professor Choi rolls into the chat looking like he just took critical damage from a chest pain debuff, genuinely worried that their hard carry is about to crash the entire lobby. But Ji-hyun hits him with a full lecture about how traditional meta builds won't work on this specific patient, essentially telling the veteran player that everything changed while he was offline and we're running experimental strats now. Before anyone can process that power play, Mr. Sung teleports into the operating room radiating more negative aura than an unscheduled server maintenance window, immediately challenging Ji-hyun for running a high-risk operation without getting signed permission from the developers. Bro's aura was already cooked, but he's about to get absolutely folded by the lag spike. Professor Choi seizes up and hits the floor like his connection dropped, and the whole ore starts screeching while Kim Ji-hyun stands there frozen like someone lag-switched his brain. Our guy's brain still stuck on reboot mode. Then some spooky voice whispers, "Anything's possible," ratioed by his own psyche. Our guy stares blank-faced at the dying patient. No time for excuses, he thinks, but his whole arc was mid. Lee Sang-min steps in all casual. "Hey, got time for a private chat?" Our guy's vibe shifts from hero mode to side quest, ratioed. But before our guy could even blink, this absolute NPC crawled out of the woodwork to cope. Kim Ji-hyun walks into the hospital room where Lee Jin-hyun, that peacock surgeon who thinks he's the main character, smirks like he just beat tutorial mode. Hannah watches the tension spike harder than a patient's blood pressure before code blue hits. They march down the hallway while random staff whisper about somebody's reputation, taking more LS than a hard-stuck bronze player should legally be allowed. Jin-hyun struts like he's leading a victory lap, even though they're literally just walking to a meeting. Our guy's rep is soaring. Staff whisper he's the true hero behind some big project, but our guy's just here for the coffee, not the hype, ratioed. Then comes the cinema moment. Our guy casually drops an obscure medical fact straight from his past life memory banks that shouldn't exist in any textbook. Jin-hyun's face shifts from smug to confused to genuine panic in real time, while the panels go dark mode, showing those regression save files loading up. But before our guy finishes him, watch this NPC try to farm some serious aura points. Kim Ji-hyun stands there in his legendary white coat armor set, nodding solemnly at the patient's family while delivering that classic post-op victory speech about how everything went according to plan, and their loved one is totally stable now. He's maxing out his bedside manner stat, giving them that reassuring doctor aura like he didn't literally respawn with future vision cheat codes already active. Our guy struts down the hall consulting the team. Acid heartburn hits when he spots a WTF face. Surprised much, bro. Now we're at the bedside, and our guy is running his hands over this patient's stomach doing the standard palpation check-in. Except suddenly, his fingers hit something that makes his whole facial expression glitch, because this ain't normal human anatomy. He just found a hidden chest that wasn't supposed to spawn in this particular biome. The vibe shift is instant, going from casual daily quest to encountering a corrupted file that's been quietly breaking the game mechanics right under everyone's noses. His face goes full 1,000-yard stare as the realization crashes down like a critical system failure. This isn't just some random benign growth. We're talking about a massive tumor sitting on this person's liver the size of a final boss hitbox. And every single warning sign he's reading screams that this patient has been carrying a death sentence inside them, while the medical team missed every single damage indicator. This man just went from thinking he was helping someone level up through recovery to staring down a timer that's been counting down in silence. And you can see it in his eyes. The weight of knowing exactly how bad this is hits different when you've got decades of surgical trauma preloaded into your memory banks. Anyway, bro wakes up from that fever dream with negative aura and 0 brain cells left. Kim Ji-hyun jolts awake beside some poor soul's hospital bed and immediately starts apologizing like he just rage quit a ranked match, while his colleague Lee Sang-min stands there looking more confused than an NPC who missed their dialogue trigger. His buddy tries to explain that surgery's off the table because this dude's got an aneurysm that could pop faster than a noob's ego. But our main character refuses to accept that L and keeps pushing for a transplant like he's trying to unlock a hidden ending. The camera zooms in on the patient's face. Bro looks like he's already loading the respawn screen. as our guy grips his hand and lays out the brutal truth that they need a matching blood-type donor or it's game over for real this time. Suddenly we're in some office, and our guy's face-to-face with a guy in an orange suit, Mr. Sung himself, who's pressing him about a massive debt and some shady side quest involving Professor Choi, because apparently medical drama wasn't enough stress. Now he's got to deal with loan shark side missions too. But before bro can dodge this L, the hospital decides to drop even more negative aura. Some doc tells our guy the patient's toast. No hope left, just sign the papers. Our guy's about to get ratioed by medical facts. Our guy steps in all main character energy. Comforts the patient, says it's okay to fail, but dude, you're in a hospital bed, ratioed. The docs debate our guy's return. One asks why an intern handled such a case. Skill issue much, cooked. Our guy's crew decides it's time to bounce. They're done here, why stick around for more drama, ratioed. Cut to our man parked at a computer station pulling up his own professional profile and credentials like he's min-maxing his stat build before facing the final boss. Face locked in with gigafocus, while Sarah Jayton watches from the background, probably calculating whether he's actually cracked or just deep in copium about passing the upcoming evaluation gauntlet. But before bro can even finish his main character arc, the vibe gets absolutely nuked. Professor Choi slams his palm onto the desk demanding answers about some questionable case calls, while Kim Ji-hyun sits there doing his best impression of an NPC who accidentally triggered a cutscene. He cannot skip no matter how fast he mashes buttons. Our guy nods stiffly, eyes darting like he's dodging sniper fire. Intern's treatment plan? Genius level, Professor Choi's glare, straight F-tier vibes, ratioed. Our guy checks his phone, face going full alarm clock. He's yapping about some article drama, negative aura. Sarah Jayton, the ally who definitely did not sign up for this emotional DLC expansion pack. And Lee Sangmin, the designated mediator who handles every conflict like a side quest he already 100% completed last patch, corner him against a backdrop of memory fragments. While the mediator stands there radiating pure Sigma energy without breaking a single sweat drop, our protagonist looks like he is trying to debug his own source code while running on empty RAM. Ji-hyun stares at SUVWAY like it's a puzzle piece that doesn't fit. This man's aura points dipping into negative territory. Bro's trying to remember if there's even a sandwich here, stuck in a skill issue. He mechanically processes food that might be a burger while his brain runs intensive background calculations on everything that went down earlier, pretending the casual banter isn't clipping right through his model like he's not even rendered properly. Now we're in cozy caf territory with warm ambient lighting and pink-tinted panels that can only mean one thing. Emotional vulnerability is loading, whether he consented to this questline or not. Our guy grills his little crush on past obsession. Was that really you? Why the fixation? Pure drama, cooked. Anyway, before he could even process his negative aura, the girlie started popping off. Hannah's leading the convo all jazzed up. Our guy's just along for the ride, no clues. How'd she nail the sandwich hunch? Ratioed. And Hannah, that manipulative social climber who treats emotional devastation like a casual side hobby, leans in close with the nastiest shit-eating grin you'd ever see outside a toxic ranked lobby, and starts dropping devastating lore bombs about some mysterious woman buried deep in our protagonist's forgotten backstory. His eyes go wide as dinner plates, because she's basically data mining his tragic origin story and broadcasting spoilers to the whole server, while he sits there getting verbally flamed in real time with 0 defensive cooldowns available. He keeps pressing the attack with that superior smirk locked in place like she just unlocked a secret ending path that nobody else on the leaderboard discovered yet. And our guy is visibly mouthing so hard his jaw could crack diamonds, probably gripping his napkin like it personally wronged his ancestors, because he cannot believe this random NPC just pulled his entire receipt pile in public. And just like that, the Chaos Agent turns on her heel and struts away with maximum victory aura. She landed her critical hits and immediately disconnected before the admin team could issue any bans, leaving him standing there alone at the table looking like someone just corrupted his main save file right before the final boss. Meanwhile, over in the villain sector, Professor Choi, that rage-baiting hospital administrator who runs his department like a hardcore dungeon crawl, is absolutely losing his entire mind, throwing a tantrum so violent the building probably needs immediate structural reinforcement. Some poor subordinate attempts to play damage control and de-escalate the situation, but this man is fully cooked beyond recognition, screaming about bastards needing justice, while his blood pressure stats break through the ceiling like a glitched exploit. Anyway, ignore that mid-tier temper tantrum, because our guy is about to crash this party chat. Kim Ji-hyun pulls up a chair next to the hospital bed, where Mr. Sung is visibly breaking down over surgery costs like he just opened an American hospital bill and saw the decimal point. The bedridden man's anxiety spikes straight into red zone territory as he starts hyperventilating about his superiors discovering his condition, shaking like a phone receiving texts during a silent exam. He's convinced getting caught equals permanent account ban, career wiped, achievements revoked, and the reborn surgeon tries to talk him off the ledge with the patience of someone who's already died and respawned with saved data intact. Suddenly, the door slam spawns Professor Choi like a tutorial boss who skipped the dialogue, already max raging with negative aura and ready to verbally assault a sick dude in a hospital bed. This white-coated villain starts bellowing about guilt while casually mentioning that mysterious superiors are spectating the whole mess like Twitch viewers waiting for content, and our guy's just sitting there watching two NPCs aggro on each other in his cutscene. Shouting match escalates into pure toxicity as the furious academic and the terrified patient yell past each other about fault and funding, both clearly stuck on different quest lines without a party chat. Meanwhile, the protagonist's brain finally completes the download. This entire garbage fire isn't about ethics or patient care. It's about cash changing hands under the table like a pay-to-win mobile game economy run by greed goblins. Scene shift, later, tucked away in what looks like a private office or lab, Lee Sangmin corners our hero to confirm what he already suspected. The previous disaster was just wealthy players treating human lives as expendable side quest items. The info broker spells out the monetary motive clear as day, and suddenly our guy's face shifts from exhausted confusion to full Sigma grindset determination, ready to exploit his future knowledge like a speedrunner who just found a new clip-through glitch in the game code. But before Bro can even process that he's already about to cook this fraud mentor. Kim Ji-hyun absolutely lays down the law with Professor Choi, telling the man point-blank that he is not signing up for another round of medical school grind when he already cleared this content in his past life save file. The old mentor's brain is visibly buffering because nobody has ever looked him in the eye and said, "I choose to nerf myself out of your storyline," with that much confidence while standing in his office like a final boss who just refused the summon. Our guy cracks up inside, thinking how this mentor's aura is less intimidating than a chat bot. He's built different now, immune to the pressure, ratioed. And we hard cut to the split-screen reality check where everyone processes their separate damage. She's parked in a shadowy corner with that thousand-yard stare expression of someone who just watched their favorite ship sink in real time, while our guy is hunched over his laptop keyboard like a speedrunner, trying to glitch through a wall before the developers patch the exploit. Same building, completely different servers, both of them stuck loading the next area while the background music plays that tense violin sting. But Bro is truly beyond cooked, and the delusions are only just getting started. Our guy cracks a laugh, insisting he's fine, but that sweat stain says otherwise. Negative aura. Our boy leans in close to drop some serious medical knowledge bombs about how their mystery patient is basically held together with duct tape and prayers right now, spelling out the surgical risks with the calm demeanor of someone explaining why your gacha pull rates got nerfed last patch. The senior doc fires back with questions sharper than a scalpel made of pure anxiety, while the nervous teammate absorbs every word with an expression that screams she's calculating whether med school was actually worth the soul-crushing debt after all. Their host drops the kind of news that transforms this from a consultation into a speedrun category nobody subscribed to. Something about the patient's timeline crumbling faster than a sandcastle during monsoon season, or security concerns that make the airport metal detectors look like polite suggestions. The youngest member of the crew visibly blue screens at this intel dump, trading panicked glances with the mentor figure like they're trying to decide who draws the short straw on telling the pilot to turn this plane around. But our protagonist just nods with the quiet confidence of a final boss who already memorized the wiki guide. They touch down and immediately get whisked through VIP channels like actual important people, instead of sleep-deprived doctors running on stale pretzels and existential dread. Descending the escalator, while their handler explains ground transport with the urgency of someone whose bonus depends on them not getting kidnapped before reaching the hospital. Our guy's scanning every exit like he's expecting a random encounter to spawn at baggage claim. Meanwhile, the veteran medic is playing full mom-friend duty, helping the anxious one wrangle luggage that weighs more than her confidence right now. Suddenly, emergency lights flash. This ain't a side quest, it's full-bore crisis mode. The nurses yell, but our guy's already zeroing in on the problem. Negative aura. But before he can even cook, this absolute fraud decides to play doctor and gets humbled. Our guy steps up claiming med student vibes. Flight crew's all confused, asking how long he's been out. Classic side quest, not the main story. Our guy spots trouble, shouting to stop. This ain't a drill, folks. He's knee-deep in a side quest, no shot at a happy ending. Ratioed. The observers, including Hannah and Sarah, watch in mounting horror as our guy starts demanding surgical implements or acceptable substitutes, suddenly clocking that he's about to perform invasive chest surgery on the stained airline carpet like this is completely standard operating procedure for economy class. Without waiting for clearance or proper sterile equipment, he executes a textbook needle thoracostomy driving straight into the chest cavity, and the hissing escape of trapped air confirms the diagnosis, tension pneumothorax, and he just solo carried the save file from certain wipe. The patient's breathing rhythm actually stabilizes, because this man has done this exact procedure more times than most doctors have had hot meals. And now he's casually explaining decompression mechanics to the shell-shocked passengers and crew who just witnessed unauthorized open-chest gameplay at cruising altitude. But before he can even enjoy the aura boost, his phone goes straight terminal-pilled. Our guy's phone buzzes, he checks it face blank. Then, he's got a text from Destiny, ratioed. And would you look at that? The team discovers a whole second critical injury that was absolutely cooking this minister from the inside out, meaning our boy essentially speedrun a life-or-death diagnosis that every other medic on that plane whiffed completely. Surgery wraps up perfectly fine, and instead of soaking up the W like a rational human being, he hits the exhausted crew with the most morbid joke imaginable about hopefully not needing that bloody scalpel again, which is peak comedy timing if your sense of humor got nerfed by medical school. Cut to the airport tarmac, where the plane's finally grounded, and he's trying to hand off his stabilized patient to the ground crew like he's completing a fetch quest and sneaking out the instance before the cutscene triggers. Some senior doctor is absolutely glazing the fact that they performed major invasive surgery without any imaging equipment, which is actually insane when you think about the malpractice potential. And our guy deflects with the most casual, I read it in a book excuse before walking off like an NPC who finished their dialogue options. But the universe has other plans because reporters are already swarming the area like vultures spotting fresh content, forcing him to activate stealth mode and try to dip past the cameras while radiating suspicious energy. Right when he thinks he's in the clear, Lee Yonhee, that's the coworker who's clearly down bad for him, noted for the record, casually invites him to grab a meal together. And he has to gently reject her because bro is currently speedrunning an escape mission and has no time for side quests involving social interaction. There's this weirdly melancholic moment with the blonde colleague where she's giving him complete silence treatment, and he's internally accepting that they probably won't cross paths for a long time, which hits different when you're both running on pure adrenaline and existential dread. Back at the hospital, our guy's colleague asks if he caught the news. Nope, just missed the whole circus, ratioed. So this ex-justice dude's flying home, thinking he's got Prime Minister vibes. Little does he know our guy's about to steal all his spotlight, ratioed. So this ex-justice dude's flying home, thinking he's got Prime Minister vibes. Little does he know our guy's about to steal all his spotlight, ratioed. Meanwhile, some surgeon on the plane cracks open the ex-justice's chest like it's a side quest, glazing. His green-haired friend stands there witnessing the entire disaster unfold, while internally processing that our guy is truly a piece of work, which is frankly the most accurate summary of this man's entire existence. But before he can even blink, the universe decides to force his hand with more mid-nonsense. The receptionist phones our guy, begging him to see the masked patient. Insistent much? Our guy cracks under pressure, answering the call, ratioed. Scene shift examination room. Our guy barely gets his stethoscope on the chest before diagnosing acute enteritis. And immediately this patient starts glazing him like he just discovered penicillin, instead of just listening to gut noises for 45 seconds. Next up, a mom drags in her kid pretending to be sick. Our guy cracks under the pressure. No time to study, he yaps internally, ratioed. Scene shift doctor's office study area. Night. Night hits and the sleep deprivation debuff stacks until he's literally vowing to risk his life over textbooks while doing the head bob struggle against consciousness at his desk. Then slaps himself awake like he's trying to force respawn at the last checkpoint. Scene shift office. Daytime morning brings fresh anxiety spirals about needing perfect exam scores or watching his second chance crash into F-tier obscurity. Right when the admin manager bursts in to announce that some VIP has landed specifically to see him, which is either huge news or a lawsuit summons. Continues, enrolls Kim Chang-young himself, the ex-justice minister he saved midair, parked in a wheelchair alongside his caretaker, Hannah. And the man looks ready to tear up, thanking our guy for saving his life, while apologizing for being bedridden so long that he couldn't come sooner. Continues, the former minister keeps emphasizing how words can't cover this debt, especially considering our boy pulled off major surgery without consent forms signed. And now, he's basically offering unlimited future solid favors like he's handing out endgame gear. Continues, when the big shot asks him to be his personal physician going forward, our guy agrees instantly with the one hard exception being airplanes, because that trauma is permanently installed. But inside he's realizing that locking in a dermatology residency probably means never treating this patient again unless the guy wants cosmetic work. Continues, once the VIP finally exits with safe wishes, our medical student collapses onto the office couch like his hitbox just got disabled, admitting he was low-key terrified the whole interaction. And then we time skip straight to December 12th because the plot needs to move. Scene shift Busan Hospital office. December. Stationed at the Busan branch where the patient requests have finally cooled down, our guy realizes he still has to physically travel to Seoul just to submit his residency application. and he briefly considers asking Moonjin for help before deciding that requires social energy he doesn't possess. Continues, his phone lights up with one of those philosophical yaps from my friend Lee Sangman about money versus medicine that manages to be both deeply annoying and weirdly reliable. But before he can finish eye-rolling, the caretaker woman calls him up sounding way too cheerful for his current stress levels. Continues, they immediately start bickering playfully about who ghosted whom before our guy baits her with a fake, ridiculous favor request, then reveals he actually just needs her to submit his dermatology paperwork in Seoul, successfully bribing her with barbecue promises in what might be his smoothest non-medical negotiation all month. But that barbecue-pilled flex was way too smooth, and now bro is officially cooked in exam hell. He sits hunched over a desk in a packed exam hall, pen scratching frantically across paper while sweat rolls down his temple like he's fighting a final boss with no health potions and the timer counting down. Every answer he locks in is another step toward that cozy dermatology residency, the easy money, the 9-to-5 clinic hours, the entire reason he crawled back through puberty a second time. Outside on the city sidewalk afterward, his friend Lee Yonhee waves like he just won a gacha banner with max pity, grinning ear to ear while our guy plays it cool and mutters something about the test being brutal despite both knowing he absolutely demolished it. The energy mismatch is hilarious. One man vibrating at maximum copium frequency while the other serves unbothered Sigma realness. Evening hits and the two of them are crammed around a charcoal grill table at some traditional Korean barbecue joint. Soju bottles scattered across the surface like loot drops after a successful raid. Meat sizzles, alcohol flows freely, and his friend is already 3 sheets to the wind, celebrating a victory that hasn't even been confirmed yet, which is either peak confidence or delusion hitting critical mass. His drunk companion leans in close with a shot glass wobbling dangerously in hand and drops the ultimate anxiety-inducing question. What happens to the grand plan if dermatology doesn't pan out? You can see our guy's eye twitch because this exact scenario is his personal nightmare fuel. 11 years of grinding reduced to nothing by cosmic RNG. While his friend pours soju into a mug large enough to drown a small cat, splashing everywhere like someone who never learned motor skills, a tiny inset panel reveals Hannah sitting elsewhere looking completely bewildered. She's radiating pure, I missed the context window, and now I'm trapped, NPC energy, which hits different when you realize she's about to accidentally become the final boss of this arc. Cut to the hospital intern room, where both men are now wearing white lab coats and hangovers that could incapacitate a rhino, huddled around a computer station like it contains the secrets to eternal life. His hand hovers over the mouse with precision while his friend vibrates beside him, clearly regretting every drop of alcohol consumed last night because the results dropped early, and neither of them was mentally prepared for this moment. His friend's face cycles through all 5 stages of grief in approximately 2 seconds, eyes bulging, jaw unhinging, color draining from his skin, while our guy just calmly sips from his mug serving main character energy like he already peaked at the answer key. The contrast between panic mode NPC and chill mode protagonist is absolutely sending chat into orbit right now. In come the waterworks. His friend launches into full ugly cry mode, tears streaming as he pulls our guy into a hug intense enough to crack ribs, while a quick montage flashes his history of barely passing exams like a hard-stuck bronze player who finally lucked into diamond. This dude got carried so hard on pure friendship synergy that the emotional overflow is manifesting physically, and it's simultaneously adorable and tragic. Still riding that dopamine wave, his friend shoves our guy toward the computer mouse like it's rigged with explosives, practically vibrating with the need for him to verify the actual ranking on screen. Our guy hesitates, though, fingers trembling slightly because even with all his future knowledge and preparation, that lingering imposter syndrome debuff still whispers that the universe might have finally decided to troll him. Monitor blazes with stats that break the game balance. 48 out of 50, ranked number 1 out of nearly 3,000 hopefuls, essentially speedrunning life on difficulty settings meant for gods, while everyone else is still stuck on the tutorial level. His friend absolutely loses it hyping up these impossible numbers, while our guy stares processing that he just statistically obliterated every other med student in the country without breaking a metaphorical sweat. But then, our guy rockets out of his chair so fast it probably slides across the linoleum, all the blood draining from his face as his eyes lock onto a single word that nukes everything. Surgery. Not the dermatology golden ticket he sacrificed 2 entire lifetimes to obtain. Chat, it is so unbelievably over. He snatches up his phone with emergency room reflexes, dialing the girl while demanding answers about why his confirmed dermatology application transformed into surgery like some kind of cursed loot box. She insists she selected the correct option months ago, voice cracking with confusion and mounting horror, while he spirals into full-blown mild mode because 11 years of meticulous planning just got erased by what sounds like a classic fat finger disaster. Second call routes to the hospital education department where some weary administrator delivers the killing blow. Registration definitively states surgery, and no, they cannot simply command console it away, because the system locks tighter than a paywall DLC with no refund policy. He argues with faceless bureaucracy while his soul evacuates his body, realizing that paperwork mechanics just outrank divine intervention in the cosmic hierarchy of things that actually determine fate. Extreme close-up on his face gripping that phone like it's a live grenade with the pin already pulled, eyes blown wide with terror as the permanent nature of his new reality sinks deeper than the oceanic abyss. This isn't some temporary debuff he can cure with a potion. It's a full account reset of his dream career path, and every micro-expression screams that he understands the gravity completely, absolutely cooked beyond any possible recovery. Collapses into the office chair like a defeated raid boss that just got nerfed into oblivion, monologuing about how lawsuits are futile because the professor's son almost certainly purchased that dermatology seat with old money connections and legacy privilege anyway. The cope levels are reaching critical toxicity, watching him rationalize that fighting the system is pointless when his entire second chance was built around beating that exact same system. Door slams open, and the girl rushes inside looking like she just committed an unforgivable crime against humanity, face crumpled with guilt, while he slowly turns to face her with 11 years of evaporated effort hanging heavy in the suffocating silence between them. She knows exactly what she did. He knows exactly what she did. But watching her stand there looking so utterly shattered makes summoning genuine anger feel harder than performing surgery blindfolded. He's fully sobbing now, apologies spilling out in a broken, repetitive loop, while he watches her disintegrate in front of him, realizing that no amount of hollow reassurance will magically undo what happened. But here's the kicker. Seeing her cry like this hurts significantly worse than losing his carefully constructed dermatology pipeline ever could. And that horrifying truth is dawning on his face in real time like an unskippable cutscene you're forced to experience. Pulls her into a crushing hug to stem the flood of tears, letting her bury her face against his chest while his inner thoughts deliver the ultimate revelation. He genuinely values her presence more than some stupid residency specialization anyway. The dermatology grind was supposed to be his final endgame objective, but standing here embracing the person who accidentally deleted his progress file, he realizes the real main quest was hiding in plain sight the entire time. But Broski is deadass tossing his whole career for this mid-drama, total or a loss incoming. Our guy stares up at the night sky pondering. Let's go, he thinks, like it's the end of the world, fresh start like a respawn. The group settles into a restaurant where the professor starts pouring drinks, but grabs orange juice for himself, because apparently even legendary surgeons have to nerf their own liver stats sometimes. Then the old man drops a lore bomb, revealing he actually knew our guy's dad back in the day, which triggers a flashback of little him riding on the professor's shoulders like he was mounting a trusted steed in an open-world RPG. The professor starts grilling them about whether they're dating, absolute cinema, watching him try to ship his students mid-dinner, then pivots to asking why nobody told him about the surgery match sooner. Our guy sweats bullets trying to claim it was just an application error, but the professor sees through that excuse faster than a speedrunner spots a skip, calmly calling him out while meat sizzles on the grill between them like evidence being cooked. Suddenly the energy shifts hard. The professor goes full Sigma mode, aggressively lecturing him about how dermatology is worthless trash tier, and he needs to stop running from his actual calling. He keeps going, predicting our guy would crash and burn if he tried opening a private practice like all those other book-smart NPCs who think studying equals business success. But then the professor flips the script entirely, switching from roasting mode to actual mentor energy, explaining how academia provides real security and promising to guide him into the limelight where he belongs. Something clicks in our guy's head. He accepts the guidance with genuine gratitude, clenching his fist under the starlit sky like a protagonist, finally picking their main class after 40 hours of Tutorial Island. The dinner wraps up with goodbyes outside the restaurant. The professor heads off while our lingers for a second, probably processing that his whole life trajectory just got rerouted by one old man with strong opinions. Later that night alone, he checks his phone and gets absolutely flooded with messages. Congratulations from his dad, support from senior mentors, though one homie can't help but note he should have picked internal medicine instead. He walks along this coastal road at night looking like an anime protagonist having an existential crisis montage, genuinely overwhelmed by everyone believing in him when he's still not sure if surgery is even what he wants. And it hits him. He remembers kneeling on the floor in his past life, completely cooked, realizing his fear wasn't about failing surgery itself, but about repeating that same devastating loss all over again. This memory cuts deep, and for once there's no punchline here, just a man confronting the ghost of who he used to be. But that moment of vulnerability hardens into something stronger. He decides right there that unlike dermatology, which was always meant to be his chill side quest, surgery is the actual war he needs to win, and he's going to become the best surgeon who ever touched a scalpel. Meanwhile, in some administrative office across town, Lee Sangmin, this smug-looking rival who's been gunning for the same spot, thanks the chief administrator for pulling strings to get him into surgery, then immediately gets suspicious about why they put our guy there too. But before he can even plot, Bro decides to go full-blown cringe mode in public. Lee Sangmin stands there vibrating like a glitched NPC while he screams his romantic feelings at the internal medicine doctor, who looks like she's calculating exit routes instead of feeling flattered. This man really chose the most public possible spawn point to fumble the bag before he even equipped his approach gear. Our guy's face reads, uh-oh, as he realizes this date plan is a skill issue. He's sweating bullets trying to salvage some dignity. Ratioed. Meanwhile, at what looks like an airport terminal, Kim Ji-hyun watches his mentor, Professor Kang Min-chul, pack up like he's about to permanently disconnect from the local server. The old man's heading to some American exchange program which translates to paid vacation mode, while our protagonist gets stuck holding the respawn anchor duties back at base. His mentor tries to frame this departure as some prestigious academic opportunity, but we all know he's just speedrunning toward better coffee and actual weekends across the ocean. Our guy nods along while internally screaming because his whole support system is literally boarding a plane to leave him carrying the surgical load solo. As the plane shrinks into a tiny speck against the clouds, reality hits harder than a surprise malpractice audit. The hospital's primary surgeon responsibility falls right back onto his shoulders like a debuff that never expires. No more hiding behind coattails. Time to grind solo queue with zero backup and maximum toxicity incoming from the matchmaking system. Our guy's mind wanders to old pals now in the same hospital. Bros all like, let's work well together. Translation, don't mess up my shift, scrub. Something feels suspicious about how his lovesick friend acted earlier though, like when your party member starts hoarding health potions and won't share the quest log details. But before he can investigate, the time-skip transition hits harder than a sudden boss phase cutscene. Montage engaged. Prepare for immediate suffering incoming. 100 grueling days later, and our guy looks like he's been farming trash mob XP in the same corridor dungeon since launch day, pushing equipment carts with the hollow, 1,000-yard stare of someone who's watched the respawn timer loop too many times. Working holidays while everyone else spams beach photos online. Finally, the endless shift rotation ends. But instead of a loot reward chest, he gets forcibly reassigned to Professor Go's team, which based on the immediate vibe check is like getting traded from a chill casual guild to one run by a rage-baiting raid leader who kicks members for sneezing incorrectly. The negative aura radiating from this new supervisor situation is already peaking off the charts. To the chief resident, let's call him Rulebot 3000, who introduces himself with the aggressive energy of someone who reads website terms of service for recreational fun and probably reports neighbors for minor recycling violations. This hard-stuck middle manager immediately establishes dominance posture like he's the tutorial gatekeeper who won't unlock the next area until you complete 17 pointless fetch quests first. Within roughly 30 seconds of meeting him, this bureaucratic nightmare lays down the absolute law. 0 independent actions allowed, no medical decisions without prior written approval, basically treating our experienced surgeon like a brand new level 1 account that needs maximum parental control restrictions enabled for safety. Every single clinical choice now requires a formal permission slip, signed in triplicate with notarized witnesses present. Micromanagement escalation reaches comical levels where he's actually critiquing how our protagonist holds a soup spoon, which is genuinely happening on panel. Canon behavior from someone who clearly peaked during middle school hall monitor duty, then abruptly pivots to aggressively questioning medication choices like he just discovered WebMD existed 5 seconds ago. The second-hand embarrassment is physically painful through the screen. Chief Kang insists on textbook treatment, ignoring our guy's actual diagnosis. Our protagonist's medical expertise gets ratioed by a strict rule follower. Skill issue. Before the argument can even finish buffering, Professor Go materializes from the hallway shadows like an angry final boss interrupting a crucial story cutscene, absolutely furious that his subordinates are standing around talking instead of immediately starting patient rounds. This gargoyle of a department head brings pure chaotic hostile energy that makes the previous micromanager look like a harmless background village NPC by comparison. Now they're all awkwardly huddled around some random patient's hospital bed, while the intimidating professor demands an immediate detailed status report, putting our protagonist directly on the hot seat with the crushing pressure of a timed oral exam question worth his entire career grade. Nothing says warm welcome to the new team like getting strategically ambushed during rounds on day 1, while your 2 toxic bosses coordinate attacks from different angles simultaneously. Bro is shivering in his boots, but it's about to get way worse for this NPC. Our guy checks the patient's stats. Clipboard in hand, he's all business, but that oxygen level, total skill issue. Our guy hears the wife's plea. He clenches his fist ready to save the day, but this ain't no tutorial boss, ratioed. Cut to 5:30 in the morning, where our guy sits slumped in a chair after scrubbing in, calculating he can squeeze in exactly 90 minutes of sleep before his next surgery. Starts like some kind of sleep deprivation speedrunner trying to optimize his rest stats. He's barely horizontal when his phone blows up with a nurse screaming that Mr. Sung's oxygen just tanked to 80%. And our guy rockets upright like someone just pulled the power cord on his nap session. He sprints to the room barking orders for arterial blood gas tests like he's calling out strats in a ranked lobby. Arriving at the bedside where the patient is completely unresponsive, while Nurse Yonhee frantically reports vitals that are spiraling faster than a new player's KD ratio. His face twists into a 1,000-yard stare as he realizes this is acute respiratory failure, the kind where the blood gas comes back showing pH levels that belong in a chemistry experiment gone wrong and carbon dioxide numbers that suggest the patient's body has given up on the whole breathing mechanic entirely. He's shouting for intubation prep when suddenly Chief Kang Hyung-suk bursts through the door demanding to know why a first year is touching his patient. And our guy stammers like he just got caught playing games during class despite, literally, being the only person here who knows what he's doing. In the hallway, the chief launches into a full lecture about chain of command and hospital hierarchy while the clock ticks down, announcing he'll perform the intubation himself while our guy watches and learns. Because clearly this is a teaching moment and not a human being actively suffocating 3 feet away. Inside, our guy is mouthing internally at this NPC behavior while the nurse yells that oxygen keeps free-falling. And the chief dismissively tells him to handle the bag mask like he's some kind of breathing apparatus assistant, while the real doctors do the important work of failing spectacularly. At the bedside, the chief starts explaining brain damage timelines like he's reading from a wiki guide. But our guy snaps at him to stop yapping and actually do something, which prompts the chief to patronizingly warn that first years make mistakes before jamming a laryngoscope in and immediately realizing he can't see anything because the airway is more swollen than a server on launch day. The chief insists he's the only one who can handle this while blindly probing around inside someone's mouth like he's searching for loose change in a couch cushion. And the nurse shrieks that oxygen just hit 40% while sweat pours down the chief's face like he just realized he forgot to save before the final boss fight. Catastrophe strikes. The tube went down the wrong pipe entirely, esophagus instead of trachea, and the chief panics screaming for another veteran named Lee Tisu while admitting the patient won't survive 30 more seconds of this comedy of errors. Our guy steps forward and declares he's doing it himself, activating main character energy in the middle of a medical disaster zone. The chief tries to ratio him by pointing out he only has 1 year of experience, but our guy roars at him to shut up because the patient is literally dying right now and experience points don't matter when the game timer hits 0. He snatches the equipment out of his superior's hands, silencing the hierarchy speech with pure Sigma energy. Taking position over the patient, he finally understands why the chief cooked so hard. This airway isn't just swollen. It's pathologically tight like someone designed a level that's actually impossible to complete. And he slides the laryngoscope in knowing he's attempting a frame-perfect input on the hardest technical challenge of his career. The monitor flatlines at 0% oxygen as a 5-second countdown to cardiac arrest begins flashing red, and the patient's body starts convulsing while our guy works with the focus of someone speedrunning world record pace. The nurse screams that the pulse is disappearing, and we're looking at a full game-over screen if he doesn't land this next input perfectly. Code blue blares across the entire hospital as everything narrows to a single point. The wife's face from earlier, begging him to save her husband, burning into his vision like a checkpoint he refuses to lose progress on. His expression hardens into absolute determination, and in that split second, the former legendary surgeon who died and came back online finally fully respawns. He nails it, the tube slides home perfectly into the trachea like he's been doing this for decades instead of months. And the nurse exclaims that oxygen levels are climbing back up, while our guy stands there drenched in sweat, but holding a W that just saved a man's life against impossible odds. Peak cinema. In the aftermath, he apologizes to the chief for the earlier rudeness, explaining that the patient's survival mattered more than office politics, and takes charge of the ventilator setup while the actual Code Blue team finally arrives asking what happened, only to find the crisis already resolved by the intern they were all sleeping on. But before Bro can even celebrate, that negative aura shifts back onto his screen real quick. Lee Sangmin stares at the X-ray, lost in thought. He finally cracks the case our guy predicted, ratioed by a middle schooler. In the ICU, the ventilator hums along as medical staff adjust pressure settings, keeping Mr. Sung stable enough that the whole night shift wasn't completely wasted. Dawn breaks over the hospital windows, and there's Kim Ji-hyun, absolutely cooked, running on 0 sleep, but riding that post-save high like it's pure adrenaline instead of impending burnout. His rival sidles up beside him at the window and actually admits out loud that our guy saved the patient, which is basically watching someone type GG in chat while their soul leaves their body. Down in the ward, our main character jokes around with the recovering patient about learning complex surgical procedures from a textbook, which is the most humble brag flex since sliced bread. The hospital lobby becomes a gratitude festival as the patient's family thanks our surgeon profusely. Meanwhile, his nemesis stands nearby with a smile so fake it belongs in a wax museum, while internally drafting 17 different schemes to frame him. Flashback hits showing the rival remembering how Professor Go Youngchun threatened him about his position. While our guy's stock keeps rising, classic side character, realizing he peaked in tutorial mode. In the break room, the envious doctor drops an order exiling our protagonist to the emergency room right as he's mid-bite, sending him packing before he can even finish chewing. Our guy steps into the ER chaos, greeted by a familiar face. The doc cracks a joke about his tardiness. Classic bro ratioed. Our guy's greeted by a nurse. She mentions many patients. Bro's already cooking under pressure. Negative aura. Bro's inner monologue kicks in. He's thinking about ditching this hospital. Classic main character energy dodging drama. Meanwhile, on a stormy mountain cliff, some random hiker slips on wet rocks and goes full ragdoll physics down the terrain, setting up the incoming trauma freight train. Back in the corridors, our guy's phone blows up with the emergency call, and he sprints through the hospital noting that even the professor got pinged for this one, meaning we're approaching final boss territory. He bursts into the trauma bay to find an elderly patient whose abdomen looks like someone took a lawnmower to it, blood everywhere, and absolutely zero identification on them. Pure nightmare fuel. The team notes this mystery patient has blood pressure so low the monitor's basically guessing. Plus no guardian means no consent forms, which in hospital bureaucracy language translates to let them die, I guess. Our surgeon decides he's not playing the red tape game today and starts prepping for surgery anyway, reaching for authorization like he's speedrunning hospital protocol. Our guy's mentor, Professor Go Youngchun, gets a tap on the shoulder mid-meeting. An admin slides in with a phone. It's an emergency. Guess PED's surgery is interrupted by the real world ratioed. On the phone, our guy argues passionately that they have to operate now despite the missing guardian situation, holding up the dying patient like Exhibit A against bureaucratic nonsense. But bro's main character energy just hit a massive skill issue, so things get real mid-fast. Our guy's sweating buckets on the phone. Someone tells him it's surgery time. He cracks under the pressure, asking if they're joking. Skill issue, bro. He dials Professor Choi and immediately gets hit with the hardest no in medical history. Operating on an unidentified patient without consent is career suicide. But our guy starts yapping about how death doesn't wait for paperwork until the old man finally folds like a cheap lawn chair. The scene cuts to the hallway where our resident suddenly flips his aura from stressed intern to main character energy, telling the senior doctor Lee Jinhyun that he'll lead the operation himself. And you can practically see the confusion radiating off this poor senior who just got sidelined by someone half his rank. He drops the ultimate power move, register the patient under his own name to bypass the whole identity crisis. And the senior doctor just nods along like he's watching someone speedrun hospital bureaucracy in real time as they push into the operating room together. Inside the OR with the scalpel in hand, our guy's inner monologue is absolutely roasting how basic this intestinal repair job is compared to what he used to handle. Basically treating emergency surgery like a side quest he's already cleared 100 times before. His hands move with the kind of muscle memory that takes multiple lifetimes to grind. Every cut precise enough to make the monitoring equipment look like it's glitching as vitals stabilize instantly. This man's playing surgical simulator on God mode while everyone else is stuck reading the manual. Post-surgery, our boy passes out hard in a break room chair looking like he just fought a raid boss solo. Meanwhile, across the building, the senior doctor walks into Professor Go Youngchun's office to report that some random resident just performed unauthorized major surgery like it was Tuesday. Professor Go's face hits maximum disbelief settings as he processes that a literal rookie just solo carried a complex procedure that usually requires a whole squad, demanding to know if the patient somehow operated on himself because the numbers aren't adding up. The director starts connecting dots that should have stayed disconnected, comparing our guy's potential to the legendary Lee Sangman, which is either the biggest compliment or the fastest way to get nerfed, and orders an investigation while the mystery patient sleeps through his own drama, completely unaware he's become a political hot potato. Back in the patient room, our freshly collapsed surgeon gets interrupted mid-checkup by administration calling about the paperwork nightmare he created, because saving lives apparently generates more forms than actual gratitude. He goes full Sigma on the phone, aggressively accepting all financial liability for this stranger's surgery costs like money means nothing when you've got main character plot armor. While behind him, the supposedly comatose patient starts twitching awake. The elderly man suddenly sits bolt upright screaming bloody murder, causing our guy to fumble his phone like a total NPC caught lacking as he spins around to deal with his very alive and very confused patient who just respawned with zero context. Mr. Sung starts rambling about getting hammered and falling off a cliff in the rain. Peak elderly NPC origin story, before our guy casually mentions he's the one who literally put his intestines back together. and the old man's jaw drops harder than he probably did off that cliff. The grateful survivor dismisses our surgeon's baby face entirely, asking for the name of the kid who just saved his life, while preparing to drop what's obviously going to be the most plot-relevant introduction since the series started. Meanwhile, in admin land, Chief Planning Officer Min Soyoung picks up the most chaotic phone call of her career. Someone's frantic reporting that a famous VIP painter named Kim Jong-hyun is missing and was last seen heading toward this hospital specifically. But before Soyoung can even log on, this mid-hospital is already busy main-charactering the place. The hospital grapevine is moving faster than a speedrun glitch. Staff in beige uniforms are huddled together yapping about how some first-year monster doctor just pulled off impossible surgery on a nobody patient, while the news cycle treats this like a legendary drop announcement. Kim Ji-hyun stands there surrounded by reporters swarming him like he just leaked exclusive content, mechanically explaining internal bleeding and concussions, while his brain is slowly buffering the realization that the smelly homeless guy he dragged onto his operating table is actually Korea's most famous living painter. Outside Dale Hospital, bystanders are absolutely losing their minds trying to process how a first-year resident somehow got assigned to treat top-tier VIP status, recognizing his face from that Justice Kim incident like he's collecting celebrity scalps as battle trophies. Every news outlet is spinning this narrative into cinematic gold. Young genius saves artistic legend, heartwarming tale where medicine meets fine art, while our guy stands there radiating unintentional main character energy without even trying to flex. In the administrator's office, Professor Choi is absolutely mouthing behind his expensive desk, face twisted like he just watched someone beat his high score with zero effort, while demanding to know why administration let a first-year handle such a premium patient when he's been grinding this hospital hierarchy for decades. The administrator drops the hammer and orders the professor to immediately seize control of the painter's treatment, initiating a hostile corporate takeover of medical responsibility, right as our guy walks through the door getting summoned by name like he's about to get nerfed via administrative paperwork. He pulls out his phone and sees his own face plastered across every screen like he's some kind of K-pop idol, carrying a stethoscope instead of a microphone, anxiety spiking straight into the red zone, as the jealous senior calls him over for what is definitely not going to be a friendly side quest debriefing. The envious professor hits him with the classic, "You're too stressed," gaslight, asking him to surrender the patient file with that fake concerned tone villains use right before they steal all your hard-earned loot. And our guy sees through the political maneuvering instantly, but agrees anyway because he'd rather avoid drama than start a guild war over one case. But then the old painter himself absolutely refuses the transfer, looking the senior doctor dead in the eye and declaring that he intends to keep his original surgeon because he's the only medical professional who treated him like an actual human being instead of a walking bag of money and connections. So our guy's reputation spreads like wildfire. The painter grabs his brush ready to create again. Meanwhile, the hospital's drowning in requests for the reborn surgeon, ratioed. Our guy is completely drowning in a sea of desperate bodies and screaming voices begging for his attention, looking more trapped than a level 1 character who accidentally wandered into a maximum-level raid zone. And after enduring a full week of this non-stop chaos montage, we see an elderly patient finally escaping the madness with his cane. The grateful old man grabs his hand with genuine tears welling up thanking him for everything before shuffling out toward freedom. And our guy manages an exhausted smile that screams, "I desperately need a respawn point somewhere quiet," while simultaneously the painter's personal student arrives to collect his recovered teacher from the medical floor. Outside in the rare commodity known as fresh air, the nervous student anxiously asks if his teacher is fully recovered, and the old artist reveals he discovered so much unexpected creative inspiration inside the hospital environment that he managed to complete a brand new masterpiece during his recovery period. And the painter casually hands over the precious drawing as a heartfelt thank you gift, intended specifically for the young doctor who saved him. And the student's soul visibly exits his body as he suddenly realizes his mentor just gave away artwork worth multiple billions of won like it's a convenience store receipt or a promotional coupon. Shell-shocked student shakily approaches the nurse's station clutching the package like it contains classified nuclear launch codes, explaining that the master painter specifically requested this be delivered to the resident doctor as a token of immense gratitude. And the bewildered staff accept it, having absolutely no clue they're currently holding enough monetary value to purchase a small private island. Little did he know that free aura was about to get absolutely cooked by the haters. Our guy's classmates crack up at his latest masterpiece, but he's too drained to care, ratioed. Scene shift hospital hallway. Professor Yu Youngsu rounds the corner fresh from overseas and immediately stops dead because his star resident looks like he's been grinding XP in hell mode without ever sleeping at an inn. The mentor's doing the math and realizing someone nerfed his boy off-screen. The professor starts interrogating why a first year has been hard stuck in the ER for 60 days covering for everyone else's side quests. And our guy just shrugs, because explaining his whole situation would take longer than another double shift. Guilt hits the old man like a truck, and he vows to pull his proc out of the emergency rotation immediately, which causes our resident's eyes to actually function again for the first time in weeks. We might be so back, chat. Our guy slams his palm on the door. He's ready to party. No matter what he's drinking today, ratioed. The girl starts breaking down the resident's supposed crush on some nurse from surgery, analyzing his behavior like she's reading patch notes, when really this man hasn't had enough consciousness to feel anything beyond tired, and more tired for weeks. Her friend starts casting doubt on whether he actually returns these alleged feelings, or if she's just projecting main character energy onto random politeness, classic skill issue in reading social situations. Then the friend drops the ultimate theory bomb that maybe he's actually interested in her instead, triggering a full cinematic cutscene in her head where he pats her affectionately like she just completed a companion quest, down bad speedrun any percent. She short-circuits and denies everything louder than someone caught watching cringe compilations, but her friend is already pushing for a confession before someone else recruits him to their party permanently. Our guy walks outside, mind fried from overtime. He's been 3 months out of the hospital but still looks cooked. Maybe he should have gone drinking with Suyun instead, ratioed. She makes the executive decision to cook for him and immediately enters full cope mode, telling herself, this is purely platonic support for a malnourished colleague, and absolutely nothing like a homemade confession wrapped in Tupperware. Okay, bestie, whatever helps you sleep. He's now aggressively grocery shopping with the determination of someone clearing a limited-time event shop, all while maintaining the fiction that feeding a grown man homemade food is standard bro behavior with zero romantic subtext whatsoever. Scene shift Professor's office. Back at headquarters, Professor Yu Youngsu is already in Professor Choi's face, demanding to know why they've been treating his resident like a disposable tutorial enemy instead of the goated surgeon he obviously is, and the admin guy is already sweating. The argument escalates as Choi tries to drop lore that this roster situation is actually political quicksand that could get them both canceled from the server. But Yu isn't having any of these excuses for mistaking his golden ticket for a common mob. The professor completely loses his cool and starts screaming for the truth like a streamer whose chat just donated to ask the real questions, refusing to leave until someone explains why they've been actively sabotaging their own S-tier player, Sigma grindset activated. But while our guy's crashing out, someone else is straight up failing at basic life skills. Cross town, some blonde colleague of his is standing in front of a stove looking absolutely cooked because whatever she tried to make is now carbonized ash, and she's having a full mental breakdown about how her cooking stat got nerfed to 0. Yonhee busts through the door, all main character energy. She asks if our guy's doing well. He's so baked he can barely respond, ratioed. The blonde woman bursts in like a panicked NPC who failed a delivery quest, shoves a lunchbox directly into his chest, and starts speed-yapping about his trash-eating habits before immediately trying to bail out the door. Our guy stops her escape, grinning like he just won the lottery. He points out they're alone, invites her to sit. Bro thinks he's got mad riz now, ratioed. Our guy finally inspects the loot box she handed him and discovers the most mid-meal imaginable. Canned sausages, tuna, and exactly one scrambled egg looking lonely as hell in there. Despite opening what looks like a gas station clearance bin special, he takes a bite and genuinely tells her it tastes good because she made it for him, and her face goes full tomato mode from the unexpected buff. Yonhee worries our guy's skipping meals at the emergency center. She offers to cook daily. Bro's eyes light up like a kid at Christmas. Warmth overload. The exhaustion hits him like a critical debuff, and he passes out right on her shoulder. And for a second, she panics about her dress getting wrinkled. But then she looks at his sleeping face and realizes something shifted permanently inside her chest. She leans down and whispers that she loves him to his unconscious face, and then absolutely loses it when he stirs slightly, because she's terrified her secret dialogue option just got logged into his memory bank. He wakes up alone in the empty room with sunlight hitting his face, and it hits him all at once. He actually wants to see her again too, like the feeling is mutual, and neither of them saw this romance flag triggering. Our guy's heart races as he answers the phone. It's Professor Yu Youngsu summoning him. He's totally down to meet like this isn't a side quest at all. Ratioed. Cut to some restaurant where the professor is already waiting, and he's basically force-feeding our guy food and drinks while completely ignoring his protests about still being on active duty like hospital rules apply to him. Between mouthfuls, the old man starts glazing his surgical performance hard, asking what specialty build he's planning to run and strongly suggesting liver department is where the meta is at right now. While nodding along to the career advice, our guy's internal monologue is pulling up saved files from his past life. Because yeah, He's actually got max-level experience in vascular and liver surgery from his previous run through this game. The whole vibe shifts from friendly mentor chat to interrogation mode real quick when Professor Yu drops the real question. Does our guy have any history with the hospital chairman? Because apparently that man is actively trying to nerf his entire career progression. But before Bro can even formulate an excuse, the plot goes full grief mode on his aura. Kim Ji-hyun stands there frozen as Mr. Sung delivers the ultimate L. The chairman personally wants him kicked out of the surgery department like some hard-stuck player getting reported for griefing. The realization hits him like a critical damage number floating over his head. This isn't random workplace toxicity. This is personal beef stemming from the chairman's family connections, and that loser son everyone keeps comparing him to. His eyes go wide as the pieces click together, forming a conspiracy board that would make any Reddit theorist proud. He demands answers from the administrator, who suddenly develops a severe case of cover-your-mouth syndrome, looking like an NPC whose dialogue options got locked behind a paywall. The hesitation speaks volumes. Either this corporate messenger knows everything and can't say, or he's genuinely clueless about why the hospital's CEO decided to target our favorite overpowered surgeon specifically. The admin guy finally coughs up a theory blaming the chairman's precious son, implying that family pride took more damage than any patient's artery could ever inflict on the dynasty's reputation. The atmosphere gets thicker than a hospital cafeteria mystery meat sandwich, as the political dynamics reveal themselves to be messier than a dropped tray of surgical instruments during Code Blue. Our guy's getting ratioed by the chairman's shadow, the board's comparing him to Lee Sangman, like he's some kind of side quest NPC now. Negative aura. The administrator actually shows some human emotion for once, expressing sympathy for the unfair treatment while regretting that Professor Kang isn't around to act as a shield against the chairman's wrath. He promises to investigate further, but they both know hospital politics hit harder than any malpractice lawsuit. Our guy's support system just got nerfed harder than a broken game mechanic in patch notes. Rain pounds against the windows as a colleague approaches our exhausted protagonist, who looks like he just finished a 20-hour shift in the emergency center without restoring a single health point. This other doctor urges him to take a nap or at least touch grass before his stamina bar drops to 0. But our guy's already mentally checked out of self-care mode. He shoots down the rest suggestion with a look that could curdle fresh milk, while his work buddy mentions some mandatory ceremony where all the surgery department bigwigs gather except emergency staff, which sounds suspiciously like a trap designed to keep him away from the networking event of the season. Our guy's reading between the lines like he's deciphering ancient medical texts written in bureaucratic nonsense. He makes the executive decision to skip the fancy party entirely and grind XP in the ER instead, internally noting that the chairman himself will be attending, which basically confirms this whole situation is rigged worse than a loot box system. As he walks away, his friend calls out something about not overworking himself, but the words bounce off like rubber bullets against titanium armor. Our guy sits alone, head down, contemplating his next move. He's got all the skills, but everyone calls him a monster behind his back. Talk about a negative aura. Night sky stretches above him, full of stars that don't give a damn about hospital hierarchies or chairman decrees, while he reflects on how many times he's gotten rejected from specialty programs, and now even the top dog at this institution wants him gone. It's like the universe loaded his save file with maximum debuffs just to see if he'd rage quit or push through the tutorial from hell one more time. Suddenly, a muscular man built like a final boss from a fighting game materializes out of the darkness, pointing directly at our guy and calling him the nerd, like they shared a classroom back in the day, which they apparently did, since this is Kim Chulwoo looking like he traded his textbooks for a gym membership and possibly a career in either law enforcement or organized crime. Our guy's surprise registers higher than a patient's blood pressure after hearing their diagnosis. This absolute unit of a human reveals he's currently camping at the hospital as guardian for his father, who doctors say needs immediate surgery for something called an aortic aneurysm, which sounds like the kind of boss fight you don't want to attempt without maxed out gear and a full party backing you up. Our guy instantly switches from mopey bench sitter to clinical inquiry mode, asking details with the intensity of someone who remembers failing this exact case in a previous timeline. He breaks down the pathophysiology of how aorta walls stretch like cheap fabric until they're ready to explode, while the muscle man listens with growing alarm, scratching his head like he's trying to solve advanced calculus using gym equipment. The danger level finally starts registering on this tank's face, as our surgeon explains that burst aortas don't send you to the respawn point. They send you straight to the permanent game over screen with no continues allowed. Drops the nuclear option statistic. If that stretched aorta decides to pop, we're talking a 90% mortality rate, which are odds worse than pulling a legendary item from a free daily reward chest. The muscle man immediately panics, agreeing to show CT results faster than a player accepting terms of service without reading them, realizing his father's health bar has been silently draining this whole time while he was busy doing whatever muscular guys do when not visiting hospitals. Our guy asks if the doc can check the results right now, He's confused, lost in the medical jargon. The doc nods, ready to dive into the scanned data like it's a side quest. Our guy lays down the harsh truth about growth rates exceeding 2 centimeters per year being basically a death sentence in slow motion, while the son insists his old man thinks the surgery itself is too risky, as if the alternative of walking around with a balloon ready to pop inside his chest is somehow safer than letting a professional handle it. He ends with the ultimate red flag warning. If Dad feels any pain whatsoever, haul him to the ER immediately before this side quest becomes a tragedy nobody wanted on their lifetime achievement list. Anyway, bro thinks he's slick, but his fake-ass dad is about to start acting real mid. Mr. Sung fakes sympathy, saying our guy can't make the party. Our guy deflects, polite as ever, ratioed. Meanwhile, across town in some executive office with a view that screams, I pay more rent than your life is worth. Professor Choi runs logistics with his secretary like he's planning a military operation instead of a hospital function. The man wants confirmation on the Itaewon spot and immediately pivots to asking where our guy is, because of course this villain can't go 5 minutes without obsessing over someone else's location. The narration suddenly goes full cinema mode, describing our guy as this flawless, angelic figure who's basically carrying the whole department on his back. And you can feel the glazing radiating through the screen before it snaps back to reality, where staff are just confused about why he's not at the party. The professor shakes hands while his internal monologue reveals he's absolutely mouthing inside, calling our guy a monster who came from nowhere without a single flaw to exploit. This man is so down bad for finding weaknesses that he's treating medical competence like it's a personal attack on his existence. Cut back to the hospital where the professor is literally manifesting disasters, hoping some critical patient crashes just to ruin our guy's night. And our guy, completely unaware he's being curse-bombed from afar, tells Mr. Sung he's sober enough to rush back if anything goes sideways. A map pops up showing it's a solid hour drive between the party venue and the hospital, and our guy's doing the math like he's calculating DPS output. Most patients would survive that window, so technically he's safe to relax. Then his phone starts ringing with that energy that says, your peace was temporary at best. He reassures his colleague Sangmin that nothing bad will happen tonight because the universe isn't that cruel, right? The scene fades to the empty office as rain starts hammering against the windows like the sky itself is setting up a dramatic entrance. Our guy sits there convinced the storm means fewer patients will show up because apparently nobody gets sick when it rains. Peak NPC logic from a genius surgeon. There's even a comedic cutaway to staff doing some kind of ritual dance to ward off patients, while Sangmin sprints toward the exit like the building's on fire. Sangmin's frantically finishing up work with the energy of someone whose social battery hit 0 3 hours ago, and our guy just sighs and takes on the remaining workload like the carry player he is. Now he's completely alone in the department with nothing but fluorescent lights and regret for company. He's sitting there alone thinking about what he's missing at the celebration when the silence gets shattered by his phone, blowing up with an emergency call from the center. The way his expression shifts from bored to alert is giving main character energy. The tutorial arc is over, and we're entering the real game now. He picks up and gets hit with the worst possible news. A patient with an aortic aneurysm just crashed hard, and his face goes pale as he processes that this is the exact scenario he was trying to avoid. He's already on his feet sprinting before the caller finishes talking, while somewhere else the patient's family is arguing about treatment options. He bursts into the room to find absolute chaos. The patient's vitals are free-falling, and the son is collapsing next to the bed while screaming for anyone to help. This went from side quest to final boss fight in about 2 seconds flat, and our guy's 1,000-yard stare says he knows exactly how cooked this situation is. He snaps into doctor mode instantly, reading vitals that are giving negative aura, blood pressure at 50, and pulse at 140, which is basically the body's way of saying goodbye. He's shouting orders for massive blood transfusions and IV access before the nurse even finishes processing that they're in the danger zone. Situation escalates faster than a ranked match going wrong as he moves to central venous catheterization, and suddenly the patient's son has grabbed onto him with desperate hands asking if his dad will survive. The guilt radiating off this guy could power a small city. He's blaming himself for not forcing surgery earlier. Our guy locks eyes with the panicking family member and delivers that firm promise. No, the patient won't die. He's going to live, end of discussion. But internally his brain is running calculations at light speed because the surgical team is 20 minutes away and this man doesn't have 20 minutes. The patient's breathing stops entirely and our guy's fumbling with his phone trying to call for backup while physically working to keep oxygen flowing, pure multitasking panic mode. His white coat might as well be a superhero cape at this point because he's about to attempt something absolutely unhinged solo. He gets someone on the line and rapidly briefs them on the critical aortic aneurysm situation, his voice tight with urgency as he demands they get here yesterday. You can hear the "we're so back" energy fighting with the "it's over" vibes in every word he speaks. Phone slammed down, he immediately turns to the nurses and starts barking orders like a raid leader coordinating a boss fight. Prep for surgery. Stabilize vitals. Move now. Our guy has officially entered Sigma mode, ready to carry this entire operation on his back until backup arrives. Except the universe decided our guy was cooked, because reality just hit him with the ultimate ratio. Kim Ji-hyun stands in the pouring rain with his phone pressed to his ear looking like he just got told his favorite game server is shutting down permanently. The patient needs surgery immediately, but the professor in charge is too wasted to even stand up straight right now. The news keeps getting worse because this patient has an aortic rupture, which means transferring them anywhere is just shipping them directly to the respawn screen. And meanwhile, in the flashback, we see the chairman Lee Sangmin busy playing bartender and force-feeding drinks to every single specialist who could have helped. He frantically tries to find any other surgeon who isn't currently 3 deep in expensive whiskey, but comes up empty-handed. And that's when it clicks. This wasn't bad luck. This was a calculated setup designed to put him in the worst possible position with nowhere to run. Every single specialist on call is drunk off their face, and the patient crashing on the table happens to be his best friend's dad. So our guy watches the silhouette of his easy life fall away as he makes the call to abandon the transfer plan and handle this nightmare himself. Nurse Hannah comes sprinting down the hall with blood results showing the vitals are free-falling off a cliff, and he stops dead in his tracks before declaring they're skipping the paperwork and heading straight into the operation room right this second. He's absolutely fuming at the chairman and his sabotage scheme, while the nurse stares at him like he just suggested they perform brain surgery with a spoon. And he breaks the news that there is no senior team coming. It's just them against the Reaper tonight. He dials up the first-year resident with glasses who was literally walking out the door to go home and enjoy his evening, demanding he turn around immediately because they're about to attempt something that has no business being attempted by anyone, let alone 2 residents. The rookie agrees to haul ass back to the hospital, while our guy finds his friend Kim Chulwoo waiting in the corridor, and he has to deliver the diagnosis that his father's got a ruptured aorta that needs surgery within the hour, or it's genuinely over. He lays out the statistics plain and clear. This procedure carries a 10% survival rate, which in gaming terms is basically rolling a natural 20 just to survive the tutorial, and Chulwoo crumbles right there in the hallway saying his father is already as good as gone. Our guy locks eyes with him and makes a promise that cuts through all the despair, and Chulwoo grabs his arm, pleading with everything he has left to just keep his father breathing no matter what it takes. Meanwhile, across town at some fancy banquet hall, the chairman sits at a table with a smile darker than a server room at midnight, practically giddy that his little scheme worked out so perfectly. The old man starts yapping about how impressive it is that the resident actually figured out the correct diagnosis on his own. But he shouldn't be stupid enough to actually try operating when every qualified surgeon in the building is currently incapacitated by alcohol poisoning. He reveals the real endgame of this whole setup, a surgery with 90% mortality rate where if the patient dies on that table, our guy takes full responsibility, and his career flatlines right alongside them. The chairman raises his glass in a toast to a job well done, smirking like he already won the match before the player even picked their character. Back in the operating room scrub area, our guy is washing up while explaining they can't even do the safer endovascular option here. And the first-year resident finally arrives only to realize with horror that the entire surgical team for this impossible case consists of exactly 2 people. The rookie starts having a full meltdown pointing out how completely insane this situation is. But our guy looks him dead in the eye and asks for his trust because he's bringing this patient back to life, whether the odds say he can or not. The resident swallows his panic and commits to the bit while the anesthesiologist confirms they're ready to go, adding that the patient's condition is somehow worse than the lab numbers even suggested. They're already burning through blood packs faster than a speedrunner burns through health potions, and the team is terrified of losing the patient on the table before they even make the first incision. But our guy just doubles down and says, "We're doing this now." Spoiler alert, our guy is absolutely cooked and the chaos is just getting started, chat. Kim Ji-hyun stands drenched in enough red to make a slasher movie blush, while the entire room loses their collective minds over numbers that are absolutely cooked. We're talking blood pressure dropping so hard it's trying to achieve escape velocity. He locks onto his assistant Lee Jin-hyun, who is very much experiencing his tutorial arc right now, and tells the poor kid to shove his hand in there and physically stop the bleeding like some kind of human cork. The camera zooms through anatomical diagrams showing exactly why this is a total nightmare scenario. That main artery they need to clamp is buried deeper than my search history, hidden behind every single organ like the game developers put it there just to troll us. Our guy steadies himself while ordering the trembling rookie to pull a specific section of tissue. And meanwhile, the background NPCs are screeching about running out of time like broken alarm clocks that nobody bothered to snooze. Blood pressure crashes into the 40s, The heart rhythm starts lagging worse than a laggy server connection. And inside his head, our man is actually apologizing to his assistant for having slow hands. Bro, your hands are literally the only thing keeping this dude alive right now. Someone screams about charging the defibrillator to 200 joules because apparently the heart decided to start playing its own remix without permission. And honestly, the whole vibe shifted from surgery to cooking show where everything's on fire. Post-shock chaos reveals a new side quest. They've got zero blood left in the tank, forcing everyone to manually squeeze those bags like they're milking a cow that ran dry 3 hours ago. In a sudden quiet moment between the screaming, our protagonist realizes exactly whose chest he has his hands inside of, Chairman Lee Sangmin himself, the hospital's big boss, and something shifts behind his eyes as he makes a silent promise that this man will not die on his table tonight. Just when you think the pressure can't possibly stack any higher, the operating room doors explode open, and in walks Professor Yu Youngsu, an actual certified legend in liver transplants, ready to seize control of this sinking ship like he's the captain finally showing up after hitting the buffet line. Our guy immediately starts yapping apologies for going rogue without permission, but the professor waves it off with the most unhinged excuse possible. Yeah, the original surgeon who was supposed to handle this showed up completely hammered, so technically this whole unauthorized operation was the less cursed timeline. The old man takes one look at what the first-year resident has managed to pull off so far and actually asks who should keep leading. And without missing a single heartbeat, our boy claims the main character energy and says he'll stay in the driver's seat. Professor Liver Specialist admits he's completely out of his depth with vascular work anyway and volunteers to be the assistant instead, which is basically the gaming equivalent of the final boss handing you a health potion and saying, "You got this, champ." Surgery kicks back into high gear with a literal first-year calling shots, while a tenured professor hands him clamps like an intern on day one. And somehow this absolute fever dream of a power dynamic is actually working. Numbers on the monitors finally decide to cooperate, barely climbing out of critical range. And the veteran watching this unfold slowly processes that the kid really did execute the hardest part of the procedure like it was just another Tuesday grind. Here comes the plot twist that breaks the professor's brain completely. This genius who just performed miracle surgery has literally never done an aortic operation before in his entire life. And the old man's expression shifts from shocked to recruiting mode real quick, because talent like that doesn't walk through hospital doors every day. This kid stays. End of discussion. Bro really just speedrun that surgery like a total sweat, while the professor was straight up losing it. The sutures tie off perfectly. Another miracle surgery in the bag for our guy Kim Ji-hyun, who just saved a ruptured aorta like it was a tutorial-level boss fight, while everyone else was still figuring out which end of the scalpel to hold. He tries to credit his mentor, Professor Yu Youngsu, for the assist, but the older surgeon knows damn well our boy carried that whole operation solo while running on pure spite and caffeine. Standing there checking vitals, it finally clicks that he's not some random med student anymore. This man is built different, operating on God mode settings while his peers are still grinding XP off basic procedures. The professor immediately calls out that he hasn't slept in 40 hours, which is wild because most people start hallucinating after 24, let alone performing complex cardiac reconstruction. His mentor basically tells him to touch grass and go home, roasting his stamina stats while secretly knowing this resident is the most cracked surgeon he's ever seen come through the program. In the hospital lobby, his best friend Kim Chulwoo latches onto his arm sobbing. This is the patient's son whose dad almost died on the table yesterday, and now he's emotionally down catastrophically grateful. Our guy tries to comfort his friend, but the cop's sudden arrival throws everyone off. Wait, aren't you supposed to be busting criminals? Ratioed. But the vibe shifts hard when they realize their mutual friend Lee Sangmin ghosted the whole emergency. No calls, no texts, no support messages while his own father was literally dying on an operating table downstairs. Our protagonist decides to speedrun straight to the confrontation, dialing up the number while already planning exactly how he's going to demolish this flake for being MIA during a code red situation. The phone connects, and the rival picks up sounding casual as hell, cigarette dangling, while our guy stands outside getting increasingly cooked waiting for answers that aren't coming. Alone under a cloudy sky, the weight of what's coming hits different. This isn't just about a missed callback. It's about realizing someone he trusted might actually be playing 4D chess against his entire medical career. Finally, the enemy shows up wearing that fake smile our guy recognizes instantly from their high school days, back when they were academic rivals, before becoming frenemies, before devolving into whatever toxic mess this is now. No time for pleasantries. Our boy demands to know why his so-called brother left him hanging during the most critical surgery of his residency, when he specifically pinged him for emergency backup. The blonde gaslights him hard, claiming he thought our guy could handle it solo like some kind of backhanded compliment, which is the weakest excuse in the history of weak excuses. But our protagonist isn't buying that mid-tier manipulation, accusing him point-blank of conspiring with Chairman Daddy to sabotage everything he's worked for since respawning into this second chance at life. The argument escalates violently when our guy snaps and grabs the other doctor by the collar. Years of repressed anger bubbling up like a rage meter filling to maximum capacity. They're physically struggling now. Two grown-ass surgeons wrestling in public while our protagonist screams for the real reason why his childhood friend turned into a hardcore villain overnight, and then drops the coldest possible answer. The rival admits straight up that he just wanted to ruin him, pure envy-fueled pettiness with no deeper motive than watching our guy crash and burn. It gets even more unhinged when the psycho offers 10 billion won to make him quit medicine entirely, threatening to destroy his career in the most gruesome way possible if he doesn't take the money and vanish. Our guy rejects that trash offer with extreme prejudice and throws a fist straight into that smug face, officially declaring war on both the corrupt chairman and his spoiled spawn simultaneously. Standing alone outside afterward with the 1,000-yard stare fully engaged, he silently vows to dismantle the whole corrupt family tree single-handedly, turning this medical drama into a personal revenge arc real quick. But that main character energy takes a massive L when reality hits different, chat. Our guy cracks under pressure. He's supposed to be a genius surgeon, but he's getting ratioed by his own thoughts, cooked. The narrative literally glazes him with golden hero lighting, while he leans back against some senior doctor all confident, main character energy so thick you could bottle it, and sell it as premium aura supplements online. Chapter 78 opens with a title card about historical geniuses achieving impossible results, which is foreshadowing so aggressive it might as well be a tutorial pop-up warning you that this whole arc is about to backfire spectacularly. Meanwhile, in some meeting room, a professor argues that real medical skill takes decades of experience, while his colleague looks at him like he just suggested performing open-heart surgery with a plastic spoon, both completely missing that our guy already speedrun the entire learning curve last week. Flashback to our guy sewing vessels like a boss, professors gasping like they saw a ghost, interns get shade, but our guy's got the W now. The entire faculty sprints down the hospital corridor like bargain hunters who heard the limited edition console just dropped, absolutely desperate to recruit this golden goose before another department claims the achievement trophy. Our guy stands there sweating profusely, while 5 different department heads scream conflicting offers at him simultaneously, physically yanking his arms in opposite directions like he's a Thanksgiving wishbone, and they're fighting over who gets to break him first. They're forcibly drafting him into liver transplants while throwing guaranteed professorships and unlimited research funding at his face, basically dumping the entire endgame loot table on one character, hoping something sticks before he rage quits the server entirely. Cut to the emergency wing where he's clutching his phone with that specific expression of a player who just accepted a side quest with impossible requirements, 0 rewards, and a timer counting down from 30 seconds. Some senior surgeon tells him to handle a gallbladder removal solo because it's supposedly child's play, which translates directly to medical speak for, I want a nap, and you have functioning hands. And bro is visibly processing that his life is now an infinite grinding loop with no save point, while our boy stands there having a full meltdown under crushing workload pressure. The panel cuts to his senior relaxing with sake like he's streaming Netflix, while someone else farms all his experience points. Absolute parasitic NPC behavior. He finally hits the wall with both hands on his head, screaming for help, while the entire administrative staff leeches off his labor output, and he collects nothing but emotional damage stacks and carpal tunnel syndrome. Cross town in the chairman's dark office, the silver-haired elder slams his desk hard enough to crack solid oak, furiously ordering the complete destruction of our guy and his police officer buddy, because apparently being competent at your job is now a bannable offense on this server. The old man screams directly into Lee Sangman's quivering soul, blaming the trembling heir for botching the sabotage operation so catastrophically that the target somehow came out looking like a certified saint instead of a disgraced corpse. The professor can't tear his eyes off this man, but chasing Kim Ji-hyun away? Impossible, negative aura. He dismisses every other staffer from the room, but deliberately keeps him seated, which is universally recognized across all genres as the congratulations, you're getting demoted to tutorial enemy conversation opener. The elder roars at the bandaged and bruised heir, calling him pathetic garbage for losing to a lowly resident and getting himself beaten up in the process, which is rich coming from the guy issuing death threats from behind a mahogany desk. The young master stares into his whiskey glass with a face that looks like it lost a fistfight with a windshield, bitter resentment fermenting like cheap alcohol, as he wonders where this monster even spawned from and why Daddy's infinite money cheat code stopped working. The narrative drops the cold truth. Every single evil scheme to destroy our guy backfired so spectacularly that it accidentally buffed his reputation from problem intern to hospital messiah, while the schemer's social credit score crashed harder than unregulated crypto during market panic. The chairman launches into another rant about how Sangmin is talentless trash losing ground to some random nobody, completely failing to recognize that his obsessive comparison gameplay is exactly what's summoning the final boss form he's so terrified of facing. Our guy freeze frames in shock. Didn't see that one coming, eh? Ratioed. But bro's about to get the real tea over some K-barbecue, and it's actually unhinged. At a Korean barbecue joint, his mentor flips meat on the grill while casually dropping that the big boss can't touch him because public scrutiny would destroy the hospital's rep, then admits with a grin that he personally started the protective rumor spreading through the staff. Quick flashback shows some liver professor who got wrecked by the system. Then we snap back to the old man going full dad mode and declaring he'll shield his disciples no matter what blacklist consequences come his way. Our guy starts spiraling about being a burden to everyone around him, but the mentor laughs it off and reveals that half the faculty already hates the chairman anyway, which makes him resolve to stand on his own feet rather than leeching off others' goodwill like a tutorial character. Internal monologue kicks in as he realizes the hospital would actually lose more revenue losing him than he'd lose getting fired. So his fear of the boss transforms into cold, hard market confidence, and suddenly, the whole power dynamic flips. Brief memory flash of that one time he told the rich antagonist he wouldn't break under pressure. Then snap back to reality, where the whole crew wants to buy him beef and plan group dinners like he just unlocked guild leader status. Scene shift hospital corridor back at work. He wraps up some boring discharge paperwork before dropping a bombshell that there's a special case notification incoming, which immediately makes his colleagues nervous, because that phrase always means someone's about to have a bad day. They try to warn him that senior doctors hate notification duties because it's always a migraine, but he waves it off thinking he's reasonable enough to handle it, only to learn the medical emergency is literally a scraped knee from someone who demanded him specifically by name. He heads toward the trauma room and gets told the patient is a foreign VIP, and his face does a complete system reboot when he presses the elevator button like he just realized what difficulty setting he accidentally selected. The door opens to reveal a blonde woman in a cocktail dress sitting on the exam table like she owns the server, showing off her scraped knees while claiming she wiped out drunk dancing at a club, and he has to somehow treat this professionally without laughing. He disinfects her wound with absolutely zero gentleness while she squeals like he's performing surgery without anesthesia, then lectures her about being a grown adult and sends her home with basic instructions like she's a kid who fell off the playground equipment. When he tries to peace out, she grabs his arm with desperate strength and practically begs to be hospitalized for a scratch, forcing him to stand there explaining that medicine doesn't operate on vibes and feelings while she clings to him like a lost party member. Close up on her face as she softens the plea down to just wanting to stay for a little while, and he stands there frozen doing mental math on whether this is genuinely sad or just extremely sketchy behavior from a stranger. His brain finally cooks up a loophole. Sure, normal people can't get admitted for nothing, but she's apparently some corporate VP dropping massive cash daily for the VIP suite, so technical exceptions exist, and he agrees to let her stay while sensing there's way more to this story than scraped knees. Scene shift VIP room at night. She dodges every personal question about why she really needs to be here and tries to open up about something real starting with actually. But his phone absolutely blasts through the vulnerable moment with an emergency ringtone. It's an intestinal bleeding surgery, code red, so he apologizes and sprints out of the room while she watches him leave with this weirdly intense expression, sitting alone in her luxury fishbowl with secrets she didn't get to spill. Scene shift hospital staff area. Later, he's basically melting into a chair from pure fatigue while other doctors hype him up and simultaneously dump their workload onto him, cracking some dark joke about outrunning his own patients to the grave at this current pace of overwork. Warning rounds hit, and he's walking the halls while internally noting how his reputation breaks every single protocol. Residents aren't supposed to admit patients solo, but people keep requesting him specifically anyway. And now even elderly patients are flirting with him like he's the main character in a dating simulator glitch. Scene shift VIP room. Daytime he checks back in on the blonde lady who's now wearing a proper hospital gown with wounds healing nicely. But she's busy gushing about how much she enjoyed his rough treatment and demanding an extended stay because the luxury room service is too good to ever quit. But bro's about to realize that simpilling this NPC was a certified L move, chat. Hannah's sweating bullets in the hospital room. She's spilling secrets about job trouble. Family connections ain't saving her now. Ratioed. Cut to the lore dump. Project SD54 is some immune-boosting drug that looks mid as hell on paper. Basically a glorified vitamin that costs billions to develop. The pharma exec grabs his arm and starts begging, throwing out numbers like 5 billion just to glance at some lab results like our guy's a final boss consultant. He tries to tap out saying he might not actually be able to help this time, but she shoves the files at him anyway with the energy of someone who already fumbled the bag and needs a clutch. He reluctantly takes the briefcase full of documents, while she watches him with those puppy eyes, hoping for another miracle resurrection. 2 seconds later, he drops the bomb that he already found the problem, speedrunning the diagnostic like he's got the wiki open in his brain from his past life playthrough. He starts hedging and stalling because he knows he's got her cooked. She remembers the last time he demanded billions and realizes this man just solved what her whole company couldn't crack in months. Our guy runs the mental math from his past life negotiations and decides, yeah, it's time to tax 5 billion minimum plus credit on the study design so he can flex in academic circles later. She agrees instantly before he even finishes the sentence, so he lays out the technical roast. Their dosage is wrong, and the molecular structure looks like it was designed by NPCs who skipped organic chemistry. The fix is literally just lowering the dose by 30 milligrams and taking it before meals so stomach acid doesn't nerf the absorption. A correction so simple it hurts to watch these pros miss it. She's gaping at him because apparently no one else spotted this tiny detail. Meanwhile, he's just recalling how much of this stuff he personally took and read about in his previous life, like checking old save files. He confirms that if this was the only error, which it totally is, then the project isn't cooked after all, but she better run tests immediately before anyone else notices the skill issue. As he's about to dip out with his fat paycheck secured, she hits him up to review 2 other failing projects too. And obviously he says yes because free money is free money. While she's praising him like he's some kind of medical deity, our guy's brain is already spending the commission on penthouses and sports cars like a true Sigma grinding that passive income. They sign off on a contract covering all 3 busted projects. And when he does the math, the total value comes out to 12.5 billion, absolute cinema for his bank account. Visuals of raining cash fill the screen as he calculates that reviving these dead projects could net him even more through stock growth if he plays his cards right. His imagination shifts to academic prestige mode. He's picturing his name on papers in the New England Journal, JAMA, and the Lancet like he's speedrunning tenure before he even finishes residency. Our guy imagines himself crossing the finish line, trophy in hand, but reality's a grind. His hospital's history is a side quest, not the main story. He maps out submitting everything under big-name publishers, calculating that 4 research papers a year with over 120 citations will basically turn him into the miracle incarnate of Korean medicine. The weight of everyone watching him hits different, but instead of cracking under pressure, he just tightens his grip on reality and keeps grinding through his tasks like a true tryhard. But that main character energy is about to get absolutely cooked when he hits the park. Kim Ji-hyun sits on a park bench looking like he's about to face a tribunal, waiting for his close friend Lee Yeon-hee to arrive so he can finally tell her whatever's been eating him alive. She shows up and immediately starts grilling him about why he actually called her out here, because she knows damn well this wasn't a casual hangout vibe. She shows up and immediately starts grilling him about why he actually called her out here because she knows damn well this wasn't a casual hangout vibe. Our guy stutters, trying to explain himself, but she's not buying it, giving him the full side-eye. Ratioed. She keeps going, calling him out for being denser than a brick wall when it came to reading signals, asking right there in the quiet night if he'd ever consider giving them a shot. He freezes because his mind isn't on this moment at all. It's dragged backward to another life, to a wife he lost, to a love that defined everything he used to be before the restart. So he gently pulls his hand free and looks her in the eye, telling her the truth that shatters her hope. There's already someone else, someone he can't let go of even if she's not here anymore. So he gently pulls his hand free and looks her in the eye, telling her the truth that shatters her hope. Now our guy sits on a bench, apologizing to a girl who's totally glazed over. Ratioed. Our guy's mind drifts back to the present. A colleague needs help with a tough case, but he's too busy feeling like a fool. Cooked. 2 months pass, our guy sweats in the heat. AC's too low. Bro's aura points dipping, negative aura. The real debuff, though, is the mother, whom colleagues warn him about like she's a raid boss with a one-shot mechanic. Apparently, she sued half the hospital staff already and thinks everyone's out to get her kid. The docs whisper about the mom like she's a walking lawsuit. Our guy listens, eyes wide. This kid's family drama is a whole side quest he didn't ask for. Ratioed. When he meets little Sion, the poor kid looks like he's been grinding through a horror game with no save points. Pale, feverish, and terrified of needles, because his whole short life has been nothing but pain. Enter the mother, who immediately starts interrogating our first-year resident like he's a witness on trial, demanding to know what qualifications some random newbie has to touch her son. She demands to know which professor signed off on letting a resident anywhere near this case, basically threatening to summon corporate legal support if she doesn't get answers. So he calls the senior specialist who is supposed to be handling this, only for the professor to reveal on the phone that he's been burned by this exact mom twice already and absolutely will not be taking this case back. Our guy realizes in that moment he's been completely thrown under the bus. The specialist nerfed himself out of existence and left a first-year resident holding a live grenade with the pin already pulled. But then the plot twist hits harder than a critical hit. The same terrifying mother walks up to him and says she doesn't trust Professor O anymore, so she wants HIM, the literal lowest-ranked person available, to take charge of saving her son. He looks at the suffering child and the desperate woman who burned every bridge behind her, knowing full well this case has lawsuit written all over it in permanent marker, and decides to accept anyway because walking away would mean losing the part of himself that actually became a doctor to save people. Big mistake, bro, because this absolute fumble of a decision is about to leave him getting cooked. The nurse tells our guy he'll be fine soon, but we all know it's just a side quest, ratioed. Kim Ji-hyun stands frozen in the hallway staring at nothing, his mind pulling up save files from his past life where he grinded hospital hours like a bot and completely ghosted his own wife and kids. He's realizing his first playthrough was a speedrun to loneliness. He shakes it off and resolves to actually live like a human being this time, maybe even find someone worth settling down with. And his face flushes crimson because bro is getting embarrassingly down bad for domestic bliss. The patient's mom rushes back thanking our guy for waiting by her son's bedside, and he reassures her the post-op stats are looking cleaner than a fresh install, serving confidence he doesn't fully feel yet. She tries to force a thank you drink on him, but he politely dodges that quest item, analyzing that her earlier erratic behavior was just stress-induced psychosis rather than permanent NPC coding. Walking the corridor, he collides with I.M. Jiangmin, this blonde co-worker who's surprisingly hyping him up for nailing the infamous hemophiliac case that everyone else treated like a radioactive side quest. Then the guy drops a dark joke about the kid possibly flatlining randomly, and our man goes absolutely nuclear on him, verbally destroying this clown's negative aura in front of the whole ward. The blonde jerk just saunters away with a smirk like he's immune to social damage, completely unfazed that he just got roasted harder than a burnt toast. Classic villain NPC energy. Later at the nurse's station, our guy runs into Lee Himi, who looks shocked to see him, and he notices she's running her serious build today instead of her usual casual skin, making him wonder what main quest pulled her here. He asks if she needs anything shipped over from their department, and she keeps it strictly professional, saying she's just visiting a patient, leaving him guessing whether she's hiding a secret buff or just grinding rep elsewhere. Before the conversation levels up, his phone explodes with an emergency alert. The boy's oxygen is tanking and fever spiked, so he speedruns out of there yelling promissory notes about coffee while the real crisis loads in. He bursts into the room to find the kid wheezing hard with yellow mucus, clogging his airways and saturation dropped to 88, instantly diagnosing this as pneumonia, trying to one-shot his patient while the system is already weakened. The mother immediately starts accusing him of botching the surgery, and he has to maintain perfect composure while explaining that bacterial pneumonia is a completely separate status effect that has nothing to do with his knife work. While monitoring the chaos, he spots blood soaking through the sheets and realizes the horror show just upgraded. Spontaneous internal hemorrhage from the hemophilia just kicked in, and the kid's anemia crashed to 9, putting him in critical red zone HP. He rips back the covers and finds the bleed sourcing from the leg, a gusher that's draining faster than he can calculate, turning this recovery arc into a survival horror minigame nobody asked for. Full panic protocol engages as he screams orders for massive transfusion, while the mom completely loses it, shrieking that she made a mistake trusting a first-year resident with her son's life, while the kid writhes in pain beside her. Then the boy, through the agony, actually forces words out telling his mother to trust the doctor, showing more grit than half the adults in this hospital. And our guy locks eyes with him, promising he's not letting this save file corrupt. He refuses to accept the game over screen, and starts commanding med teams for every resource available, while the mother collapses from rage into raw sobbing, begging him with whatever strength she has left to please not let her baby die here. The next hours blur into manual compression to stop bleeds, CT scans revealing damage scattered across joints and abdomen, and enough blood products pumped in to fill a small pool, all just to keep the pressure stable enough that tomorrow might actually exist. Bro is barely alive, but he's about to get real humbled by this NPC chat. Hannah bows low, gratitude oozing. Then she hesitates, apologetic. Our guy's ego needs a reality check, though. The poor woman opens up about losing her job, her marriage crumbling under hospital bills, and the raw fear that her son might not make it out alive. Hannah spills the beans. Sion's scared of docs but trusts our guy. He swears to keep her kid alive, ratioed. In the patient room, our man breaks it to them that another blood transfusion is needed immediately. and the little hemophiliac kid looks like he'd rather respawn at the last checkpoint. The boy makes him pinky promise to play outside later once this is over, but the emergency phone starts screaming before the blood even finishes dripping into his veins. He sprints down the corridor and nearly collides with Lee Sangman, that smug rival doctor, who greets him with fake casual energy and asks about the hemophilia case recovery stats. Mr. Malpractice drops the most unhinged hypothetical ever, asking whether anyone would be stupid enough to use anticoagulants on a bleeding disorder patient, and our guy's brain blue screens trying to process the skill issue on display. Internal narration boxes spell out that this isn't just medical malpractice. It's basically a one-way ticket to the grave, while our protagonist tries to figure out if this is some kind of twisted prank or an actual threat. Alone in the hallway, it finally clicks. You don't ask that kind of question unless you've already done the math on how to kill someone and make it look like a complication. His phone rings with the worst possible news update. The kid is suddenly gushing blood from both legs mid-transfusion, and 2 + 2 equals someone tampered with the medical supplies while nobody was watching. He bursts into the room where nurses are panicking, and the mother is standing there with this eerie, calm smile that screams, "I trust you completely," despite everything falling apart around them. One look at the kid's legs confirms the bleeding is way beyond normal parameters, and his eyes lock onto that IV blood pack hanging there like a glowing red suspect in a crime scene investigation. Zero evidence, zero proof, but his gut says stop the drip right now or this kid codes, so he orders the entire transfusion halted against every protocol in the book. The nurses start arguing that they need more blood to fix the bleeding problem, completely missing the point that adding more poisoned liquid to a leaking vessel is not the strategy here, and he demands they test the pack itself for toxins. Anna shuts down the nurse argument instantly, backing his play without hesitation, because apparently Mother's intuition beats institutional policy every single time. He yanks fresh blood from the kid's arm and sends it express delivery to the lab, because if his theory is correct, then someone literally tried to assassinate a child using hospital equipment. The lab calls back with numbers so bad the machine basically gave up trying to measure coagulation levels, confirming someone dumped anticoagulant into that blood bag like it was a video game cheat code for instant death. Our guy bursts through the door ready to unload on Lee Sangman, but the room's empty, just a window with bars and a half-moon of light, ratioed. The rival sits up with the most innocent, "Who me?" expression, claiming our guy has officially lost his mind and needs to touch grass before making wild accusations without receipts. That denial triggers something primal, and our man grabs the guy by the collar and lands a clean shot right across his face hard enough to rattle fillings loose. The rival doctor holds his busted lip and has the audacity to compliment the punching technique like he's reviewing a boxing match, instead of just getting wrecked for almost killing a child. Bro's really out here acting like a Yelp critic instead of getting his coagulation stats fixed. Kim Jin-hyun talks to the blood center staff about a patient's coagulation problem. He stresses urgency. Our guy's face says it all. He's stressed, bro, like majorly stressed, ratioed. He's yapping again, explaining himself for the millionth time. Our guy's patience is thinner than a sect elder's DMs. Negative aura. Our guy's brother, more like his biggest regret. He's stuck in a loop explaining the unexplainable, ratioed. Our guy's brother's begging falls on deaf ears. He calls him out for being blinded by greed. Total skill issue. But honestly, chat, our guy is about to get absolutely cooked in the worst way possible. Kim Ji-hyun stands there frozen like someone just paused his character model mid-animation. His face cycling through every expression from "this is a prank" to "I'm going to throw up," as reality crashes down that he's being asked to lead the Prime Minister's surgery, not observe, not assist, but literally be the main surgeon holding the scalpel while the nation's fate hangs in the balance. The official secretary drops the confirmation that this wasn't some administrative error or clerical skill issue, but actually, the Prime Minister's personal wish to have our guy lead the operation, and you can watch his soul leave his body as he accepts what might be the biggest W or the fastest career respawn in medical history. Meanwhile, across the hospital cafeteria, the gossip network moves faster than an internet outage during a finals week as colleagues process the news that a resident, this specific resident, is about to perform surgery on the actual leader of their country while they're stuck eating overpriced hospital food. The debate kicks off about whether putting a resident in charge is genius or absolutely cooked, with everyone suddenly becoming armchair surgical experts, worried that the assistants might also be fresh-faced trainees who still need a tutorial pop-up explaining which end of the scalpel does the cutting. Back in the corridor, the final team roster drops, and it's actually stacked. Our guy leads with Professor Yu Young-soo backing him up as the ultimate safety net, basically having a cheat code enabled in case things go sideways during the hardest boss fight of his residency arc so far. Before he can even process the weight of leading a nation-saving surgery, his emergency phone explodes with an alert about a post-surgery complication somewhere else in the hospital. And without hesitation, he pivots from future legend mode straight into grunt work, because that's just how this man operates. He arrives at the complications scene, and there she is, Lee Yeonhee, the doctor who's been living rent-free in his head since forever, looking professional and put together, while our guy's internal monologue starts glitching like a computer running too many tabs as he realizes how down bad he actually is. He tries to dip out after handling her business, probably thinking she's cleared this side quest and can log off for the day. But he calls out to stop her with all the smoothness of someone whose charisma stat got distributed entirely into medical knowledge instead. Standing there stammering like his dialogue options just locked up, he scrambles for any excuse to keep the conversation going, checking vitals, asking about protocols, literally anything to extend this interaction beyond the 3-second window she was planning on giving him before leaving. The words finally tumble out in the most awkward confession attempt imaginable as he offers to buy her an iced Americano, which translates roughly to, "Please don't leave yet, I have feelings and zero game," in whatever language nervous surgeons speak when their brain disconnects from their mouth. He commits fully to the bit and names a time and place, 8:30 tonight at Lungo in Nanhyeondong, watching her face for any sign that he hasn't completely fumbled the bag by turning a professional interaction into what sounds suspiciously like a date setup. Later in the hallway, it clicks for her that Lungo isn't just a random cafe spot, but basically confession central, where every romance side quest reaches its final stage. And her female colleague immediately picks up on the energy shift like she just unlocked a secret achievement. Before she can protest or hide behind patient duties, her colleague drags her away to initiate Operation Makeover, because apparently showing up to a potential love confession requires a full cosmetic rework rather than just wearing normal clothes like a functioning adult human. The transformation complete, she stands there looking like she just stepped out of a character customization screen with maxed out appearance stats. White blouse, red skirt, whole vibe shifted from tired doctor to main character in a drama she didn't audition for. Meanwhile in the dorm, our guy is tearing through his closet searching for anything that doesn't look like he slept in it, while his best friend I.M. Jeongmin watches with the energy of someone witnessing a disaster unfold in real time, already preparing the roast for whatever fashion crime is about to be committed. He tries to play it cool saying it's just coffee, nothing serious, definitely not a date, while simultaneously asking for relationship advice with the contradictory energy of a man who knows he's cooked, but is speedrunning toward the cliff anyway. The truth finally spills out. He admits he's been carrying these feelings for way too long, and tonight's the night he actually tells her instead of continuing this eternal side quest of pining from the background like an NPC with unvoiced dialogue options. But of course the universe has other plans because the hospital's emergency center decides right now is the perfect moment to activate every single alarm, trapping him in a cascade of work emergencies, while his phone screams about how late he's getting, and his anxiety levels start breaking the sound barrier. He sprints through the city streets like he's trying to outrun his own bad luck, already imagining her sitting alone at that cafe watching the clock tick past the agreed time, while he's still stuck dealing with complications that couldn't have waited literally any other day of the year. Dark alley, night air, footsteps pounding against pavement as he cuts through the shortcut toward the destination, checking his phone with the desperate hope that somehow time stopped moving while he was saving lives, and he's not actually as catastrophically late as his internal clock is screaming. And the headlights hit him from behind, bright, blinding, approaching way too fast for a quiet street at night. And in that split second, everything slows down as our guy turns toward the light with the realization that this isn't just a near-miss warning. This is the moment his whole second chance might get permanently deleted from the server. But instead of getting ice-guyed, bro just woke up to witness this absolute clown show. Hannah's supposed to be waiting alone, but our guy's here giving her the silent treatment. Like, what's the deal? Ratioed. Lee Sangmin slides into the seat across from her with an aura so cold it could freeze the coffee in her hand. And she immediately clocks that this man's energy shifted from annoying coworker to final boss who just entered his second phase. She tears into him about stalking while he hits her with the most NPC deflection in the game, just passing by, and somehow makes it sound even more suspicious than if he'd just admitted to camping her location. The blonde threatens to get him banned from the entire hospital's server, and our rival just smiles that smile before dropping the most casual exit line you've ever heard, pure villain monologue energy wrapped in small talk. Right before he bails, he casually suggests she go check on our guy since he's taking forever, and that one sentence hits harder than any attack because it plants the seed that maybe, just maybe, something actually happened. Hannah freezes mid-breath as the implication loads into her brain like a horror game jump scare, hand flying to her mouth, because she just realized she might have been speedrunning toward a bad ending this whole time. Cut to her sprinting down the hallway, screaming into her emergency phone like a player whose raid leader just went offline before the final boss, desperate to locate anyone who knows where our main character actually is. She drops to her knees in full grief mode panic, crying out his name while the camera reveals our rival watching from the shadows like he just completed a side quest he didn't even tell us about. Scene shift chairman's office. Meanwhile, in the corporate dungeon, Mr. Sung is absolutely mouthing at Lee Sangmin because our guy somehow secured the Prime Minister surgery and stole the achievement right out from under him. The old man explains the political stakes. If our protagonist wins this operation, he becomes untouchable, basically god-tier status with the government's personal physician badge. And you can see the rage building behind those eyes. Chairman hopes for a miracle where our guy fails, and the rival just happens to mention that, hey, what if something prevents him from making it to surgery at all, planting ideas like a master manipulator who read the script ahead of time. Sangmin straight up requests that if our boy doesn't spawn at the hospital in time, they should let him take the lead instead, audacious enough to make even the corrupt chairman raise an eyebrow at the boldness. Scene shift city night. Montage time. We got our rival driving through the dark streets reflecting on how he'll always be second place while simultaneously, our actual protagonist Kim Ji-hyun is booking it down an alley like he's trying to outrun a debuff timer. Close up on the antagonist gripping his steering wheel so hard his knuckles turn white, accepting his fate as eternal side character energy because as long as our guy exists, there's no room at the top table for him. Scene shift street at night, back with Hannah who's now fully down catastrophically outside in the cold, calling our rival while sobbing because she's terrified of losing another person the way she lost Bumsu, trauma stacking on trauma like a glitched save file. Scene shift hotel room, the flip phone lights up with her incoming call and our dude just lets it ring while smoking a cigarette with negative aura radiating off him like he's already won and doesn't need to pretend anymore. Scene shift hospital corridor, 6:10 a.m. hits and the entire medical staff is running around like headless chickens because the lead surgeon has completely ghosted. No contact, no respawn, nothing. They break the news to the Prime Minister himself, who remains shockingly calm, insisting our guy isn't the type to no-show, which either means supreme confidence or complete denial about the current situation. Chairman Mr. Sung makes the call to proceed without him, viciously slandering our protagonist as a viper and serial killer to justify the swap. Maximum damage control mode activated. 6:35 a.m. rolls around, and the surgical team marches toward the operating room with our rival now, wearing the lead surgeon badge he stole through pure scheming, while our actual main character is still MIA somewhere in the city. But before our guy can even blink, that fraud is already getting cooked by karma. Mr. Sung's face twists in desperation. He's sweating bullets trying to bribe his way through the storm. This man's aura's dropping faster than his car's battery in the rain. Ratioed. Our guy's sister bets big. She wagers a rare elixir on his surgery choice. This family drama's hitting all the wrong notes. Negative aura. Meanwhile, in the emotional damage zone, some grandmother is out here having a full mental breakdown over a kid while across town nurse Lee Yeon-hee, who is built different and carries more aura than half the senior staff combined, is dragging her coworker up off the ground after the poor woman ate pavement right outside Lee Sangmin's apartment complex like a total background NPC, tripping on a tutorial-level obstacle. Lee Yeon-hee cracks knuckles ready for a boxing session. She insists hobby's not some other interest. Built different, she's got the chat buzzing. Ratioed. Whatever dark dimension handles cosmic justice. Some white-haired heretic-looking dude is out here delivering divine punishment to some poor soul who apparently caused the sister to lose something important, probably the bet money or her last functioning brain cell. And then the sister herself wakes up deciding she's going to start a new game plus with a strict diet regimen that looks more like self-inflicted nerfing than any actual health improvement strategy. Back in the break room, Jeongmin is suffering through a diet so hellish it's giving him S-tier skin quality, but absolutely obliterated his personality stats down to F-tier NPC levels. Bro is staring at walls like he disconnected from the server, while our guy stands nearby collecting praise from the seniors like it's loot dropping after a raid boss fight, but stays humble about it because his Riz game doesn't need the ego buff. Jeongmin gets distracted by fan calls blowing up his phone about Professor Choi. Bro really thought he was becoming an influencer for like 3 whole seconds. But then Choi himself materializes from the shadows like a final boss spawning behind you, and starts absolutely cooking this man alive for neglecting his actual job duties to chat with randos online like some kind of Discord moderator, instead of a medical professional. Jeongmin thinks he's a master trader, but he just got ratioed by a cop. His whole side quest was mid. I was worried for nothing. Cooked. But before he can even enjoy the dub, his bro decides to tank his aura further. Our guy's classmate Lee Jin-hyun can't believe it. Even after that accident, really? Bro, you're cracked. Cut to the prep room, where our main character is comforting his pale-as-paper patient, who looks like he saw his own death screen loading, while this one girl in the background watches with the 1,000-yard stare of someone who already knows this is about to go sideways hard. Now our guy's in the OR looking like he just ran a marathon. He asks for a scalpel, all calm. Meanwhile, the professor's yapping about reflectors like it's a side quest. Ratioed. Mid-procedure and the man's hands are shaking worse than someone trying to clutch a 1v5 while their mom yells about dinner downstairs. Except instead of losing a low, he's holding someone's actual organs. Through pure Sigma grindset energy, he actually pulls off the removal clean enough to make the staff nod in approval, proving that even at 1% battery, this man's still running surgical software nobody else has the license key for. But the second the surgery ends, our guy crashes like a server during peak hours. The hospital staff scrambles, yelling for backup like it's a raid night. Ratioed. His consciousness drifts into this cosmic void full of stars, where he finally processes that, oh yeah, he got truck-cunned, and his health bar is currently sitting at critical failure state, floating through space like a player who disconnected during the final boss cutscene. This ethereal woman who looks like she stepped out of a loading screen for the afterlife appears before him, radiating the kind of disappointed mom energy that says she's seen this specific idiot die dramatically way too many times already. She drops the cosmic lore on him that his soul is carrying debt from past lives, and he's basically hard stuck in a redemption arc that keeps respawning him into suffering, which honestly sounds like the worst gacha rates imaginable. Our guy cracks open an eye, alive in a hospital bed. Medical instincts kick in, diagnosing his own mess. Himi sleeps nearby, probably worried sick. Ratioed. Our guy lies there staring at her sleeping face, realizing she's been his support character through every trash mob encounter and boss fight. And suddenly, the emotional damage hits harder than any car ever could. She wakes up and immediately goes full scolding mode, tears streaming down her face, while she absolutely roasts him for pulling this self-sacrifice stunt again. And honestly, the fear in her voice is doing more damage than the accident. Seeing her this wrecked over him makes something click in his brain like he just unlocked a hidden dialogue tree. And he decides right there that he's done being clueless. It's time to drop the confession before he fumbles the bag even harder. Except this man's confession speedrun got immediate ratioed by a massive skill issue and a hospital visit. Our guy Kim Ji-hyun is lying in a hospital bed looking like he just respawned with critical HP missing, leg wrapped in a cast, while Professor Yu Youngsu stands over him delivering an uninterrupted lecture about performing surgery while severely injured like some kind of medical death wish. He's stuck in bed thinking about how this injury might actually be a hidden stat buff, military exemption, incoming plus a whole month of paid vacation, while some politician's career hangs in the balance like a lagging server connection. When pressed for accident details, our guy pulls a complete 1,000-yard stare because his memory drive got wiped harder than a speedrun save file corrupted by a power outage. He's sitting there with total amnesia waiting for the NPCs to fill him in on his own backstory. The cop promises to nab the culprit. Our guy's skeptical, though. He's seen too many NPCs fumble the bag, ratioed. Badge Boy admits the entire case is stuck on the tutorial level with zero progression. No cameras captured anything useful, no witnesses stepped forward to snitch, and the investigation is running at single-digit frame rates with literally no leads to follow. Just as our guy is about to request investigating a very specific suspect, Hannah bursts through the door looking worried sick and interrupting the procedural talk like a party member triggering a mandatory story event. She settles onto the edge of the bed, and they start talking about codependency issues, with him admitting he leans on her harder than a noob player relies on auto-aim mechanics to actually land any shots. But she's visibly running on empty battery after pulling consecutive night shifts that would drain anyone's stamina bar to critical levels, looking like someone who hasn't seen a horizontal surface since the last server maintenance window. Being either incredibly sweet or completely oblivious to romantic flag triggers, our guy tells her to lie down next to him and recover some energy right there in the hospital bed like it's totally normal co-op gameplay. Her face transitions from normal skin tone to maximum thermal overload in roughly 2 frames flat, internal dialogue throwing error messages, while her social skills take an unscheduled vacation to parts unknown. Our guy's face goes full poker, eyes narrowing like he's plotting his next chess move. He's got that look, ratioed. The wholesome moment lasts approximately 3 seconds before her expression hardens into dead serious business mode, because she's carrying classified intelligence about the accident that's about to recontextualize everything. She names Lee Sangmin as the primary suspect, detailing how this guy was acting suspiciously informed at a cafe meeting like he had admin access to future patch notes and knew exactly what went down. Our guy doesn't need any convincing whatsoever because he already knows from his regression save file that this dude is pure villain-coded trash, instantly validating her theory and genuinely shocking her with how fast he locked in without demanding evidence drops first. They start piecing together the antagonist's entire kill streak, involving previous victims like someone named Sion and medical murder techniques involving anticoagulants on hemophiliac patients, which is next-level evil grinding, even for a fictional villain. Then she connects the dots back to his own painful history. That ulcer-inducing herbal tea from exam season wasn't random bad luck or bad cooking. It was a targeted poison attack, specifically designed to nerf his physical stats before major life events. Our guy's plotting revenge, but he needs proof. Acting rash could cost him big time. He's stuck grinding for evidence like it's a side quest. Anna's pulling a power move, demanding our guy agrees blind. He's stuck between a rock and a hard place, ratioed. She's got one final condition, though, making him swear a binding promise before revealing her last request like she's holding a legendary quest reward behind an invisible confirmation wall. Her demand is simple: transfer to a different hospital server entirely, Kwang-hee or Presbyterian, to escape the villain's home turf where he controls all the administrative mod powers and can't touch them there. When he absolutely refuses to abandon her to face the danger solo, she tries to pull rank with her board member status, claiming she can tank the threat alone. But he's not accepting that meta and drops a love confession so powerful it bypasses all her defensive emotional stats. Fully locked into relationship mode and revenge mode simultaneously, our guy declares eternal war on this villain and swears to personally collect every shred of proof needed to send him to prison for life instead of letting him respawn under a new identity somewhere else. The endgame strategy isn't just about surviving or escaping. It's about complete domain dominance, planning to skill-check his way to becoming the undisputed top-tier surgeon in the hospital, so the villain has to spend the rest of his career looking up at him from the bottom of the leaderboard in bitter defeat. But before Bro can even start his grind, this absolute NPC decides to crash the party. Lee Jong storms into Deal Hospital looking like he just respawned after a 12-hour flight with zero sleep and maximum rage aura, luggage in hand and murder in his eyes. The man immediately confronts some professor guy, absolutely losing it, and accusing him of nearly killing Kim Ji-hyun through sheer negligence. Bro skipped the tutorial phase and went straight to final boss aggression. The professor snaps back with insults about competence, while Jung drops a hard warning not to touch his golden boy again. And the tension in this room is thicker than lag during a server crash. Left alone in his office, the professor stands there trembling with suppressed rage, fist clenched so tight you can see the veins popping, classic villain who just got ratioed in front of everyone. Scene cuts to our guy sitting up in a patient gown looking like he just got nerfed back to level 1, when suddenly the same furious man walks in and actually apologizes to him. This guy grabs our protagonist by the shoulders and promises he'll become his successor no matter what trouble goes down, which is either the most wholesome mentor moment or a red flag the size of a raid boss health bar. Quick montage shows our medical genius rapidly climbing the fame ladder while some professor position opens up, speedrunning his career like he's trying to hit rank 1 before the season ends. Our guy's face goes full red, eyes glowing like he's about to rage quit. The furious VIP's desperate to keep him, but this is a side quest, not the main story, ratioed. Our guy's brain shifts to internal monologue mode, thinking about his colleague Lee Sangman and how there's still no solid evidence against him. But something feels off, spidey sense tingling like he spotted a griefer in the lobby. He recalls watching him lately and noticing the dude lost all motivation, attributing the whole skill issue directly to himself, without realizing he's basically the reason this man's life is falling apart. Suddenly we're in what looks like a nightmare or flashback memory, where some woman is absolutely destroying Lee Sangman verbally, blaming him for a tragedy involving people named Bumsu and Nimi. Dark lore drop incoming. He jolts awake in bed sweating like he just disconnected mid-match. And apparently these nightmares started right after our protagonist's accident because guilt hits different when you're the cause. Bro sits up in bed, heart pounding like he just glitched out of a boss fight. His eyes dart around the room, searching for a threat that isn't there, ratioed by his own mind. Anna opens up about her man problems, and he agrees to drink with her so she isn't lonely, which is either genuine kindness or two miserable people bonding over their shared L status. Back at the hospital, that angry professor from earlier is scolding our guy's rival for being late and wasting time, micromanaging his underlings like a toxic team lead who blames everyone else for the losses. The professor reveals the board wants to give the professorship to Kim Ji-hyun, so he's plotting to offer our guy a research award instead to manipulate the situation, trying to nerf the carry player with participation trophies. The mentor figure interrupts our guy and Himi near the research center, warning them about that damn bastard manipulating thesis awards. Translation: someone's trying to scam the system and he's calling it out in real time. Our guy and Himi chat about weekend plans. Suddenly some mentor figure crashes their vibe. Translation: you who become. What a mood killer, ratioed. Some hospital dude gets a call. New England Journal of Medicine wants our guy's study. Bro's name might finally make it on the credits. Skill issue. The villain professor realizes with horror that the prestigious journal submission belongs to our guy, and his face says everything about a plan that just got demolished by pure accident, cooked beyond recovery. But bro's negative aura was just getting started, and chat, it gets way filthier than this. Headlines are exploding across every screen announcing that Deal Hospital's own golden child just submitted a thesis to the New England Journal of Medicine about some drug called SD54, which is basically the medical equivalent of dropping a nuclear bomb on a tutorial zone. He stands there looking confused about where the other research projects ended up, and this female coworker who's been glued to his hip like a persistent NPC explains they signed contracts locking everything down, which means his lab mates are probably watching their citation counts cry in real time. Meanwhile, my colleague Lee Sangman is sitting in his office chair looking like he just got hit with a permanent Nerf patch, seething so hard you could power a small city off his rage, as he realizes one article in a top-tier journal outvalues his entire year of grinding. Meanwhile, our guy's coworkers stare blankly, like they're trying to figure out if he's a genius or just built different. They're all about that NEJM grind, but our guy's still stuck on the tutorial boss, ratioed. But instead of flexing, he sits there staring at piles of job offers and invitation letters like they're quest items he doesn't have inventory space for, looking more defeated than a guy who just realized endgame gear requires grinding dailies for 6 months. That female colleague corners him again, pitching the Haynes Pharma recruitment offer like a door-to-door salesman selling extended warranties, dangling a vice president title and fat stacks in his face, while he tries to politely dodge with the social skills of someone who skipped the dialogue tree. His phone starts vibrating off the table, and it's some TV network production director calling to discuss a documentary feature, because apparently being a medical genius qualifies you for reality television now. The director on the line keeps yapping about this show called Accomplished Doctor, name-dropping some professor who got featured before and casually mentioning that our guy is next on the content farm assembly line, whether he likes it or not. The director's still yapping, insisting our guy's resume is inhuman, like dude's never even held a scalpel, but the director's all hit show guaranteed, ratioed. Then the producer pulls out the emotional manipulation technique, mentioning how his parents would love seeing him on screen. And like every good Asian kid programmed to seek parental validation above all else, he crumbles instantly and agrees to the whole thing. Time skips forward a month, and suddenly we're in the living room where Jihyun's mother is practically levitating with pride watching her son on the big screen, while his dad sits there arms crossed with an expression screaming, "I didn't sign up for the neighbors asking me for free medical consultations." Our guy's face says it all. He's the new hotshot, but the pressure's cooking him alive. Negative aura. Despite swimming in what should be pure win condition energy, he walks through the lobby feeling a creeping sense of doom that hits different than usual stress. Like his spidey senses are tingling, but the threat level is unknown. Some elderly gentleman with sunglasses who looks like he wandered out of a golf course, cutscene, interrupts his phone call to ask where the equipment room is, spawning into the narrative like a random NPC with a potential side quest marker over his head. The old man admits he got completely lost because hospital elevator layouts were clearly designed by people who hate visitors. So our medically overworked hero offers to personally escort him because his kindness stat is maxed even when running on fumes. While walking together, he actually studies the old guy's face properly for the first time, and the realization hits him like a critical hit from behind. This random lost boomer is literally the Prime Minister himself, the same VIP he previously mistook for a homeless person, and completely ratioed his own social awareness check. Bro's aura is officially cooked, as the reality check hits way too hard, chat. Our guy stands there all cool with his shades, but he's sweating bullets, ratioed by his own thoughts. Then it hits him like a critical damage notification. This isn't just some sweet old man. This is Chairman Lee Hee-jung, the ultimate boss NPC of Korea's corporate world, and our guy immediately bows so deep he's practically folding himself into a pretzel. His girlfriend leads the chairman away toward the ward while he stands there alone processing that he just met someone whose net worth could buy a small country, and his brain is currently buffering at maximum capacity. The realization crashes through his skull like a server maintenance warning. He's dating this man's granddaughter, which means he needs the chairman's approval for marriage, and suddenly his whole life feels like a speed run where he forgot to save before the final boss. Later, inside an elevator that's probably worth more than his apartment, the old man presses the button all casual-like while mentioning something about liver issues and checking on her dad, just dropping medical terminology like it's small talk about weather. The chairman starts glazing our guy hard, says he's got good vibes, that Professor Kang thinks highly of him too, and his girlfriend's over here nodding along like she just watched her boyfriend unlock an achievement he didn't even know existed. The chairman's vibe-checking session hits a snag. Our guy's girlfriend looks less impressed now, like she's thinking, this dude better bring the riz. This man, let's call him Mr. Wineglass, settles into a restaurant booth with his date and starts ordering food like he's not about to commit social suicide in approximately 3 minutes. During dinner, the woman across from him asks if this casual setup actually works for them, and he hits her with the "I actually like someone else" line mid-date, which is either Sigma behavior or absolute FDR depending on your perspective. He keeps yapping about his moods, swings, and nightmares like he's explaining his character build to someone who didn't ask, somehow sounding more confident than a guy who just rejected his date has any right to be. Our guy keeps yapping, but my classmate Lee Sangmin just pours wine with a smile, like he's flexing his social skills or something. Ratioed. Back at the hospital base, our protagonist is deleting spam emails faster than a player clearing inventory slots when his emergency phone starts screaming about surgery schedules from none other than Professor Yu Youngsu. He wipes his phone data like a criminal destroying evidence, then walks into the professor's office where he gets greeted like he's not about to get verbally demolished for rumors about ditching the hospital after residency. Professor Yu immediately starts mouthing about hearing whispers that our guy's planning to leave, and when he tries to deny it, his face betrays him harder than a poker player whose tell is writing "I'm lying" on his forehead. The professor tries to guilt-trip him into staying by bringing up some surgery scheduled for next week, treating our resident like he's considering rage-quitting a raid group right before the final boss spawns. Then the case details drop like legendary loot. Songyoung Group's chairman needs a liver transplant, and the donor is going to be his own daughter, which is dark even for this manhwa's moral compass. Here's the kicker, though. The professor reveals he can't perform the surgery because he's got some academic conference in Italy. So he's essentially handing the scalpel to our guy and wishing him good luck like it's a tutorial mission gone wrong. Our boy sits there getting explained the two-lead surgeon system required for transplants, feeling less like a main character and more like a level 5 noob getting thrown into a raid designed for max-level players. Professor Yu plays the ultimate trump card. The chairman's family specifically requested him for this operation, and against every survival instinct screaming at him to flee, our guy accepts the mission like he's got a death wish or something to prove. Our guy's love interest, Hannah, stares blankly at her ceiling light. She wants to text him but can't bring herself to. Her phone anxiety is real, folks. She's still hovering over the phone when suddenly a light flicks on or something makes noise, and she jolts like someone just jumped scared her in a horror game she didn't consent to play. But before she can spiral, our guy is already locking in for a high-stakes standoff. Kim Ji-hyun locks eyes with my colleague Lee Sangmin across the handshake like they're loading into a competitive match lobby, already scanning for tells while smiling through the pleasantries about how critical this upcoming surgery really is. Cut to the hospital room where he's meeting the VIP patient's family. Chairman Kim Jong-guk looks like he's about to rage-quit reality from stress, and our main character drops the doctor, title to reassure them he's got this liver transplant on farm status. His daughter Kim Soyeon steps in to calm down her hyperventilating dad, while the good doctor confirms everything's copacetic. Serving main character energy despite internally knowing this whole operation is one wrong move away from a server wipe. Consultation wraps and suddenly we're looking at nighttime city skyline aesthetics. Bro transitioned harder than a cutscene load screen. Now he's sitting across from his blonde girlfriend at a steakhouse that costs more than most people's rent, mentally calculating whether his 3 billion bank account actually passes the wealth check against her family money, while she stresses about the bill like a player worried about microtransaction prices. She starts glazing his face, calling him pretty boy, and this grown-ass surgeon blushes like he just got his first notification from a crush, stammering denials, with the confident stat of a level 1 noob. She notices he's rocking the expensive suit fit, probably borrowed or freshly purchased with that medical school debt payoff, and starts teasing him about hoarding all the premium meat on the table like he's loot gobbling in an MMO dungeon. Meanwhile, his brain's running a background process showing a ring box inventory item as he debates popping the question after 1 year of dating. But when she prompts him to speak, he blue screens harder than a PC hitting a BSOD. The girl finally pieces together that this isn't just a fancy dinner, it's the final boss arena for their relationship, and she basically yells at him to stop being a coward and just initiate the quest already. But instead of executing the romantic script, he panics about timing like he's worried about missing the damage window on a raid boss, suggesting they bounce early because work calls, effectively hard-blocking his own happiness route. Outside on the street, she calls him an absolute idiot again, but softens it with that "it's okay, you're trying" energy, patting his head while he stands there with negative aura radiating off him. And she fully storms off, labeling him a dating cripple who's down catastrophically bad but too skill-issued to execute. And he just stands there calling her name like an NPC whose dialogue options have run dry. Ro finally makes up his mind to propose right there on the public sidewalk. Zero atmosphere, zero planning, pure improvisation. And she spins around looking at him like he seriously chose a bus stop for the cinematic moment. But instead of pulling out the ring, he pivots mid-conversation to asking if they should eat at this exact location again sometime. leaving her standing there confused about whether he just fumbled the bag or is setting up the most anticlimactic side quest ever. She complains the venue costs too much XP anyway, but gives him permission to retry the proposal later as long as it's not at some cheap barbecue joint, establishing clear patch notes for round 2 before dipping out. Left standing alone on the curb, it finally hits him. She knew the whole time, read his every tell, and was actually waiting for him to stop being a coward. So he starts daydreaming about married life with the biggest grin since he respawned into this timeline. Fantasy mode ends abruptly, and he's sprinting back toward Dalim Hospital because apparently saving lives takes priority over fixing his broken romance stat block. Back in the operating room prep area, he's pulling on gloves with a 1,000-yard stare, mentally drafting counter-strategies for dealing with his suspicious colleague during surgery tomorrow, because even though he can't refuse the assist request, he's absolutely not letting this guy nerf his performance with any tampering shenanigans. But bro is severely underestimating how cooked he's about to get when the lobby flips. Our guy looks down, deep in thought. He's got the weight of the world on his shoulders, ratioed by life itself. The med team drops truth bombs about how delaying surgery is basically asking for the tumor to hit its evolution phase and become unbeatable, which would be a massive L for everyone involved. Cut to pre-op where the father is now doing the whole sorry for being anxious NPC apology routine, formally putting his trust in the team and specifically calling out Lee Sangmin by name like he's reading a script written by fate itself. Cut to the OR. Our guy feels a weird vibe from Lee Sangmin, like did he just glitch into existence? Negative aura. Close-up action shot of the harmonic scalpel doing its thing. Slicing through tissue like our guy is speedrunning a tutorial level with perfect frame data inputs and 0 missed combos. Our guy has to mentally mute the annoying bastard energy radiating from his teammate and lock into full focus mode, because letting distractions enduring surgery is how you get malpractice lawsuits and bad ending cutscenes. The doc cracks under pressure. His patient's vitals are all over the place. Our guy's about to faceplint into a hard-stuck F-tier moment. Ratioed. Our guy checks the vitals, patient stable. He orders the team to transport while he heads out, skill issue. The remaining team starts yapping about how the lead surgeon shouldn't be doing menial cart-pushing grunt work and should just dip already, which sounds supportive, but our guy knows better than to trust randoms with closing procedures unsupervised. Hesitation hits him like a lag spike as he asks how close they are to finishing, calculating the risk versus reward ratio of staying, but versus answering the emergency ping like he's managing cooldown timers in real time. Internal monologue mode activated reveals his deep-seated paranoia that if he leaves the instance unsupervised, his red-haired colleague is gonna pull some rookie mistake that wipes the whole party harder than a server crash during a raid. Before teleporting out, he slams down stern instructions about grabbing specific areas and applying pressure like he's giving quest markers to confused NPCs who can't pathfind their way out of a paper bag. Our guy warps into room 15, where absolute bedlam is unfolding with people running around like headless chickens, and he immediately takes charge, shocking the staff who were clearly hard-stuck in F-tier surgical skills before he loaded in. With actual competence in the driver's seat now, this impossible surgery proceeds smoothly despite the patient's liver being more wrecked than a bronze account trying to play in diamond lobbies. Suddenly, the intercom blares code blue for the recovery room, and our guy freezes mid-suture, because he knows exactly which patient that alarm is for, and his entire soul does a hard disconnect from the server. Denial phase fully engaged as he tries to convince himself the surgery was flawless, and other people were watching so nothing could have possibly crashed. But his expression is serving pure copium before the reality hits. But before that L sinks in, bro's about to get a reality check that is straight terminal. Kim Ji-hyun bursts through those ER doors like he's late for raid night, immediately barking orders about vitals while the staff scrambles to catch up. This man is built different when it comes to crash carts. But even S-tier players can't outskill a disconnected server. He's grilling the transport team like they just wiped his ranked match, demanding answers about what went wrong during the ride over because something in his gut is telling him this wasn't just bad RNG. The nurses are trying to politely escort him to the spawn room, but our guy clocks that she's flatlining despite their CPR rhythm game. And suddenly the timer hits 10 minutes, which in medical terms means we're not just losing health bars anymore. We're looking at a permanent account deletion. Our guy's fist slams down, sweating bullets. He's begging for a miracle, but the clock ticks on and the stakes are higher than a no-save checkpoint. Ratioed. The doctor calls it November 7th, time of death recorded. And our guy stands there watching the light leave her eyes, knowing he just lost a patient on his watch after everything he sacrificed to get back here. Chairman Kim Jong-gek tears down that hallway like a boss mob that just spawned, wailing about how his daughter tried to save his life with her liver, and never even woke up to see if it worked, pure uncut grief hitting harder than any debuff in the game. The grief curdles into rage instantaneously, And now the chairman is pointing directly at our guy, screaming murder charges like he just caught someone hacking the server, while our boy stands there taking the aggro with a 1,000-yard stare that says his whole reputation just got nerfed to zero. Later, in some dark room overlooking the city, the old man swirls his drink like a final boss, monologuing about how recordings might show clean surgery footage. But his daughter is still dead, so somebody's paying political armor going up faster than you can say malpractice lawsuit. Out in the cold night air, Hannah finds our guy looking like he just lost a 1v5 against life itself, and he collapses into her arms, mumbling about how he almost proposed to her right before becoming an actual criminal. Talk about fumbling the bag at the worst possible timestamp. His girl's promising to go full detective mode to prove his innocence while across town at the police station. Kim Chulwoo is digging through files like a man possessed, because he knows our guy's got more moral alignment than half the NPCs in this hospital combined. But the investigation hits a wall thicker than a pay-to-win barrier. Autopsy came back clean. No fingerprints on the sabotage. Nothing but digital dust and dead ends, leaving everyone looking at a screen full of error messages. Back at the hospital, the admin team is clearly picking the side with deeper pockets, leaving our guy walking down that hallway like he just got kicked from the guild, while the chairman's people whisper in corners about burying his career 6 feet under. That's when he spots Lee Sangmin casually strolling by like nothing happened, and our guy's hand is on his collar before the rival can even finish his step, demanding to know what poison he slipped into the operating room while everyone else was busy looking the other way. This absolute sociopath just smiles and calls our guy delusional, claiming total ignorance with the kind of calm that screams guilty richer than a whale player buying max stats, then walks away like he's got admin immunity. But as he leaves, the gaslighter drops one weird line about the air in the hospital feeling off today. A random environmental complaint that somehow hits different when you remember our guy spent years memorizing every variable that kills patients. It clicks like a puzzle piece snapping into place. Air embolism, tube connecting to large bore, cardiac arrest in under 60 seconds. And suddenly our guy realizes he didn't lose to bad luck. He got griefed by someone who knew exactly which wire to cut without leaving fingerprints. But before Bro can even process that grief, Secretary Yoon is already speedrunning his downfall. Secretary Yoon spits the truth out, no filter. The burden's on the accused, he declares. No shot for civilians without a clue. Plot twist, the patient who died was literally the chairman's daughter, which means this stopped being a medical review and started being a personal crusade about 3 seconds ago. While the old man vows to destroy a career like he's clearing a dungeon, we get a flashback of someone actually thanking our guy for saving their life. The contrast is giving whiplash. After declaring he'll oversee this personally to guarantee fairness, which totally won't be biased, trust, the story time skips us straight to the courthouse for the main event. Courtroom mode activated. The judge reads the verdict. 0 proof of murder, no confirmed negligence, but you still can't dodge responsibility for a corpse on your watch. Gavel goes bang. 6-month license suspension effective immediately. The news cycle is absolutely feasting right now. Headlines painting him as a genius-turned killer, destroying every rep point he grinded for since respawning. Hospital administration office. He's slapping his resignation papers on the desk because apparently you can't complete the residency questline when your license is temporarily deleted from existence. The professors are trying to negotiate, but Bro's already emotionally checked out. If the game won't let him play, he's not sticking around to watch others level up. Walking down the corridor with his phone blowing up in his pocket, notifications pinging like angry mobs, and he's ignoring every single one with the focus of someone speedrunning away from drama. Alone in his room at night, white coat still on, staring at nothing and realizing he crashed again just like in his first life before the regression. Every grind, every late night, every patient saved, and he still ended up here feeling like a complete failure. Later that night, he finally gets home, and his parents are waiting at the door like he's returning from war instead of a court date, worry written all over their faces. Our guy steps in, awkward tension thicker than his mom's cooking. Mom and dad just staring, all blank-faced. This whole family meeting vibes like a botched speedrun, ratioed. His dad immediately shuts that energy down, tells him to stand up straight, look him in the eye, and understand that he did nothing wrong, so there's nothing to apologize for. Jihyun's mother *** pulls him into a hug while he's busy burning Lee Sangmin's face into his permanent memory bank, silently queuing up the revenge arc for later installation. Lying in bed doing financial calculations, he's got enough savings to survive the 6-month cooldown timer, but sitting around useless is making his gamer soul itch like a bad internet connection. Just as he considers picking up tutoring side quests to fill the XP gap, his phone rings with a call from Hannah ***, that scout lady who previously offered him a job with salary numbers that shouldn't be legal. She hits him with a figure so ridiculous his brain buffers for a solid 3 seconds. $400,000 annually to pack up and work in America, suspended license and all. Cut to a fancy restaurant where he rushed over to meet her. And she's sitting there asking how he's holding up with the entire country, currently roasting his medical career on social media. He admits the license situation like it's a debuff he can't remove. And she reveals the craziest part. This job offer isn't even from her company Haynes, but from some mystery VIP who specifically asked her to recruit him personally. Bro's aura is straight up cooked once he realizes who actually wants his mid-tier skills. Our guy sits frozen at a restaurant table, staring down a recruitment offer from St. Joseph's Hospital like it's written in ancient Sumerian. Amy Anderson, the connected ally who's been pulling strings this whole time, casually mentions that the governor of New York and St. Joseph's president are literally her uncles. They cut into expensive steak while discussing whether she personally recommended him to her relatives, and he holds his fork like it's a lifeline. His brain is lagging trying to process that his recruitment arc got fast-tracked by family connections. He starts listing his recent achievements like reading patch notes for a character who just received a massive undocumented buff. He sits there getting glazed harder than a bakery display while wondering when he unlocked this S-tier reputation stat. They discuss how his work sent Haynes stock mooning and made academics lose their minds studying his build. That's when he realizes he marked the scouting email as spam like a total NPC. He almost deleted his own redemption arc because he mistook it for another debt collector message. Flashback time. Amy's uncles command her to recruit him with the best package available, treating this medical prodigy like a limited gacha pull they must acquire immediately. She accepts with the energy of someone unlocking a secret questline, clueless that our guy is currently having a mental breakdown over a missed notification. Our guy's flashback flickers. Patience calm, but those pins scream mistake. Legal trouble just got real, bro. Back in the present, our guy sits with a 1,000-yard stare that could freeze hell over, questioning whether he deserves to work anywhere, let alone a hospital across the ocean. Amy notices his aura dropping into negative territory and suggests they bail before he dissociates completely. He drags him outside towards some mystery destination she's clearly obsessed with, pointing ahead like she discovered a secret warp zone. He follows along confused because his emotional processor is still running at 5% battery. They hit Dubong Mountain, which involves climbing more stairs than a marathon has steps, and our guy is wheezing like he's fighting a raid boss with 0 potions. She's practically skipping ahead while his stamina bar hits critical red before the halfway point. He admits defeat regarding his physical stats compared to other doctors, basically revealing his build is pure intellect with 0 endurance investment. When she challenges him to race the rest, he wisely declines because even he knows that speedrun attempt would end in disaster. He finally crests the peak where she's chilling on a rock like she didn't just solo climb Everest without breaking a sweat. She welcomes him with soju, claiming it's hiker tradition, which is obviously just an excuse to drink at altitude while he arrives looking like he respawned with half his HP gone. They stand at the railing overlooking the city lights, and the view hits different. All that glittering sprawl stretching to the horizon looks like a circuit board designed by angels. For a second, the grind disappears and it's actually cinematic, like a loading screen you'd actually stop to appreciate. And the vibe shifts completely as she admits she comes to this exact spot whenever life is cooking her, and she gently asks if he's been having a rough time lately. The banter evaporates because this isn't content anymore. It's real talk between two people who have seen their health bars drop to critical levels. And he finally cracks, admitting he's been fronting the whole time, pretending everything was fine when actually he was the victim of a setup that cost an innocent patient their life. He confesses he's never been okay, not once since it happened. And the raw vulnerability hits harder than any plot twist, because this is the damaged save file nobody was supposed to see. He doesn't feed him generic motivational poster lines. Instead, she points out that from this height, all those massive corporations and intimidating institutions below look tiny and interchangeable. It's a perspective shift, literally and figuratively, showing him that his current nightmare scenario is actually just a tutorial enemy in the grand scheme. She tells him not to mald over one setback because his talent is too goated to stay benched forever. And she genuinely believes he's built different from every other grinder on the medical ladder. Our guy actually absorbs this one instead of deflecting, letting the encouragement land for maybe the first time since his regression started. He thanks her for the therapy session disguised as a nature hike, and she reveals the hospital president personally asked her to recruit him as a favor. Turns out this wasn't just networking. It was a targeted acquisition by someone who actually studied his gameplay footage and wanted him on the roster. He asks to hear the full contract details like a functioning adult for once instead of panicking, and she lays out the fast-track residency leading straight to official professorship. Basically, she's offering him a skip-to-end-game button for his entire career, and our guy is finally ready to accept the quest reward instead of expecting another trap. But before he can secure that massive W, the universe decides to totally drop his aura. Our guy stares out the window, lost in thought. Medical exams and flights all part of the grind, ratioed by airport vibes. His fiancée Himi stands by the window running a 1,000-yard stare that could freeze hell over, clearly not coping with the fact that her man is server transferring to another continent for 2 whole years. He drops to one knee right there in the terminal because apparently airport proposals are still considered estir riz in this economy, and she's already struggling to hold back tears while he looks up at her with those puppy dog eyes that would max out any affection meter instantly. Our boy starts dropping promises like he's accepting a quest chain. 2 years, exchange professor gig, daily video calls, essentially guaranteeing he's gonna grind XP overseas until he's buffed enough to come back and solo the final boss who ruined his rep back home. And then he pulls out the ring box. Chat, we have achieved cinematic peak. Himi's hands shake, clutching the box tight. Our guy's proposal just got real awkward, ratioed. They're still glued together by the window making promises about fidelity and survival, which is adorable until you remember this is a medical drama, and the death flags are stacking higher than his student loan debt. Cut to the plane slicing through clouds like it's zoning into a new map, and our protagonist sits in business class, staring out the window with the expression of someone who just started a new Game Plus file on hardcore mode, quietly vowing to make that snake Lee Sangman pay for every dirty trick he pulled. His mind drifts back to the farewell dinner where his dad was absolutely hammered, slurring advice about eating vegetables and not dying in a foreign country, while his mom sat there proud but terrified like any good Asian matriarch watching her baby leave the nest. The memory blurs as our guy feels the plane hit the tarmac. Passengers stir, ready to hit the ground running. Reality bites harder than nostalgia, ratioed. He stumbles through immigration handing his passport to an officer who couldn't care less about his tragic backstory or revenge arc, just stamping documents with the dead-eyed efficiency of an NPC who's repeated the same dialogue treat 10,000 times today. Now he's standing in the terminal, surrounded by thousands of people speaking rapid-fire English, and the difficulty spike hits him like a truck, feeling like a level 1 noob who just spawned into a raid zone without any gear. But wait, there's a sign. An actual cardboard sign reading Mr. Kim, held by Amy, his old colleague who apparently speedrun her way to director of the New York HQ, while he was busy getting his license suspended and framed for murder back home. She explains that she's basically running the East Coast operation now, which is insane leveling speed even for someone with her connections. And she's dragging him toward a car despite having 7 meetings she should be attending instead of chauffeuring a jet-lagged surgeon. They cruise through New York at night, and the city is absolutely glowing. Neon lights bouncing off every surface while our boy stares out the window like he's downloading the America texture pack in real time. She drops the reality check gently. He needs to meet the hospital chiefs immediately and apologize in advance for the nightmare he's about to endure, which translates to welcome to American healthcare politics. Enjoy your stay. But our guy's aura was already too cooked to care about some mid-tier politics, chat. Our guy shrugs off the compliment. You're welcome, he mutters like it's nothing. Bro's got main character energy, but he's playing it cool, ratioed. He hits the elevator button for up instead of down. And when our guy asks why she's heading to the penthouse suite instead of leaving, she drops the revelation that she literally lives above him like some kind of rich neighbor side quest NPC who won't stop spawning. Before the doors close, she leans in with maximum Riz energy, suggesting that proximity equals romance. But our guy's social battery is already at 0%, so he just nods like he's accepting a tutorial pop-up he plans to immediately close. Collapsed in bed like a speedrunner who finally stopped grinding, he pulls out his phone and sees a message from Himi that hits different than any boss notification ever could. Suddenly, home feels further than the flight that brought him here. He taps out a final love you text that probably has more emotional DPS than anything he'll do in surgery tomorrow. Then the camera pans across the skyline to St. Joseph Hospital glowing like a final dungeon entrance waiting to eat him alive. Next morning, our guy walks into the hospital lobby and meets President James himself along with his assistant Michelle. And the big boss extends a hand warmer than a freshly buffed healing item, while introducing himself like he's the guild master, welcoming a legendary player to the raid. Inside the office, the president starts glazing our guy's publication record so hard you'd think he wrote the cheat codes for modern medicine. And our guy sits there trying to look humble while internally calculating how much XP this praise is worth. Then the president drops the real lore. He wasn't even interested until Amy explained that everything published under that major company was actually our guy's work the whole time, meaning someone else was taking credit for the main character's grind. James can't believe it either. All those projects came from Dr. Kim's ideas? Bro, he's cracked, ratioed. Our guy realizes the president was actually nervous about losing him to another guild. Then here's the contract terms. 1-year temp residency, paid purely by results with a potential permanent professorship, unlock at the end if he doesn't brick the run. They shake hands, sealing the deal. And as our guy accepts the absurd special treatment that basically marks him as the chosen one, he knows the expectation bar is set higher than a hardcore mode playthrough with no saves allowed. Once he leaves, Michelle turns to the president asking if they should really leave this young Asian doctor to fend for himself in the wild. But the boss just sips his tea with the calm energy of someone who already saved the game file. James sips his tea, all chill vibes. He tells Michelle if our guy can't handle it, he's out. Our hero's in a side quest, grinding for that main character energy. James thinks our guy needs to solo this grind. If he can't level up in a year, he's toast. Ratioed. The senior professor drops the immediate nerf bat command to speak English since they're not in Korea anymore, dismisses his entire liver surgery background like it's a starter weapon, and tells him either perform perfectly or uninstall the game entirely. Left standing in the hallway while the prof walks away with his entourage like a final boss who won't even acknowledge the tutorial enemy. Our guy processes that even among fellow Koreans, this map is set to nightmare difficulty. But before our guy could even cope with that the boss man delivered an absolute masterclass. Our guy asks where to do his rotation. Chief Michael tells him to go where he's needed most. Then Chief Michael says, "See you around, Dr. Kim." Ratioed. Our protagonist clocks the hostile environment immediately. The staff is treating him like a background texture, isolating him harder than a solo player stuck on a co-op mission. Instead of malding, he starts strategizing, realizing that having 0 assigned tasks is actually a buff because nobody can nerf his grind schedule. He tries to locate the emergency center to start working, but the discriminatory boss intervenes faster than a lag switch activating during a ranked match, stalling him with administrative nonsense. This man wants a workstation, and the chief keeps sending him on a wild goose chase through the hospital map. Our guy demands a specific station point blank, but the chief patronizes him hard, claiming it's too early for him to participate like he's some level 1 noob trying to join a raid. The condescension is thick enough to cut with a scalpel, and you can see our boy's patience meter depleting in real time. The chief goes full mask-off mode, aggressively insulting our protagonist's competence because he graduated from what he calls a countryside college in Asia, which is crazy talk when you consider the medical system there runs on pure efficiency and volume that would make these American doctors cry into their lattes. Our guy listens in shock, processing that this F-tier admin is actually racially profiling him in 2024. Inside his head, the regression main character is already dismantling this bias piece by piece, contrasting how Korean hospitals operate at maximum efficiency with low costs versus whatever bloated system these Americans are running. He knows he's seen more surgeries than this entire department combined, and the math isn't mathing in their favor. The chief orders him to basically AFK in the corner and stand by, which is hilarious because our guy is sitting there smoldering with the confidence of someone who knows he could solo this entire hospital if they let him touch a patient. Negative aura radiating off the protagonist, absolute sigma energy, while the chief thinks he won the interaction. He accepts the challenge to prove his worth, which immediately alarms some nearby senior doctor who's probably never seen someone take an L this gracefully before. This old coot starts questioning whether the chief is being too harsh, completely missing that our boy just picked up a side quest that's going to end with him speedrunning the hierarchy. The discriminatory boss and the senior doctor start conspiring like villains in a B-movie, predicting that our protagonist will fail the research requirements and be gone within a year. They're literally plotting his exit before he even unpacked his bags. They have no idea they're talking about someone who's going to publish more papers in 2 months than their whole department did in a decade. While these clowns yap about how he can't possibly work alone or do proper research, the camera cuts to our guy absolutely locked in at his computer, fingers moving faster than a speedrunner skipping dialogue. They're mocking him while he's already grinding XP in the background, completing quests they don't even know exist. Quick montage shows the systemic discrimination hitting different, colleagues treating him like a ghost, ignoring his existence entirely, acting like he's not even worth the oxygen in the room. It's giving major NPC energy from everyone around him, but our protagonist is treating this isolation like a focused study session with 0 distractions. And here's where the pivot happens. He smiles, a 1,000-yard stare that could freeze the entire server infrastructure, and decides to weaponize his forced free time to write a thesis so advanced it'll make their collective heads spin. This man turned their social ostracization into a buff, maximizing his downtime like a true grinder who understands the meta. 2 months later, time skip activated, and the entire medical staff is thrown into absolute chaos because someone just dropped 7 nuclear-grade research papers into top journals without warning. The vibe shift is palpable as everyone realizes the ghost they've been ignoring this whole time was actually a final boss leveling up in secret. The chief stares in horror at acceptance letters flooding in from the NEJM and Lancet. These are S-tier journals that most doctors dream about getting into once in their entire careers. And this country bumpkin apparently submitted multiple accepted papers simultaneously. His face is cycling through every stage of grief in real time. The full magnitude hits home as papers rain down like loot drops, and the chief clutches his head in disbelief, realizing he tried to gatekeep a player who was already carrying endgame gear. The sheer volume of work produced alone during his supposed standby period is making everyone look like they have a skill issue. Cut back to our guy typing furiously at his workspace, revealing that he wrote 7 incredible articles back-to-back with zero rest, utilizing insights from his previous life like a hacker with admin privileges. While they were busy excluding him from meetings, he was publishing enough content to secure tenure 3 times over. Payoff lands clean. Our protagonist is shown successfully consulting for Haynes, earning the legendary nickname Midas Hand, because everything he touches turns into guaranteed success. From isolated ghost to miracle worker in 60 days, this man completed an entire prestige arc while everyone else was still stuck on the tutorial level wondering why their stats looked so mid compared to his. But before Bro can even celebrate his aura points, this NPC Kim pulls up looking absolutely cooked. Dr. Kim steps up, oozing main character energy. His outfit screams, "I'm a legend in the making." Kim Ji-hyun steps into the president's office and immediately gets the VIP treatment as hospital president James practically glazes him with welcome energy, ordering his secretary Michelle to fetch ice water like our guy just respawned after soloing the final boss. The president leans forward asking how anyone outputs that much content in 60 days, and our man sips his water with the expression of someone who farms citations while idle, casually dropping that he had a lot of time, which translates to, "Your surgery department ghosted me, so I wrote 30 papers out of boredom." The prez blinks, wondering how the reborn surgeon stays so cool. Our guy just smirks, shrugs a bit, skill issue. The president's eyes gleam, sending for Michael. Our guy slips out, heading for that fancy hospital, WL. The department head walks in looking like he just loaded into a PvP zone naked, while our guy sits there hydrating with the calm of someone who already won the match during the loading screen. The contrast between one man vibrating with anxiety and the other looking like he's waiting for a cue to pop is absolutely wild. Suddenly, his name echoes through the room. He freezes like a deer in headlights. Guess this meeting's about to get less agenda and more mid-situation panic. The hammer drops with nuclear force as James lays out the full rap sheet of workplace misconduct and racial discrimination, with the energy of a game master permabanning a toxic player from the server, ordering Michael to apologize directly to the guy he's been treating like background scenery in his own department. Dude tries to start with that mumbled corporate non-apology where you're sorry you got caught instead of sorry you did it. But the president isn't accepting any half measures and starts threatening his entire career trajectory like a coach benching a star player who refuses to pass the ball to the MVP, forced into a genuine apology that actually sounds like regret instead of damage control. He acknowledges his fault while our guy accepts it with the grace of a player who knows he holds all the save files now, telling him to keep it in mind like a warning that the admin tools are now in friendly hands. With him dismissed and walking out with less dignity than an NPC who finished his dialogue tree, the president turns and does something shocking by apologizing himself for letting the situation fester. Actual accountability from leadership is so rare, it might as well be legendary loot. Then comes the real compensation as the big boss bumps the base salary from 400 grand to $550,000 like he's dropping mythic tier rewards after a boss wipe. And our guy's slight reaction proves that even when you're playing life on hardcore mode, that kind of bag still hits different. They seal the deal with a handshake, and the second our guy exits the room, the president collapses onto his couch like a raider who just barely cleared the final boss with 1 health point remaining. Pure relief washing over him knowing he saved his golden goose from migrating to Hopkins. Later, the prez is debriefing with Michelle about whether 550 is too expensive for a researcher position, completely unaware that he hasn't just hired a paper machine, but a surgeon so cracked he could probably perform triple bypass blindfolded if the plot demanded it. The narrative cuts to show our guy suiting up in teal scrubs and pulling on surgical gloves with the muscle memory of someone who remembers exactly what these hands were built for. This isn't some academic LARPing as medical staff. This is a god-tier main account returning to ranked matches after grinding alt content for months. Then our guy spots his buddy laughing with him, totally lit. They goof off like it's been years. Main character energy maxed out. And that's where chapter 100 leaves us. The money's secured, the enemies are nerfed, and the gloves are on, which means next chapter we finally get to see what happens when our guy stops writing papers and starts cutting, because this whole researcher arc was just the tutorial phase before the real operation begins.